In Bashu, the fearsome Hell's Peak looms above the legendary Tang sect, a cliff so deep its echo takes 19 counts to return. At the summit stands Tang San, a gray-robed outer disciple known as the Third Young Master, staring into the abyss with a storm of emotions he can barely contain. Tang San thinks back on his life in Tang sect, the only home he has known since infancy and the place that made hidden weapons his whole world. Then his face hardens, and he quietly accepts that the reckoning he expected has finally arrived. 17 white-robed elders, led by sect head Tang De, race up the mountain and surround him at the summit. The elders cut off every path, but Tang San does not kneel before them, because behind him there is only Hell's Peak. Before them all, Tang San lays down 3 Buddha Fury Tang lotuses and smiles with grim satisfaction, because after 20 years he finally created the weapon he chased his whole life. He openly admits he stole Intersect secret lore, but swears none of it will ever leave Tang sect with him. What he wants them to understand is simple. Even now, after breaking the rules, he still sees himself as Tang sect to the end. The elders fall silent, stunned less by his confession than by the 3 Tang lotuses proving an outer disciple reached a genius no one had seen in 200 years. Seeing their silence, Tang San calmly says his life and skills were all given by Tang sect, so he will return everything and leave only his bones to Bashu. Then white chi bursts from his body, and Tang De recoils in disbelief when he recognizes the forbidden inner strength of the mysterious heaven treasure record. In the same instant, Tang San strips away his Tang sect belongings, refusing to carry even a scrap of the sect with him into death. He declares that the Buddha Fury Tang Lotus is his last gift, and that the stolen manuals are hidden under the first brick in his room. Laughing wildly at the sky, Tang San takes one last step backward before anyone can stop him. He dives off Hell's Peak into the clouds, and Tang De can only shout after him as Tang San vanishes into the mist. The mountain grows still, and Tang De trembles as he lifts the 3 Tang lotuses, finally grieving the disciple they drove to this end. When the second elder calls Tang San a renegade, Tang De snaps back in fury and demands how a true traitor could have stayed, died for his ideals, and handed the sect such a weapon. Tang De bitterly admits they were all wrong, because the chance to raise Tang sect to new glory just slipped out of their hands. He immediately orders the entire sect to search below Hell's Peak, alive or dead, and posthumously elevates Tang San to the inner sect. Tang De goes even further and names Tang San his sole successor if he somehow survives, but the decision comes far too late. From a cliff no living person should return from, Tang San's life ends here, and his next destiny is just beginning beyond the clouds. At dawn above Holy Spirit Village, the nearly 6-year-old Tang San sits alone on a hill and starts his daily cultivation facing the eastern sky. When a tiny streak of purple chi flashes with sunrise, Tang San locks onto it with total focus and draws it into his purple demon eye practice. The purple chi fades with full daylight, and Tang San exhales a long stream of white breath after finishing the cycle. A faint purple glint lingers in his eyes, but Tang San can only sigh in frustration because his mysterious heaven skill is still stuck at its first bottleneck. He wonders if the problem is this world's different laws, because the stalled inner skill is holding back his mysterious jade hand too. Tang San remembers the truth behind that strange maturity. He is the Tang sect genius who leapt from a cliff and woke up reborn in this new world. His earliest memory here is Tang Hao crying out for his dying wife during childbirth, the moment before the newborn was named Tang San. The village children mock his name, but Tang San quietly treasures it because it lets him keep a piece of his old life. Having accepted the second life, Tang San decides to rebuild Tang sect's brilliance here with the memories and secret manuals still etched into his mind. With that resolve, he dashes down the rough hillside so lightly and fast that an adult would struggle to keep up. Those movements come from the Tang sect basics he carries with him: inner skill, purple demon eye, mysterious jade hand, grappling, footwork, and hidden weapon technique, all built on one foundation. Back at home, Tang San returns to the crude mud brick house where he and his father live in the poorest blacksmith's home in the village. The smell of rice drifting from inside is not his father's care at all, because Tang San has been cooking for the household since he was 4. He serves out 2 bowls of thin congee with barely any grains, the kind of meal that never fills a growing child. When Tang San calls his father to eat, Tang Hao finally stumbles out reeking of alcohol and looking more like a worn-out old man than a man in his 30s. Tang San feels no resentment toward this cold, negligent father, because after growing up an orphan once, even this fragile family bond matters to him. Tang Hao grabs the hot bowl and gulps the congee down without caring, forcing Tang San to stop him and refill it more carefully. After devouring nearly the whole pot, Tang Hao mutters that he will work in the afternoon and go back to sleep for now. Before Tang Hao disappears again, Tang San stops him and points out a fresh pile of black pig iron he wants permission to use. Tang San asks for the pig iron because he still wants to make hidden weapons, and these fresh chunks are far better material than the impure iron his father usually uses for farm tools. Tang Hao catches his meaning at once and asks if Tang San wants to become a blacksmith. Tang San nods and gently frames it as helping his aging father, asking him to teach basic forging so he can take over one day. That answer stirs something in Tang Hao, and he sits by the iron to ask a strange test question about what makes the best blacksmith. Tang San says the best blacksmith should forge divine tools, but Tang Hao pushes back and says real mastery means making divine tools from common iron. To prove his will, Tang Hao points to an ordinary impure iron block and says Tang San must hammer it 10,000 times before he is even qualified to learn. Tang San does not hesitate for long and calmly accepts the test. Tang Hao silently carries the heavy iron block to the forge for him, setting the terms without another lecture before going back to sleep. Left alone, Tang San lights the charcoal fire and starts the work by copying the forging process he has quietly observed for years. When he grabs Tang Hao's long heavy hammer, the sight alone should be impossible for a child his age. Thanks to mysterious heaven's skill strengthening his body, Tang San brings the hammer down and begins his first real forging strikes. Even Tang Hao, lying in the next room, is startled to realize the boy can actually lift and use that hammer. From that day on, father and son keep the same plain life, but Tang San now has his own furnace space and Tang Hao quietly starts drinking a little less and feeding the house a little better. Tang San throws himself into the brutal repetition, using the forge not just to shape metal but to temper his own body and will. When his strength runs dry, he sits cross-legged on the floor to recover his inner power, then rises and starts hammering again. The bottleneck in mysterious heaven skill still refuses to break, but the constant depletion and recovery steadily harden Tang San's strength and endurance anyway. After 11 days and more than 8,000 strikes, the iron has shrunk to less than a third of its old size and Tang San's thin body has started to grow solid. Seeing the purified glowing metal, Tang San realizes he is literally tempering iron into steel, and that only sharpens his determination to finish all 10,000 blows. Tang Hao is even more shocked that Tang San's palms stay uninjured through all of this, because the rough hammer handle should have torn a normal child apart. Tang San keeps that secret to himself, knowing mysterious jade hand is what protects his skin and strengthens the hand control hidden weapons require. As he works, Tang San reflects on this world called the Luo continent, split between the Heaven Do and Star Luo empires, where martial arts are absent but everyone is born with a spirit. He has learned that spirits can be tool or beast types, and only a few people can cultivate them into the powerful, noble profession of spirit master. Because spirit awakening happens at age 6 and his own birthday is only days away, Tang San starts to suspect his cultivation bottleneck may be tied to whatever spirit he has not awakened yet. Even without much interest in being a spirit master, Tang San still wants to know his spirit, especially if it affects the path he plans to walk. That thought is interrupted when an elderly voice calls from outside, asking Tang Hao if he is busy. Tang San steps out and sees old Jack, the village elder, a tidy, energetic old man whose kindness has always stood in sharp contrast to his father's ruin. Old Jack calls Tang San over affectionately, and Tang San returns the warmth with a respectful greeting he truly means. Ignoring Tang Hao's usual coldness, old Jack gets straight to the point. Tang San is almost 6 and must attend this year's spirit awakening ceremony. Tang Hao barely reacts and simply says Tang San can go, leaving old Jack to set the day himself 3 days from now. Old Jack makes it clear he will personally come fetch Tang San, as if trusting Tang Hao with something important would be asking for trouble. Curious at once, Tang San asks old Jack what exactly the awakening ceremony is. Old Jack explains that every child awakens a spirit around age 6, and if Tang San is lucky enough to receive a strong one, he might even be able to cultivate. He adds that a lord attendant from Noting City's spirit hall comes only once a year to perform the ritual, and his reverent tone makes the visitor sound truly important. When old Jack calls that visitor a spirit grandmaster, Tang San immediately presses for one more answer and asks what that title means. In the smithy, old Jack patiently explains that spirit masters are ranked through 10 major titles, starting from spirit scholar and rising all the way to title Doluo. Old Jack proudly adds that Holy Spirit Village once produced a spirit sage, treating that old glory like the village's greatest treasure. Tang Hao dismisses the story as a legend, and that instantly sets old Jack off. Furious, old Jack scolds Tang Hao for insulting the village's history and snaps that he only puts up with this doghouse because of little San. Before storming out, old Jack tells Tang San not to grow up like his dispirited father and promises to return in 3 days for the spirit awakening. Tang San tries to say something to his father, but one cold look from Tang Hao is enough to make him swallow the words. With his mood dampened, Tang San goes back to his room and resumes the 10,000 hammer forging trial anyway. That night, just as Tang Hao is about to head out drinking again, Tang San stops him with an important update. Tang San says he finished the 10,000 blows, and for once Tang Hao's dull eyes sharpen with real interest. Tang San runs to fetch the forged iron, now a much smaller pitch-black lump with glossy facets from endless hammering. Tang Hao inspects the iron carefully, and Tang San correctly explains the lesson. Repeated forging can refine poor metal into something far better. Instead of teaching him as promised, Tang Hao only gives a new order: keep forging until the lump is down to fist size. Tang San realizes shrinking that dense iron to a fist will take far more than another 10,000 blows, but the challenge only lights a fiercer spark in him. He goes straight back to work, and the smithy fills again with relentless hammering. Over the next 3 days, Tang San keeps his dong cultivation on the hill, cooks at home, and hammers the pig iron harder and faster with mysterious heaven skill keeping him going. Right on time, old Jack arrives to collect Tang San for the awakening ceremony. Tang Hao gives permission in his usual flat way, only reminding Tang San not to miss midday cooking. Tang San follows old Jack to the village spirit hall, which turns out to be nothing more than a big log cabin in the middle of Holy Spirit Village. Inside, Tang San finds the other village children and a young spirit hall attendant in white named Su Yuntao, whose official badge marks him as a battle-type spirit grandmaster. Old Jack respectfully greets Su Yuntao, but the young official answers with cool impatience and wants to start immediately. When old Jack says he hopes one child might become a spirit master, Su Yuntao bluntly says he has already checked 6 villages without finding a single one with real potential. Old Jack steps aside, and Su Yuntao lines up the 8 children and introduces himself as the guide who will awaken their spirits. He lays out 6 black stones in a hexagon and places a sparkling blue crystal ball beside them, setting the stage for the ritual. As the first child steps into the stone array, Su Yuntao suddenly releases his spirit and transforms under the cry of lone wolf body enhancement. His black hair turns gray, fur spreads over his hands, his body bulks up, claws extend, and 2 spirit rings glow around him. The first boy panics and tries to run, so Su Yuntao grabs him and warns the children not to be afraid of a future spirit master's power. While the others are scared, Tang San watches with sharp curiosity and starts thinking seriously about how spirits and transformations really work. Su Yuntao channels spirit power into the 6 stones, and a golden mist rises from the array around the waiting child. Bathed in that warm light, the frightened boy calms down, trembles, and finally manifests a sickle in his right hand. Su Yuntao judges it as a tool spirit with some attack potential, then moves on to test whether the boy has spirit power at all. The crystal stays dark, and Su Yuntao declares there is no spirit power, which means the boy cannot become a spirit master. The same result repeats through child after child: farm tool spirits, no beast spirits, and not a trace of spirit power. The 7th child, a girl, finally awakens something different, but it is only blue silver grass, the common weed that grows everywhere in the village. Su Yuntao calls blue silver grass a useless spirit with no attack, defense, or support value, and her crystal test also ends with nothing. At last Tang San steps into the center of the 6 stones for his own awakening. As the golden light wraps around him, Tang San feels deep warmth and a sudden shift inside his mysterious heaven skill, like something in his body has opened. Su Yuntao sees an unusually huge shower of golden motes gathering around Tang San and briefly thinks a powerful spirit is about to appear. That hope crashes immediately when Tang San raises his hand and reveals the same blue silvergrass spirit. Convinced Tang San's blue silvergrass is just another useless spirit, Su Yuntao dismisses the children and starts packing up without testing him further. Tang San stops him with quiet persistence and insists he still has not taken the spirit power test. Su Yuntao says there is no point because blue silvergrass never shows spirit power, but Tang San stubbornly asks to try anyway. Something about Tang San's steady attitude makes Su Yuntao hesitate, and he finally hands over the crystal ball. Tang San withdraws the blue silvergrass and notices the spirit feels strangely tied to his own mysterious heaven skill, as if that inner power is what shaped it. The instant Tang San touches the crystal, a terrifying pull drags his inner strength into it, and he cannot break free. The crystal erupts with dazzling blue light, far beyond the faint response needed to prove spirit power exists. Staring at the blazing crystal, Su Yuntao blurts out the impossible result: Tang San has innate full spirit power. Tang San asks what that means, and Su Yuntao explains that most people awaken with no spirit power at all, while Tang San has reached the highest possible starting level from the moment of awakening. Tang San quickly connects the dots and suspects his mysterious heaven skill inner strength may have become this world's spirit power. When Tang San asks if spirit power can start above rank 10, Su Yuntao says no, because further growth requires a spirit ring before anyone can advance beyond that first cap. Using his own earlier transformation as the example, Su Yuntao says Tang San cannot keep progressing through meditation alone until he obtains a spirit ring of his own. Su Yuntao can only sigh at the waste of it all, saying innate full spirit power would have been a rare gift if Tang San's spirit were anything but blue silver grass. As Su Yuntao leaves, old Jack anxiously asks if any child from the village can become a spirit master this year. Su Yuntao says there is one child with spirit power, and even innate full spirit power, but the spirit is blue silver grass. The words hit old Jack hard, because he knows how extraordinary innate full spirit power is and how cruelly useless blue silver grass is considered. Old Jack asks if blue silver grass truly has no future, and Su Yuntao says it can technically cultivate, but in the end a useless spirit is still a useless spirit. With that blunt judgment, Su Yuntao leaves for the next village. Still chasing the most important clue, Tang San runs to old Jack and urgently asks what a spirit ring is and how someone obtains one. Old Jack can only admit he does not really know, except that spirit rings seem to come from hunting spirit beasts, a dangerous task meant for spirit masters. As spirit rings and spirit beasts keep turning in his mind, Tang San starts to suspect that spirit rings may be the missing key to breaking his mysterious heaven skill bottleneck. Old Jack crouches down in shock and confirms that Tang San is the blue silver grass child with innate full spirit power. Jack excitedly urges him toward a spirit master academy, but Tang San says he has to ask his father first. Determined to fight for the village's chance at another spirit master, Jack personally escorts Tang San back to the smithy. Before noon, Jack barges into the quiet smithy and loudly calls for Tang Hao, too irritated to care whether the man is sleeping. Tang Hao finally pushes through the curtain and asks what Jack wants, still looking as lazy and indifferent as ever. Jack angrily scolds Tang Hao for not caring about his son's spirit awakening, while Tang Hao ignores the lecture and asks Tang San what spirit he got. When Tang San quietly says his spirit is blue silver grass, Tang Hao suddenly trembles and stares at him with a flash of emotion he has never shown before. Jack presses the real issue next and declares that the village wants to send Tang San to Noding's Spirit Master Academy at village expense. Tang Hao murmurs blue silver grass to himself, then coldly shuts the idea down with a blunt no. Jack is stunned and argues that innate full spirit power means Tang San could become a real spirit master if he gets a ring. Tang Hao answers with open contempt, saying blue silver grass is useless and that if Tang San leaves, no one will cook for him. Jack keeps fighting for Tang San, but Tang Hao cuts him off and orders him to leave. To calm the situation, Tang San politely backs his father in front of Jack and thanks the old man for trying to help. At the door, Jack gives Tang Hao one last sincere warning not to ruin the boy's future, and reminds him there are still 3 months before enrollment. After Jack leaves, Tang San feels the disappointment hit harder, but he still believes there may be another way to reach spirit rings later. Back inside, Tang San offers to cook lunch, but Tang Hao unexpectedly asks if he is disappointed and still wants to become a spirit master. Tang San gently says blacksmithing is enough for him, but the talk of spirit masters makes Tang Hao suddenly turn bitter and furious. Shaken by his father's reaction, Tang San rushes over, holds his clenched fist, and promises to stay with him instead. Tang Hao steadies himself and asks to see Tang San's spirit with his own eyes. Tang San raises his right hand, and pale blue light gathers into the small blue-silver grass spirit in his palm. Tang Hao stares at the grass in a daze and quietly whispers that it is exactly the same as hers. The sight hits him so hard that Tang Hao abruptly turns away and stumbles back toward the inner room. Tang San almost tells him there is another spirit too, but he stops himself and remembers the Tang sect rule about never exposing all his strength to someone he cannot fully trust. A moment later Tang Hao storms back out, eyes red as if he had just cried, and the hidden truth can no longer stay hidden. Tang San slowly raises his left hand this time, and black light condenses into a strange little hammer. The black hammer makes the whole room feel heavier, and Tang San's face goes pale as the spirit drains his inner strength and drags his arm down with its absurd weight. Tang Hao steps in, grabs the hammer with both shock and certainty, and realizes his son has twin spirits. Overwhelmed, Tang Hao suddenly pulls Tang San into a tight embrace and calls him his son with real emotion for the first time. The moment turns awkward when the hammer keeps getting heavier, and Tang San has to admit he cannot hold it any longer. Tang Hao tells him to withdraw it, and the hammer vanishes in black light, leaving Tang San unsettled by how much power it consumed. After a long silence, Tang Hao tells Tang San one thing he must never forget: use the hammer in his left hand to protect the grass in his right hand forever. While cooking lunch, Tang San keeps turning over everything he learned and becomes more convinced that he will need a spirit ring somehow, no matter what his father says now. At lunch, Tang Hao barely eats, and keeps glancing at Tang San like he is struggling with a decision. When the meal ends, Tang Hao finally asks the question directly and wants to know whether Tang San truly wants to become a spirit master. Tang San hesitates but chooses honesty and nods yes. Tang Hao sighs that Tang San is still walking that road in the end, then retreats to his room without explaining the pain behind those words. Later, Tang San returns to his usual practice and hammers the pig iron again, using the work to train both his body and his inner strength. Tang Hao appears beside the forge, watches for a while in silence, and finally decides not to let his own failures block the boy's growth. He stops Tang San and bluntly tells him that beating the iron like this will never shrink it fast enough. Instead of just correcting him, Tang Hao starts asking questions about where strength comes from in the body and leads Tang San into thinking deeper. Tang San answers that force should start from the waist and that the heart is the body's most important organ, but Tang Hao says both ideas are incomplete. Tang Hao shocks him by saying a person has 3 hearts, not one, and uses the hammer handle to tap Tang San's calves as the hidden second and third hearts. He explains that real full body power rises from the calves through the legs, waist, back, and arms, with the waist acting only as the axis. To prove it, Tang Hao plants his legs, twists his body like a striking beast, and smashes the red-hot iron so hard it caves in by nearly a third. Tang San immediately realizes this kind of force method could help both forging and his Tang sect martial arts, and eagerly tries it himself. His first full-body strike lands with a loud crash, and even though the rebound shocks his arms and throws him off balance, the result is far better than before. Tang Hao gives a rare nod of approval and explains that strong calves are the real source of strength if used correctly. He then upgrades the lesson by pulling out foot pedals for the bellows and explaining that even fire control should rely on leg power. Tang Hao demonstrates the pedal bellows rhythm, and the furnace answers with a fierce leap of flame and a much hotter glow. Tang San takes his place at the bellows and quickly grasps the method, awkward at first but already feeling how much strength it saves. With the fire ready, Tang Hao warns that full-force hammering is dangerous unless he learns how to guide the rebound instead of letting it wreck his body and waste power. Tang Hao begins the next demonstration, striking once and then turning with the rebound to send the hammer around in a smooth, powerful circle. Tang San instantly sees the principle behind it. His father is borrowing the metal's rebound and turning it into the next strike instead of fighting it. Tang Hao speeds up into a storm of perfectly placed blows, controlling the iron's shape so it compresses evenly instead of flattening into a useless sheet. After 36 link strikes, he stops without even breathing hard, and the once impure iron now looks nearly clean. Tang San says he understands the idea of borrowing force, and Tang Hao tells him the hard part is dynamic control, not brute strength. Tang Hao adds the key warning that weak, impure metal must be struck lighter at first, and only later can force increase without shattering it. He leaves Tang San with one final rule for practice. Speed and strength mean nothing if the hammer cannot land exactly where it should. Over the next half-month, Tang San throws himself into the new hammer method, and even with his coordination skills, he can only slowly push his accurate chain of strikes from 2 blows to 7. Balancing full-force swings, rebound control, body rotation, and precise aim pushes him to his limits, but the struggle steadily sharpens all his Tang Sek skills too. He improves from only 2 accurate chain strikes to 7, and the shrinking iron proves the brutal training is working. The leg-driven method also saves enough inner strength that Tang San can spend longer at both the bellows and the anvil every day. Even during his Dawn Purple Demon Eye cultivation on the hill, Tang San keeps thinking about hammer control, as if spirits and forging have started merging into one path. 3 months pass quickly, and by the time Tang San can chain 13 strikes, Tang Hao finally begins teaching him how to forge actual tools. True to his word, Tang Hao teaches in his own blunt way by demonstrating each step once, making Tang San repeat it, and only speaking when a crucial point cannot be missed. After his dawn training on the mountain, Tang San comes home refreshed, and his purple demon eye has already sharpened enough to catch tiny movements with eerie clarity. His forging has also jumped forward fast, and the impossible pig iron block Tang Hao gave him has already been beaten down to a fist-sized lump through relentless practice. Using Tang Hao's force leveraging method, Tang San can now chain more than 24 precise hammer strikes without losing control. At the door, Tang San lightly touches his wrist and smiles because he is carrying the first hidden weapon he has built in this new world. That weapon is a sleeve dart, a spring-loaded launcher hidden in his sleeve with 3 tiny arrows and even a safety catch so it will not fire by accident. The whole weapon was made from the very lump of metal he spent nearly 100 days forging down by hand. When Tang Hao held that finished lump, even he was shocked, because the ordinary pig iron had been purified into true iron mother. Tang San knows that in his old life even Tang Sek's best craftsmen could not have forced common pig iron into iron mother like this. He may not match Tang Hao as a smith, but when it comes to hidden weapons, Tang San trusts his own craft more than anyone in this world. He has tuned this ordinary-looking sleeve dart to stay deadly past 30 meters, far beyond the range of a normal one. Each short arrow is built for killing efficiency, with blood grooves, tiny fletchings, and a spiral drilled point for better piercing power. Tang San is still blocked by his cultivation bottleneck, but now he finally feels he has something that could let him fight back even against a spirit master. Still, he follows one hard rule from Tang's sect: a hidden weapon stops being a hidden weapon the moment the enemy sees it coming. Because Tang Hao never asked what he used the Iron Mother for, the sleeve dart remains Tang San's secret alone. He starts breakfast as usual and calls Tang Hao to eat, expecting the same routine as every other morning. But Tang Hao does not answer, and Tang San instantly worries that something is wrong. He rushes to the room and finds the bed empty, the first time his father has not still been sleeping in. Before he can figure it out, Tang Hao returns and coolly asks where Tang San went so early. Tang San says he went out to exercise, and Tang Hao does not press him any further. Then Tang Hao drops the real news. Tang San must stop forging for now, because old Jack will take him to Noding City tomorrow to enroll at the primary Spirit Master Academy as a working student. The words hit Tang San like a shock, because Spirit Master study may finally be the chance he needs to break through his cultivation wall. When he asks why Tang Hao changed his mind, Tang Hao only throws the question back and asks whether he wants to go or not. Tang San's first instinct is not for himself but for his father, and he worries that no one will be there to cook for Tang Hao. Tang Hao coldly tells him to leave without worrying, says this is the path Tang San chose, and adds that his smithing skills should be enough to help him survive in town. Even through that cold tone, Tang San feels the warmth behind it, and suddenly hates the thought of leaving his father. Tang Hao says Tang San can go only if he agrees to one condition. Tang San agrees immediately, and Tang Hao sharply warns him that a promise made as a man must never be given lightly. Tang San calmly says he will trust any demand his father makes, because he believes Tang Hao is acting for his good. That trust clearly hits Tang Hao, and he finally reveals the rule he cares about most. He orders Tang San never to attach a spirit ring to his hammer spirit, and never to let anyone even see that hammer appear. Tang Hao adds one more warning: Tang San must keep his twin spirit's secret from everyone. Tang San asks if that means he can still use blue silver grass. Tang Hao explains that blue silver grass is fine, and as long as one spirit gains rings, Tang San's spirit power can keep advancing without ever using the hammer spirit. Tang San repeats the rule back to be sure he understands. He will cultivate and use only blue silver grass, and save the hammer for a true life or death crisis. Tang San accepts without hesitation, because for him the real priority is finding any path that can break his bottleneck. He is not discouraged by blue silver grass at all, since with enough inner force even leaves and petals can become deadly weapons in Tang Sek's skill. With that settled, father and son simply sit down to eat. Tang San has almost nothing to pack, and his patched clothes fit into a tiny bundle in moments. Even on the day before leaving he keeps forging, because he knows every future hidden weapon will still depend on his own hands. The day drags painfully for him, because this is the first time since arriving in this world that he feels both excited and uneasy about leaving home. That night Tang Hao goes out drinking as usual, acting as if tomorrow will be no different from any other day. At dawn on the hilltop, Tang San trains one last time before leaving and feels his purple demon eye edging into the realm of the finest detail. He reflects that most Tang Sek disciples could only reach the detailed realm, and even greater progress in purple demon eye was famous for being painfully slow. To test himself, he hardens a leaf with mysterious heaven skill and flicks it out like a hidden weapon. The leaf only holds for about a meter before losing force, so Tang San judges the effect still too weak. Knowing it is time, he uses Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track to race back down the mountain. Back home, Tang San carefully cooks one last breakfast for his father and even adds water so the kanji will stay warm later. Old Jack arrives dressed in especially new clothes, clearly taking this trip far more seriously than usual. Jack urges Tang San to leave at once and grumbles that Tang Hao still cannot get out of bed. Tang San hushes him immediately, because he knows how much his father hates having his sleep disturbed. Before leaving, Tang San writes a few simple words on the ground with charcoal for Tang Hao to find. He glances one last time toward his father's room, shoulders his tiny bundle, and quietly leaves with Jack. Only after they are gone does Tang Hao step out, fully awake, and stare after the disappearing figures in silence. Then he turns back to read the message Tang San left behind on the floor. The note is painfully simple. Tang San tells his father they have left, asks him to take care of himself, drink less, and remember to eat the kanji in the pot. Tang Hao lifts the iron pot and drinks straight from it, and for once the hard man cannot hide the mist in his eyes. On the road out of Holy Spirit Village, Tang San keeps turning back, still unable to pull his heart away from home. Old Jack gently asks whether Tang San is more reluctant to leave the village or his drunkard father. Tang San admits it is both, and Jack tries to cheer him up by saying the wider world will open once he reaches the academy. Jack explains that the academy's working student place covers tuition and lodging, and simple campus chores can be exchanged for food. When Tang San repeats Tang Hao's idea about finding smith work in town, Jack is horrified and snaps that no forge would hire a child this small. Tang San asks what the academy is really like, and Jack starts laying out how Spirit Master education works. Jack says the primary Spirit Master Academy takes newly awakened children for 6 years and teaches both basic spirit training and ordinary lessons. If their talent holds up, those students can move on to an intermediate Spirit Master Academy that trains them until 18 and demands much more. And above that sits the Advanced Spirit Master Academy, so elite that the Empire has only 2 and even graduates can win noble titles. Tang San is stunned that Spirit Masters can rise that high, and Jack says for commoners it is the clearest path to change their fate. But Jack also warns him about the cruel gap between poor and rich, because stronger schools demand much more than talent alone. He explains that graduating primary school only needs rank 10 and a first spirit ring, something the academy can help students obtain. Intermediate graduation is much harsher, because students must reach rank 20 and secure a second spirit ring, a dangerous step that means hunting a spirit beast with their own strength. That is where noble families pull ahead, because their children can hunt spirit beasts with family warriors at their side, while common-born spirit masters have to rely on themselves. Advanced Academy is harsher still, demanding rank 30 and a third spirit ring, and even then only about a third of students seem to make it through. Tang San asks about the spirit master titles beyond that, but Jack can only admit those people are great figures far above ordinary villagers and he barely knows the details. By the time the road conversation ends, Tang San has at least gained a rough map of how spirit master life works on this continent. After half a day on foot, they finally reach Noting City and see its thick border city walls ahead. At the gate they pass the usual inspection with the other travelers and enter the city without trouble. Once inside, Jack quietly reminds Tang San that he will leave him at the academy and come back only when the term ends near the new year. The thought of being left there makes Tang San instinctively ask if Jack is really going back so soon. Jack says poor people cannot afford inns, so Tang San must make the most of this chance and become Holy Spirit Village's pride. After asking directions several times, they finally reach the primary Spirit Master Academy in Western Noting. The academy gate alone is enough to show how important Spirit Masters are, with a huge stone arch, black iron gates, and a tree-lined road beyond. But the moment they walk up, a young gatekeeper stops them with open contempt and treats them like filthy country nobodies. Old Jack swallows the insult, politely explains they came from Holy Spirit Village, and says Tang San is this year's working student. The gatekeeper mocks the idea that such a tiny village could produce anyone with spirit power and says their story sounds fake. Jack hands over Tang San's Spirit Hall certificate, hoping the official paper will settle it. Instead, the gatekeeper scoffs at the line saying blue silver grass and innate full spirit power, and calls the certificate a forgery. That is too much for Jack, and he angrily says he will go find a Spirit Hall attendant to prove the paper is real. Jack turns to leave with Tang San, because he would rather walk away than keep enduring the insult. The real problem is petty greed, because the gatekeeper was waiting for the usual bribe from poor families and turned nasty when none appeared. Still feeling bold, the gatekeeper shouts one more insult after them and sneers that Holy Spirit Village might as well be Beggar Village. That strike at the village's pride makes Jack whirl around in fury and march back toward him. The gatekeeper recovers his nerve, insults Tang San's patched clothes, and reaches out to shove Jack away. Before the shove lands, Tang San steps in between them. Using a simple but exact grappling motion, Tang San redirects the arm, steps behind the gatekeeper's foot, and breaks his balance. The much bigger man drops to the ground anyway, and even Jack is left staring in shock. Losing face to a child sends the gatekeeper into a rage, and he scrambles up ready to attack Tang San. A hoarse voice suddenly cuts through the scene and orders everyone to stop. The gatekeeper's fury vanishes instantly when he sees the man called Grandmaster and turns obsequious on the spot. Tang San studies the newcomer and feels an odd pressure from his calm, tired-looking gaze, as if this man can see straight through him. Ignoring the gatekeeper completely, Grandmaster politely asks old Jack to show him the Spirit Hall certificate. After reading it and measuring Tang San with that same unreadable look, Grandmaster says the certificate is genuine. A weary Academy Master checks the Spirit Hall certificate, confirms it is real, then apologizes for the gatekeeper's behavior and asks Jack to leave Tang San in his care. After the gate incident, old Jack is so flattered by Grandmaster's apology that he quickly entrusts Tang San to him and warns the boy to behave. Tang San stays silent, but inside he has already judged the gatekeeper as a real threat and quietly prepared his hidden sleeve dart to kill if needed. Once old Jack finally leaves, Grandmaster turns cold and gives the sweating gatekeeper a first and last warning. Grandmaster takes Tang San's hand and leads him inside, and the boy feels an unexpected sense of trust from that dry, steady grip. Tang San thanks him as teacher, but Grandmaster immediately corrects him and says he is not one of the Academy's teachers. Tang San guesses Grandmaster must be the principal or some Academy leader, only for Grandmaster to laugh and deny that too. Grandmaster calls himself little more than a tenant living here, then slows down and pointedly says Tang San should only call him teacher if he truly means to become his disciple. Tang San asks if Grandmaster wants to teach him spirit cultivation, and Grandmaster stops to ask plainly whether he is willing. Tang San does not answer right away, choosing silence instead of a rash refusal, and Grandmaster reads that hesitation as sharp intelligence. Then Grandmaster drops a bombshell and says Tang San is the third twin spirit child to appear in the last 100 years. The reveal jolts Tang San so hard that his left wrist lifts again toward the hidden weapon, just in case this strange man knows too much. Grandmaster stays completely composed, opens Tang San's Spirit Hall certificate, and says the answer is right there on the paper. He explains that he has studied hundreds of blue-silver grass spirit users, and none with spirit power ever had anything close to Tang San's innate full spirit power. From that mismatch alone, Grandmaster concludes Tang San must have a second spirit, and that hidden spirit has to be something powerful. Tang San tests him with a skeptical question about exceptions, unwilling to surrender the secret too easily. Grandmaster answers seriously that exceptions do exist, but they come from strong inherited spirits, or rare mutations, and ordinary blue-silver grass has never been one of them. When Tang San asks what a variant spirit is, Grandmaster patiently explains that spirits usually come from one parent, but rare mutations can create a new and sometimes exceptional spirit. That calm, methodical explanation convinces Tang San, and he suddenly steps back, drops to his knees, and kowtows 3 times to formally accept Grandmaster as his master. Grandmaster is caught off guard and starts pulling him up, saying this kind of kneeling is normally reserved for parents and the emperor. Tang San answers with complete sincerity that a teacher for a day is a father for life, so Grandmaster deserves that level of respect. Those words genuinely move Grandmaster, and he helps Tang San up, more certain than ever that he has chosen the right disciple. Still excited, Grandmaster takes Tang San by the hand again and personally leads his new disciple to the dean's office to register. At the first-floor dean's office, Grandmaster hands over Tang San's certificate and asks Director Su to register Holy Spirit Village's new working student immediately. Director Su welcomes Grandmaster warmly, but Grandmaster leaves right away after telling Tang San to complete enrollment and saying he will find him later. Tang San sees him off with a sincere goodbye, openly calling him teacher now that the bond is settled, and Grandmaster leaves pleased. Director Su is surprised that Grandmaster actually accepted a disciple, but he does not stop it and simply reminds Tang San to follow Academy rules like everyone else. One younger teacher snatches up the certificate, warns that a master should not be chosen casually, then spots Tang San's innate full spirit power and turns his surprise into pity when he sees blue-silver grass. Director Su shuts that down, saying Grandmaster may be eccentric but his knowledge of spirits is still unmatched in its own way. With the matter settled, Director Su gives Tang San a neat white academy uniform and assigns him to room 7, the dormitory for working students. As Tang San leaves the office, he overhears the younger teachers mocking Grandmaster as a clown whose theories are all talk, and his contempt quietly turns back on them instead. To Tang San, their ridicule only proves they are fools, because Grandmaster saw through his twin spirits from one certificate and offers exactly the theory he needs. He finds the dormitory building and heads to room 7, the one rough mixed-age room set aside for poor working students. At room 7, Tang San finds a huge noisy dorm with rows of beds, but only a handful have bedding, making the poverty gap obvious at a glance. The older, bigger boy Wan Xing immediately comes over, sizes him up as a new working student, and introduces himself as the boss of the room. Tang San answers calmly that his spirit is blue-silver grass, and the whole dorm bursts into laughter at the idea that such a spirit could cultivate. When Wan Xing starts calling him Little Third and treating him like a subordinate, Tang San's smile disappears and he corrects him sharply. Wan Xing answers by shoving him back, making it clear this is a test of status, not a joke. Tang San quietly sets his uniform on a nearby bed, making it obvious he has decided to answer the challenge. In the next instant, Tang San flashes behind Wan Xing and sends him stumbling straight out through the dorm door with one clean throw. Humiliated and furious, Wan Xing charges back like a tiger, and Tang San calmly prepares to make the lesson stick. Tang San steps into the attack, redirects Wan Xing's own strength with Tang Sect grappling, and throws him to the ground a second time, even harder. That second fall changes the room, and the watching children stop laughing once they realize the tiny newcomer is genuinely dangerous. Wan Xing finally uses his war tiger spirit, a pale yellow glow flaring around him as he springs up stronger and faster than before. Tang San meets him head-on, and what starts as claws versus claws turns into a straight contest of strength. Wan Xing expects to overpower a 6-year-old, but Tang San's blacksmith-trained body holds like steel and crushes that confidence instantly. With one precise break in Wan Xing's grip and a backward pull, Tang San strips away the bigger boy's balance completely. Wan Xing suddenly sees Tang San's knee rising toward his face and realizes he is about to get badly hurt. At the last second, Tang San deliberately spares him, switching the knee strike into a controlled kick that flips Wan Xing over and drops him flat on his stomach. This time Wan Xing struggles painfully to get up, and fear finally outweighs anger when he looks at Tang San again. Tang San picks up his uniform again and simply asks whether Wan Xing can step aside now. Instead of attacking again, Wan Xing nervously asks if that terrifying technique was a spirit ability. Tang San says it was only a fighting technique, not a spirit ability, and then proves he was telling the truth about his spirit by summoning blue-silver grass into his palm. The dorm kids swarm around him in awe, and when Tang San asks about betting, another working student bitterly explains the academy does not provide any for students like them. One boy awkwardly offers to share his betting, but Tang San politely refuses and says he can manage on his own. Still smarting from the loss, Wan Xing asks the real question on his mind. Why did Tang San hold back when he could have broken his face? Tang San answers simply that they are classmates, not personal enemies, drawing a clear line between fighting and malice. That answer breaks the tension, and Wan Xing apologizes, explaining that every new working student is tested because they have to stay united after being looked down on by the other students. Tang San dryly points out that this little test was really just a show of strength, and Wan Xing can only admit that the newcomer ended up giving all of them a much bigger one. Wan Xing finally asks the obvious and confirms that this frightening new roommate is only 6 years old. In room 7, Wan Xing shoves aside another student, sits beside Tang San, and bluntly declares that the new boy is now the dorm boss because he won the fight. Tang San tries to refuse, but Wan Xing yanks up both sleeves and shows a mess of fresh bruises from defending the other working students. When Wan Xing explains that room 7 keeps getting bullied because its students are poor, Tang San gives in and accepts the role so he can protect them. A clear girl's voice calls from the doorway, and the whole room whips around toward the open door in surprise. The newcomer introduces herself as Xiao Wu, and her neat plain clothes, bright eyes, and very long scorpion braid leave the whole boys' dorm speechless. Tang San whispers in confusion about boys and girls sharing a dorm, and Wan Xing tells him children here are not separated by gender yet. Wan Xing nudges his new boss to follow dorm custom, but Tang San visibly balks at the idea of picking on a girl. Forced to say something, Tang San awkwardly greets Xiao Wu and asks her spirit, dodging the word boss entirely. Xiao Wu cheerfully says her spirit is a rabbit, and Tang San nervously jokes that his blue-silver grass is rabbit food. Tang San explains the dorm rule that new working students must show their strength, and asks Xiao Wu for a friendly spar instead of bullying her. Xiao Wu's eyes light up, she drops her bundle aside, and agrees with obvious excitement. Before Tang San can settle into a stance, Xiao Wu snaps a kick straight at his chin with startling speed. Tang San dodges, grabs her ankle, and drives in with a controlled shoulder strike, still planning to stop before he really hurts her. But Xiao Wu slips free, braces on his shoulders, and climbs onto him in one fluid acrobatic move that catches Tang San completely off guard. With both legs wrapped around his neck and her hands pushing off the floor, Xiaowu whips Tang San backward and throws him flat onto the ground. Tang San lands unhurt thanks to his internal skill, but he instantly understands that he lost because Xiaowu's technique and his own hesitation beat him cleanly. Instead of making excuses, Tang San admits defeat and asks what that strange close-range style was called. Xiaowu cheerfully names its soft skill, proud of how she uses flexibility and body control instead of brute force. The room is still staring in disbelief when Tang San formally hands the boss position over to Xiaowu under dorm rules. Xiaowu loves the idea of being boss, casually claims everyone as her people, and takes the bed right next to Tang San. Once she settles in, Xiaowu demands a proper explanation of how the academy and the working student life here actually work. Wang Xing steps up and explains that they study in the morning, work in the afternoon for meal money, and that he is a 6th grader with rank 9 spirit power. Curious after that fight, Xiaowu asks Tang San's rank, and his answer that he has innate full spirit power shocks the whole dorm. That reveal finally makes sense of Tang San's earlier strength, and Wang Xing quietly accepts why he lost. A teacher named Mo Hen walks in carrying bedding and calls for the 2 new first-year working students to stand. Mo Hen hands Tang San a brand new bedding set and says Grandmaster sent it for him. Mo Hen assigns Tang San and Xiaowu to sweep the garden south of the sports ground every day for 10 copper spirit coins, with deductions or expulsion if they slack off. After the teacher leaves, Tang San feels warmed by Grandmaster's quiet kindness, but Xiaowu stares at the bedding with a very practical new problem in mind. The boys offer Xiaowu their ragged mattresses, but she wrinkles her nose and orders everyone to stop calling her boss and call her Xiaowu Jia instead. Then Xiaowu turns to Tang San and boldly suggests they push their beds together and share Grandmaster's oversized bedding. Tang San sputters that unrelated boys and girls should not sleep together, and Xiaowu fires back so shamelessly that he is left speechless. Overrun by her momentum, Tang San drags his bed over, and Xiaowu efficiently spreads the large bedding across both beds. Xiaowu lays both cloth bundles at the center seam as a strict border line and warns Tang San not to cross it. When Wang Xing calls everyone to lunch, Xiaowu bounces up at once and asks what good food the academy has. The mood sours when Wang Xing admits working students can only afford the cheapest meals, and Tang San quietly says he will stay behind instead. Xiaowu realizes meals cost money too, and Wang Xing, trying to act heroic, offers to cover food for both her and Tang San for 2 days. Tang San finally agrees. Xiaowu brightens instantly, and the whole group heads across the busy sports ground toward the academy dining hall. Inside the huge 2-floor dining hall, an older student on the staircase sneers down at Wang Xing's group as poverty ghosts who will never afford to eat upstairs. Remembering she has to act as Room 7's boss in public, Xiaowu snaps back at the insult right there in the dining hall and demands to know what makes the 2nd floor so special. Once a classmate explains the upstairs food is far too expensive for working students, the older boy mocks Xiaowu too, and she starts after him until Tang San grabs her back. Tang San catches Xiaowu and calmly tells her to forget it, refusing to treat a childish taunt like a real threat. As Tang San goes to line up, he spots Grandmaster in the dining hall and hurries over to greet him. Grandmaster checks on him, invites him to eat upstairs, and offers to show him his quarters afterward. Tang San politely refuses because he wants to stay with his dorm mates, and Grandmaster simply accepts and tells him to wait at the gate after eating. Wang Xing is amazed that Tang San knows Grandmaster at all, then casually belittles him as a weak freeloader living off academy connections. That hits a nerve hard, and Tang San coldly warns Wang Xing never to insult his teacher like that again. Tang San rejects Wang Xing's offer to pay for him and leaves the dining hall, treating his teacher's dignity as something non-negotiable. After eating his own rations and waiting quietly by the dining hall gate, Tang San stays so still that passing students can only stare at him in curiosity. An hour later, Grandmaster finally comes out with a mild middle-aged man, calls Tang San over, and takes him away. Grandmaster brings Tang San to his simple room in the dormitory building, where the plain space is dominated by shelves full of books. Once inside, Grandmaster quietly unwraps a meal he saved for Tang San, proving he noticed the boy left lunch hungry. Tang San eats gratefully while Grandmaster waits at the desk, already ready to move from kindness back into serious teaching. As soon as Tang San finishes, Grandmaster asks him to release his other spirit so he can examine the twin spirit's secret more closely. Tang San obeys and summons the small black hammer from his left hand again, now able to hold it more steadily than before. The sight of the hammer jolts Grandmaster to his feet, and his composure cracks for a rare moment of open shock and excitement. After collecting himself, Grandmaster orders Tang San to hide that hammer from everyone and never add spirit rings to it without his permission. Tang San is startled because Tang Hao gave the same warning, and when Grandmaster learns his father is a blacksmith, his expression turns even stranger. Grandmaster refuses to explain yet, but he firmly repeats that leaving the hammer untouched is essential to Tang San's future path, and Tang San accepts that. Then Grandmaster gets to the urgent part. At dawn he will take Tang San out of the academy to hunt a suitable spirit ring and let him truly become a spirit master. Tang San is thrilled, because getting a spirit ring may finally tell him whether the bottleneck in his mysterious heaven skill comes from lacking one. Before that trip, Grandmaster asks what Tang San thinks of his blue-silver grass, pushing him to choose the spirit's future direction himself. Tang San answers that even a spirit mocked as useless must have a purpose somewhere, and Grandmaster is clearly pleased by that answer. Grandmaster agrees and says his research has led him to one core belief: there are no trash spirits, only trash people. He begins the real lesson by splitting spirits into beast spirits and tool spirits, explaining that Tang San's blue-silver grass and hidden hammer both belong to the tool category. Grandmaster explains that beast spirits strengthen the body directly, while tool spirits act more independently and often lean toward support. To make the point clear, he uses food spirits as an example and tells Tang San that some spirits can literally be turned into edible energy for others. Tang San still only grasps part of it, so Grandmaster patiently keeps explaining that tool spirits can be developed in many directions, from food and battle to detection, healing, and control. By the end of the lesson, Grandmaster leaves Tang San with the key decision that will shape everything next. Before choosing a spirit ring, he must decide the growth direction of his blue-silver grass. In Grandmaster's room, he tells Tang San that future spirit rings should follow one compatible direction so they strengthen each other instead of clashing. Grandmaster turns grim but excited and says blue-silver grass is not truly useless. If handled correctly, it can still become a real combat spirit. Tang San immediately asks for guidance, and Grandmaster decides his blue-silver grass should be trained along the control system path. When Tang San asks what control system means, Grandmaster explains that this kind of spirit master restrains the enemy first and supports the real attack from there. Grandmaster starts listing blue-silver grass's strengths, beginning with its tiny spirit power cost, which lets Tang San use it for a long time. His second point is stealth. Because blue-silver grass is everywhere, many spirit beasts may not even notice it as a threat. The third advantage is flexibility, because weak plant spirits can evolve in many directions and do not easily reject new attributes. Tang San is startled to learn that spirits can reject incompatible spirit rings, but Grandmaster says blue-silver grass's plant nature even makes poison easier to absorb than it would be for most beast spirits. Grandmaster's fourth point is the biggest one. Tang San's innate full spirit power removes the usual weakness that keeps blue-silver grass users from ever growing strong. Hearing his ordinary grass analyze this clearly, Tang San feels he was absolutely right to accept Grandmaster as his teacher. Grandmaster says blue-silver grass suits control because it can bind like rope, and Tang San immediately points out the obvious problem that ordinary grass tears too easily. Grandmaster answers that Tang San should build his rings toward toughness and poison, so the grass can first hold enemies in place and then turn dangerous. That finally clicks for Tang San, because if his hidden weapons cannot hit a moving target, a binding spirit can stop the target first. Even so, Tang San knows he still has to figure out how his mysterious heaven skill and this world's spirit system actually connect. Grandmaster ends the lesson by telling Tang San to return now, because he will come for him at the dormitory early the next morning. Walking out of the room, Tang San is still restless from everything he just learned, because Grandmaster finally made the whole Spirit Master system feel clear. What excites him most is Grandmaster's promise to help him get his first spirit ring, which could finally reveal how his cultivation works in this world. Back in room 7, Tang San finds the others gone, so he lies down on the joined beds and quietly reviews Grandmaster's lesson until he drifts off. A cheerful voice wakes him, and when Tang San opens his eyes, Xiao Wu is leaning over the bed boundary with a teasing smile. Tang San awkwardly reminds her she crossed the line, but Xiao Wu just laughs and says girls can be invited over while boys absolutely cannot cross back. Tang San tells Xiao Wu that Grandmaster will take him out tomorrow to hunt his first spirit ring, so he may be gone for a while. The room instantly turns envious, because every work-study student knows crossing from spirit scholar to true spirit master depends on that first ring. Xiao Wu first complains about him leaving before classes even start, then realizes the real problem is that his work-study chores will fall onto her. Tang San quickly offers a fair deal. She covers the work for now, and when he returns the rest of the term's labor becomes his while she still keeps half the pay. That finally satisfies Xiao Wu, and she accepts with a small pleased smile. After dinner, the other work-study students all sit on their beds to cultivate, treating spirit power as their one real way out. Tang San notices their cultivation posture resembles his, but Xiao Wu is the one person who refuses to sit still at all. Since his own mysterious heaven skill is stuck at a bottleneck for now, Tang San finally gives in when Xiao Wu drags him outside for a walk. Out on the cool starry sports ground, Xiao Wu looks delighted by the night sky while Tang San wonders why she dragged him out here at all. Xiao Wu finally says the truth. She wants a rematch, because she thinks her earlier win came too easily and Tang San still is not convinced. Tang San accepts at once, and Xiao Wu smugly warns him not to cry if she plants him on the ground again. Instead of charging, Xiao Wu strolls straight into close range, which immediately makes Tang San suspicious because her best attacks use her legs. Then Xiao Wu whips her long braid at his neck, turning her hair itself into the opening strike. Tang San moves to catch the braid, but Xiao Wu slips past that defense and coils her arm around his hand and forearm instead. Her other hand and braid come together like extra limbs, locking Tang San down before he can break free cleanly. Tang San tries to leap back and even uses mysterious heaven skill, but Xiao Wu clings to him like weightless cotton and stays right on top of him. He bends back to dodge the braid, and that is exactly when Xiao Wu releases at the right instant and flips him hard onto the ground. Xiao Wu pins his shoulders and straddles his waist in triumph, cheerfully asking if he is convinced now. Tang San hates losing like this and immediately demands another round, but Xiao Wu smugly tells him to escape first if he can. Before they can keep arguing, an angry female teacher storms over and misreads the pin as shameless flirting in public. Xiao Wu jumps off at once and both children scramble up, but the teacher keeps scolding them for acting improper at such a young age. Tang San tries to explain they were only testing spirit abilities, but the teacher does not believe first-year children could already do that and orders them to the dean's office. Both kids refuse at the same time, and Tang San insists they can prove it right here instead. Xiao Wu takes over before anyone can stop her and boldly says she will spar the teacher herself. She springs up like a rabbit and catches the teacher's guard in the first instant, exactly as Tang San expected. Xiao Wu's braid coils around the teacher's neck while her arms trap both of the woman's hands, instantly turning the exchange into another close-range snare. Then Xiao Wu bends back, flashes pale spirit power, and finishes the move with a brutal double kick that hurls the teacher away. The teacher crashes down hard and needs a moment just to stand again, thoroughly shaken by what a little girl just did to her. Xiao Wu innocently asks if the teacher is alright, but the woman now realizes this child must have a dangerous background and dares not push the matter further. All the teacher can do now is warn them not to spar without supervision again before she leaves in dejected confusion. Once she is gone, Tang San quietly asks about that move, and Xiao Wu proudly names it rabbit-kicking eagle, saying she already held back. Xiao Wu immediately gets suspicious that he is studying her technique to counter it later, and she bristles when he calls her petty. So they restart the match, and this time Tang San refuses to let her get close enough to wrap him up again. Xiao Wu rushes him with confidence, but Tang San opens his purple demon eye and suddenly sees her movements with perfect clarity. Using Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track, he slips aside with precise timing and leaves her opening pounds completely empty. Xiao Wu refuses to stop and keeps chasing all over the field, yet Tang San's footwork keeps placing him just out of reach every single time. After running herself short of breath, Xiao Wu finally stops and angrily calls him shameless for turning a spar into pure dodging. Tang San agrees to attack instead, scoops up a few pebbles, and calmly announces exactly where he is going to hit her. His first stone flies exactly where he warned, then the next three reveal a hidden weapon trick, seeming to travel together before splitting apart in front of Xiao Wu and catching her completely off guard. The pebbles smack her shoulder and both lower legs, and Xiao Wu yelps in pain because she never expected them to change direction like that. Tang San declares that if she can throw him, he can use stones, but Xiao Wu stubbornly refuses to count the loss and demands another round anyway. They keep sparring deep into the night, and by dawn Tang San is still grinning about how satisfying it feels to hit a moving target. They are so worn out from all that sparring that nothing comes of their shared bed setup that night, and both simply rest. Before most of the academy is even awake, Grandmaster and Tang San leave through the main gate to begin the trip for his first spirit ring. On the road, Tang San asks where they are going, and Grandmaster says their destination is Spirit Hunting Forest northeast of Noting City, where the Empire keeps lower-level spirit beasts for hunting. Tang San is amazed that spirit beasts can be held captive at all, so Grandmaster begins teaching him the basic ranking system by age and power. Grandmaster explains that spirit beasts and spirit rings are both judged by years, from 10 and 100 years upward to 1,000, 10,000, and even 100,000 years. He finishes by giving Tang San the key visual rule: spirit ring colors reveal their age, from white to yellow to purple to black to red. On the road to Spirit Hunting Forest, Tang San asks Grandmaster how a stronger spirit beast actually makes a spirit ring better. Grandmaster explains that the ring's age decides how much it boosts a spirit's attributes, so stronger rings can make a spirit master far more effective. Tang San immediately sees the unfair side of it, and wonders if nobles can just use family power to grab superior spirit rings. Grandmaster praises the question but says spirit rings have harsh rules. The spirit master must land the killing blow and absorb the ring before it fades. He adds that spirit beasts would rather blow up their own spirit power than be captured alive, which makes cheating the process much harder. Even so, Grandmaster admits organized groups still give nobles an advantage, because allies can weaken the beast and leave the last strike to the right person. But power and money still cannot ignore compatibility, because the wrong spirit ring can fail to help or even damage the spirit master. Grandmaster warns Tang San that his current body can handle at most a 100-year ring, and forcing a 1,000-year ring would simply destroy him. He ends the lesson with a hard rule Tang San takes to heart: this world is fair only to people who pay the proper price instead of chasing shortcuts. When Grandmaster heads toward the inner city instead of the gate, Tang San realizes they still need supplies and faster transport before leaving. Grandmaster quietly buys travel provisions, including water bags, dried food, fruit, and to Tang San's confusion, a huge pile of white radishes. The load looks ridiculous until Grandmaster hires a carriage, making the long 400-li trip practical after all. As the carriage rolls out, Tang San stares through the curtain at the city and feels a quiet pull toward the wider life waiting beyond the academy. Grandmaster breaks that moment by handing Tang San a beautiful black belt set with 24 pale jade stones. Grandmaster tells him the old belt has been neglected for years, and now he wants Tang San to be the one who finally uses it well. Tang San quickly senses the belt is no ordinary gift, because faint streams of spirit power seem to circulate through the jade pieces. Grandmaster reveals it is a rare storage spirit tool, with each jade stone holding 1 cubic meter of space. That single explanation hits Tang San hard, because to him the belt means 24 hidden weapon slots waiting to be filled someday. Grandmaster explains that spirit tools are ancient relics now barely understood, and this one came to him long ago through an adventure with friends. When Grandmaster tells him to name it, Tang San immediately chooses 24 moonlit bridges. Grandmaster accepts the poetic name and teaches Tang San the basic trick of infusing spirit power to store and retrieve items on command. For the rest of the ride, Tang San practices with the most absurd training props possible, those heavy white radishes. By noon the next day they finally reach Spirit Hunting Forest, and Tang San is stunned because the place looks more like a loud market than wild nature. The forest entrance is packed with recruiters shouting for spirit hunting groups, all chasing profit where spirit beasts can be turned into power. Grandmaster points out that prices here are inflated, which is exactly why he bought everything back in Noting City first. When Tang San asks about the shouting recruiters, Grandmaster explains that group hunting is the safest common way to kill spirit beasts and still claim the ring properly. He lays out what a real hunting team needs: supply, healing, scouting, defense, and attack, all built on long practice and absolute trust. His real warning is blunt: when Tang San chooses teammates one day, the first thing that matters is whether he can trust them with his back. Past the market, Tang San finally sees the true forest edge: giant trees, a towering steel fence, and a line of armored soldiers guarding the entrance. Grandmaster quietly warns that only spirit masters with proper warrants can enter, and anyone sneaking in still has to fear spirit hall patrols deeper inside. Tang San asks who truly controls the forest, but Grandmaster cuts him off and warns that some questions are dangerous to ask out loud. Instead, Grandmaster explains the permit requirements and places his own dark third-grade Spirit Hall token in Tang San's hand. Grandmaster points out the sword, hammer, and beast head on the token, explaining the Spirit Hall ranks and powerful figures those symbols represent. Tang San guesses that tool spirits should be weaker than beast spirits, and Grandmaster immediately corrects him: what matters is cultivation, not that crude label. Grandmaster says his third-grade token can be kept for life, then points out the blue lightning tyrant dragon mark and the respected clan behind it. He adds that the 6 Spirit Hall token marks represent 6 formidable spirit masters and the 6 powerful clans behind them. At the checkpoint, the captain recognizes Grandmaster's token at a glance and respectfully orders the soldiers to open the way without even questioning Tang San. The moment they pass the steel fence, the market noise falls away and the forest finally feels like the wild place Tang San had imagined. Before moving deeper, Tang San asks one more question about the 6 figures on the token and learns they are all titled Dalua, the strongest of the strong. Grandmaster says those matters are still far above Tang San's current reach, then orders him to stay within one step once the real search begins. With a sudden release of spirit power, Grandmaster finally summons his own spirit in front of Tang San. What appears is Luo San Pao, a bizarre pale purple creature that looks part dog, part pig, and far too strange for Tang San to process at a glance. Grandmaster introduces the creature as his spirit, and Tang San blurts out his shock because beast spirits are supposed to attach to the body, not exist like this. Grandmaster admits the painful truth: his spirit is a failed variant, and that defect left him with only half a rank at awakening and no hope of reaching rank 30. Tang San apologizes for touching an old wound, but Grandmaster brushes it off and introduces the spirit more lightly as Luo San Pao, named for its call and its 3-shot limit. When Grandmaster orders San Pao to open the way, the plump little spirit waddles ahead with surprisingly useful confidence. Grandmaster explains that San Pao's nose can track spirit beasts and estimate their strength, which makes the odd spirit far more useful than it first looked. Then Grandmaster hands Tang San a magnificent short sword and makes the rule clear: the final killing blow must be Tang San's own. Their first contact is only a test, as San Pao spots a 10-year multicolored cat in a tree and Grandmaster decides it is not worth disturbing. Grandmaster uses the moment as another lesson, explaining that the cat family is dangerous even when small and would become terrifying at higher years. Tang San asks how to judge a spirit beast's true age, and Grandmaster immediately turns the whole forest into a field classroom. Pointing to a solitary bamboo spirit beast, Grandmaster shows that size and spirit power color are the key clues, with 10-year beasts using white and 100-year beasts using yellow. Tang San wonders if they should take that bamboo, but Grandmaster refuses because his first ring must be chosen carefully and pushed close to the safest limit. Grandmaster gives Tang San a precise target for his first ring, as close as possible to 423 years without crossing that line. So they keep searching, and Grandmaster patiently introduces one spirit beast after another while San Pao helps flush them out from hiding. By late day they still have not chosen one, so Grandmaster decides to stop and camp in a sheltered hollow instead of forcing a bad pick. Grandmaster hands Tang San a bottle of pungent powder and tells him to spread it evenly around the campsite. Tang San recognizes the powder's purpose almost at once, and Grandmaster is pleased when he correctly names its jobs: hide their scent and drive off small creeping threats. Grandmaster warns him never to rely on a campfire in a spirit beast forest, because some of the worst creatures are drawn to flame instead of fearing it. Night settles over the forest, and master and disciple eat a simple cold meal in the dark with only the sounds of insects and distant roars around them. Even at rest, Grandmaster keeps teaching, quizzing Tang San on the spirit beasts they saw until the boy's memory sharpens under constant correction. At the end of that long day, Grandmaster's voice turns reflective as he asks Tang San why youth matters most for a spirit master. In the dark forest camp, Grandmaster warns Tang San that the years before 20 decide a spirit master's future, so Tang San cannot waste even a moment of cultivation. Their lesson is cut off when Luo Sanpao suddenly growls a warning, and Grandmaster jumps up at once. Out in the black woods, Tang San's purple demon eye picks out 6 hell wolves with glowing green eyes closing in around them. Grandmaster stays calm, calls them low-level hell wolves, and orders Tang San not to move. Grandmaster powers up Luo Sanpao for another thunderous wind attack as the little beast swells like a balloon. Before the blast lands, Grandmaster quickly hands Tang San a gauze mask and puts one on himself. Luo Sanpao unleashes the shockwave, and the 6 hell wolves are blown through the air like rags. Most of the wolves flee bleeding, but 2 are left broken on the ground with their waists smashed. As he moves in to finish the 2 survivors, Grandmaster teaches Tang San that a wolf's weak point is its soft waist. Grandmaster cuts the hell wolves' throats and sprinkles Realgar to hide the blood sent before something worse arrives. Then Tang San sees the dead wolves give off their first white spirit rings, drifting above the bodies like pale mist. Grandmaster demonstrates that only someone at the right rank can absorb a ring, so for him these white rings will just fade away. He asks Tang San for white radishes, and Tang San pulls them from the 24 moonlit bridges belt without hesitation. Luo Sanpao wolfs down the radishes, and Grandmaster explains that this strange spirit has to refill itself with food after every attack. When Tang San asks if Luo Sanpao only eats radishes, Grandmaster gives the awkward answer: the radishes help him fart harder. Tang San catches the bitterness behind the joke and holds back his laughter, suddenly understanding one more thing Grandmaster has endured. That uneasy pause breaks when Luo Sanpao starts barking warnings again and the whole forest around them suddenly goes still. Tang San smells a sweet, rotten scent in the air and immediately realizes poison is nearby. Using his sharpened vision, Tang San spots a dark green triangular snake head hiding in the shrubs and points it out before Grandmaster can see it. Grandmaster throws a flare into the bushes, and the light reveals a datura snake staring back at them. Grandmaster's face hardens as he explains that the datura snake is fast, savage, highly venomous, and only truly vulnerable at the mouth and eyes. He also gives Tang San a survival rule on the spot: if your rings and spirit bones clearly outmatch the enemy, attack hard, but if you're outmatched, run first and protect your life. Because they still hope it might only be 10-year level, Grandmaster orders Luo Sanpao to attack first. Luo Sanpao's shockwave slams the snake into the air, but one look at its nearly 4-meter body tells Grandmaster they have run into a beast close to 400 years old. Grandmaster drops any thought of fighting fairly and grabs Tang San to run for their lives. Grandmaster tries Luo Sanpao's second ability, a sleeping gas cloud, but the poison beast barely slows down. With Luo Sanpao's 3 attacks exhausted, Grandmaster pushes his own speed to the limit and gambles on outrunning the snake. The datura snake refuses to give up, and the longer it chases, the more desperate Grandmaster becomes. Grandmaster orders Luo Sanpao to block it, but the snake lashes out, bites him, and forces Grandmaster to recall his spirit at once. For a brief, awful moment, Grandmaster thinks this is the end for both of them. Tang San suddenly starts hurling white radishes backward with uncanny accuracy, buying them a few more breaths each time the snake closes in. Grandmaster is stunned by Tang San's throwing skill, but the last of the white radishes are gone almost immediately. With no more room to hide his strength, Tang San lets go of Grandmaster and fires his hidden sleeve dart at the snake. The dart misses the eye, sparks off the snake's scales, and only makes the monster angrier. Enraged, the datura snake surges forward in a blur and reaches Tang San before Grandmaster can save him. At the last instant, Tang San goes completely calm, draws Grandmaster's short sword, and prepares to bet everything on one move. Tang San slips aside with Ghost Shadow perplexing track, creating the single opening he needs. Then he uses a pulling technique to jerk the snake's head offline and force its open mouth toward his waiting blade. The sword drives straight through the datura snake's mouth and into its brain, turning the whole fight in one brutal strike. Tang San retreats fast as the dying snake thrashes wildly and tears up the ground around him. Grandmaster calls out in shock, and Tang San instantly realizes he has shown far more than he ever meant to. For one dark instant, Tang San even thinks about silencing Grandmaster forever, but he cannot bring himself to betray the teacher he respects. Instead, Tang San fakes a clumsy collapse and blames the whole thing on panic, sweat, and a lucky stab with the sword. Grandmaster scolds him for nearly getting himself killed, but after checking Tang San's sweat-slick hand, he accepts the explanation for now. The two of them wait carefully until the Datura snake's violent struggle finally starts to fade for real. Once he is sure the snake is dying, Grandmaster's panic flips into wild joy because this beast is almost perfect for Tang San's first ring. Tang San is taken aback when Grandmaster declares that the Datura snake's spirit ring should be his. Grandmaster explains that the snake's age is just under 400 years, close to the safe limit for a first spirit ring, and Tang San's innate full spirit power should let him handle it. Tang San still worries because blue silver grass is a plant spirit, but Grandmaster answers with his core theory that plant and beast rings can cross over if the spirit is weak enough to assimilate them. He reminds Tang San that they were looking for toughness and poison anyway, which makes the Datura snake almost exactly what they wanted. Then Grandmaster openly asks Tang San to become the first real proof of his rejected theories, because nobody else ever trusted him enough to try. Tang San sees the lifelong obsession and loneliness behind those words, and he agrees to help Grandmaster prove his work right. As the Datura snake finally dies, a bright yellow 100-year spirit ring begins to gather above its body. Grandmaster tells him to begin, and Tang San summons blue silver grass in his palm to call the ring over. Grandmaster gives one last warning to keep his mind steady no matter how violent the ring's power becomes. The yellow ring suddenly shrinks and slams down around blue silver grass, and Tang San is hit by a scorching flood of power so fierce his whole body shakes. Inside the burning storm, Tang San feels as if he has fallen into a sea of fire, yet his blue silver grass still survives at the center of it. Then the spirit begins to change under the Datura snake's power, growing darker, tougher, and marked with black snake-like lines as the fusion takes hold. As the Datura snake ring finally settles inside him, Tang San feels the mysterious heaven skill break through its first bottleneck and surge into a stronger new level. That breakthrough confirms Tang San's suspicion that spirit power and his Tang sect inner strength now work as one path in this world. When daylight fully comes, Tang San notices his body has changed too, a little taller, stronger, and smoother with a healthy jade-like sheen. Excited to tell his teacher the experiment worked, Tang San turns toward Grandmaster and is hit with a frightening sight. Grandmaster is rigid and unconscious, and when Tang San checks him, he immediately recognizes the signs of severe poison. Pulling back Grandmaster's sleeve, Tang San finds his right arm swollen purple to nearly triple size, only barely contained by a tight cloth band. Tang San realizes the poison must have passed from the Datura snake's bite on Luo's San Pao back to Grandmaster, and his teacher hid it so Tang San could finish absorbing the ring safely. After checking Grandmaster's pulse, Tang San realizes the poison has not reached the heart yet, so there is still time to save him. Tang San stops worrying about attracting beasts and rushes into emergency treatment, building a fire, cleaning the short sword, and preparing to bleed the poison out. With 3 precise cuts, Tang San opens the blocked points in Grandmaster's arm and lets black-purple poison blood pour into the pit. He follows that with mysterious heaven skill, sealing Grandmaster's chest channels and forcing the poison to gather back into the wounded arm. As the poison drains out, Grandmaster's arm shrinks toward normal, his face loosens, and fresh red blood finally replaces the foul black flow. Once the last poison is pushed out, Tang San unbinds the cloth, seals the bleeding, bandages the wounds, and buries the contaminated blood. The poison is gone, but the rescue leaves Tang San drained too, right after his own brutal spirit ring breakthrough. Grandmaster stays unconscious for 3 full days, and Tang San refuses to leave him even once inside the dangerous forest. To keep Grandmaster alive, Tang San even carves a wooden bowl and feeds him thin broth made from their dried rations and water. By noon on the 4th day, Grandmaster finally wakes up weak, dizzy, and barely able to move. When Grandmaster realizes he survived, Tang San quietly confirms that he pulled him back from the edge. Tang San brushes it off as simple poison treatment his father once taught him, and Grandmaster answers with a faint, ugly little joke because he is just glad to be alive. Even in that condition, Grandmaster's first real concern is not himself but whether Tang San's spirit ring experiment succeeded. Tang San answers by summoning his evolved blue-silver grass, now deep blue, thicker, and backed by a clear yellow first spirit ring. Grandmaster immediately checks the key point, and Tang San proves the spirit has gained real toughness by bending a small tree without the grass snapping. That result thrills Grandmaster, because it proves blue-silver grass really can inherit useful traits from a Datura snake ring. Tang San explains that after days of testing on weak beasts, he found the new grass carries paralysis on contact rather than the snake's deadlier venom. Its real first spirit ring ability is binding, and Tang San demonstrates it by making multiple grass blades erupt and wrap a tree in an instant. Grandmaster identifies it as a classic control-type spirit skill and tells Tang San they finally proved his theory in practice. With their food and water nearly gone, the two have no choice but to leave the spirit-hunting forest at once. Since Grandmaster still cannot walk, Tang San carries him out on his back, step by step, relying on his new strength and stubborn endurance. During that journey and the careful trip back to the academy, Grandmaster stops treating Tang San like a useful disciple and starts seeing him like family. Back at Noting Academy, Tang San supports the still weakened Grandmaster into his room and settles him onto the bed. Tang San urges him to rest properly, already planning to handle Grandmaster's daily care himself while the recovery drags on. Grandmaster refuses to let Tang San's training slow down and asks him to fetch a book from the shelf instead. The book contains Grandmaster's own research on spirit power cultivation methods, and Tang San is quietly shaken by how much work one man poured into it. Grandmaster gives him one more task too, to go to Noting City's Spirit Hall for Spirit Master authentication and official registration so he can start receiving a stipend. Tang San stores the book in the 24 Moonlit Bridges belt, looking sharper and more composed now than when he first arrived at the academy. After promising to bring food back at noon, Tang San leaves Grandmaster's room just as the academy bell marks the end of class. He heads to the dorm first, only to find it oddly empty even though classes have just ended. Out on the school grounds, Tang San overhears older students talking about the working students challenging Boss Xiao, and his attention snaps into place. From their gossip, he learns Xiao Wu has become the working students' fierce new leader and staked a showdown that could leave them all under Boss Xiao if they lose. Knowing exactly how reckless Xiao Wu can be, Tang San immediately decides he cannot let the working students face that alone. After confirming the duel is on the wooded hill behind the academy, he breaks into a full sprint toward the back gate. Once out of sight, Tang San uses Ghost Shadow Perplexing Trace to race toward the hill at top speed. In the woods, he finds a tense standoff already formed, with Xiao Wu leading the working students against Boss Xiao and a larger group of upper-year boys. Boss Xiao mocks Xiao Wu as a little girl with a rabbit spirit, pretending to flirt while talking down to her. Xiao Wu answers with the same attitude and asks if he is scared of ending up as her little brother instead. To keep the advantage, Boss Xiao proposes a turn-by-turn team fight where one winner stays on, a fair-looking setup designed to grind the working students down. Wang Xing realizes the trap at once, but Xiao Wu agrees before he can stop her. Boss Zhao's side sends out Lu Long first, and Wang Xing grimly steps in to face an opponent he has already lost to many times. Lu Long summons a long staff spirit, and Xiao Wu instantly needles him by joking that if he loses, he can call himself Withered Willow. The match opens badly for Wang Xing, who blocks the first heavy strike with his arms and is already bloodied by the spirit staff. When Wang Xing tries to grab the weapon, Lu Long exploits the fact that it is his spirit and makes part of the staff vanish before stabbing him in the stomach. Wang Xing keeps charging anyway, but without a spirit ring he cannot break through the staff's reach and is beaten back again and again. Watching the mismatch, Xiao Wu frowns hard until a familiar voice suddenly appears beside her. Tang San quietly slips into place and points out the real problem, that Wang Xing can only win by closing in, and right now he cannot reach Lu Long at all. Xiao Wu lights up at seeing him back, but Tang San follows that with a calm reminder that challenging Boss Xiao would have been safer if she had waited for his return. Back at the academy yard, Xiao Wu is still furious that Boss Xiao's group kept bullying the working students, and even talked about making her his pet rabbit. Hearing Xiao Wu's complaint, Tang San decides the older students need a real lesson and turns toward the fight with a hard look. In the ring, Wang Xing is bruised all over and almost out of spirit power, while Lu Long keeps toying with him from a safe distance with his long staff. Wang Xing throws himself into one last reckless charge, ready to take a beating if he can finally land a hit. Lu Long swings 3 crushing staff strikes to stop him, but Tang San secretly flicks small pebbles that numb Lu Long's hands and ruin the attack. That tiny opening is enough for Wang Xing to crash through the staff and slap Lu Long across the head with the tiger claw. Wang Xing grabs Lu Long's leg and whips him down so hard that Lu Long hits the ground and blacks out on the spot. After years of frustration, Wang Xing throws his head back and roars in triumph, while Boss Xiao's side is stunned by the upset. Xiao Wu mocks Boss Xiao for sending in a withered willow that could not take one hit, and Boss Xiao grimly calls out his next fighter, Ling Feng. Tang San quietly tells Xiao Wu to pull Wang Xing back, because this fast opponent is a bad matchup for him and Tang San will take the next round himself. Wang Xing gives way, knowing he is spent and knowing Tang San's hidden pebbles were what gave him that first win. Ling Feng hesitates when he sees a tiny working student replacing Wang Xing, but Tang San only nods and tells him to begin. Ling Feng leaps first, gliding down at Tang San from above, while Tang San stays perfectly still and reads the agility fighter style. Ling Feng flips over Tang San's head and changes direction in midair, trying to chop down on Tang San's neck from behind. At the last instant, Tang San ducks with a tiny movement and snaps a perfect backward kick into Ling Feng's chin without even looking. Ling Feng spins through the air and crashes to the ground unconscious, dropped in one clean hit. The older students are left staring, and Tang San calmly lowers his leg and says one down. Watching from the side, Xiao Wu is startled too, because Tang San turns frighteningly fast and fierce the moment a real fight starts. Wang Xing laughs through the pain and taunts Boss Xiao that Tang San did not even need spirit power, so he should just admit defeat now. With 2 losses already on his side, Boss Xiao has no choice but to step in personally and win back control of the match. Xiao Qingyu gives Tang San the proper spirit introduction, then brings out his wolf spirit and first ring in full battle form. Tang San answers with the same formal courtesy, and reveals himself as an 11th rank first ring tool spirit master with blue silver grass. The older students burst out laughing at blue silver grass, because everyone treats it as a useless spirit. Then Tang San calls out his rank again and lets his bright yellow spirit ring rise, instantly shutting every mouth in the yard. Boss Zhao's confidence cracks as he realizes a first-year working student with a 100-year ring probably has powerful backing. Even so, with the fight already forced this far, Boss Zhao rushes in with a straight power attack, planning to win without seriously hurting Tang San. Tang San decides to meet him head-on and tests his own mysterious heaven skill by pushing both palms directly into the wolf claws. The collision explodes with force, but Tang San does not budge while Boss Zhao gets rocked backward in shock. When Boss Zhao grabs for his hands in shock, Tang San's grip and posture hold firm, and Tang San starts turning the exchange into a close-range control move. Tang San slips free, catches Boss Zhao's wrists, and drives his shoulder into Boss Zhao's abdomen hard enough to send him flying. Boss Zhao's followers can only stare in disbelief as Tang San stands there calmly after tossing their strongest senior aside. Tang San decides not to drag it out and calmly calls for his first spirit ability, Blue-Silver Grass Bind. More than 10 thick strands whip up around Boss Zhao's legs before he can react, and he cannot break free no matter how hard he struggles. Walking toward him, Tang San warns that his grass inherited the Datura snake's toughness and a touch of its venom, and he does not even have an antidote. That bluff lands perfectly, because the sight of snake-like grass and the mention of Datura venom scares Boss Zhao's whole side backward. Boss Zhao panics and immediately admits defeat rather than risk tasting snake poison. Tang San releases him and reminds him to keep the original deal with Xiao Wu, because she is the one they are supposed to recognize. Boss Zhao can only ask in a daze whether he is supposed to call Tang San boss or call Xiao Wu boss instead. Tang San says it is obviously Xiao Wu, and casually adds that he cannot even beat her himself. Xiao Wu strolls up like a little gang leader, pats Tang San's shoulder, and praises his work before taking over the aftermath herself. To settle any last doubt, Xiao Wu introduces herself as a first-year working student with a rabbit spirit, 12th rank, first ring battle spirit master. Then she reveals it for real, with red eyes, white rabbit ears, and her own yellow 100-year spirit ring rising around her. Boss Zhao folds instantly, names her Xiao Wu Jia on the spot, and orders everyone to greet the Academy's new Supreme Sister. Tang San is left genuinely stunned, because he has only just realized Xiao Wu is also a spirit master and even one rank above him. Xiao Wu catches him staring, and Tang San reaches out to touch her soft long ears and blurts out that she really is a rabbit. Her ears are far too sensitive for that, so Xiao Wu flushes bright red and swings at him, while Tang San bolts away at once. Once outside the academy, Tang San's mood turns light again as he thinks about how much stronger he has become, and how his cultivation path is finally opening up. He even starts dreaming that if this world has spirit clans, maybe he can one day build a new Tang sect here himself. But he cannot linger on dreams, because Grandmaster is still poisoned and waiting for lunch, so Tang San hurries towards Spirit Hall as fast as he can. After asking for directions, Tang San reaches Noting City's Spirit Hall, but a guard stops him the moment he tries to rush straight inside. Tang San looks up at the huge 3-story dome and its single sword gate emblem, realizing this is one of the continent's low-rank spirit halls. Tang San arrives at Noting City's Spirit Hall and tells the gate guards he came for a spirit rank test on his teacher's orders. The guards let him in and quietly envy the academy student who already has a path toward becoming a real spirit master. Inside, Tang San is briefly swept up by the hall's grandeur as murals, crystal windows, and gold-lit walls make the place feel far more imposing than home. While searching for the reception hall, Tang San spots Su Yuntao and heads straight over to the one attendant he already knows. Cici first assumes this tiny visitor is here for spirit awakening, and even Su Yuntao does not recognize him until Tang San introduces himself. The moment Tang San says he is the blue-silver grass child with innate full spirit power from Holy Spirit Village, Su Yuntao finally remembers him. When Tang San says he already came for advancement appraisal, Su Yuntao is startled that he has obtained his first spirit ring so quickly. Su Yuntao introduces Tang San to Cici, but her interest cools into clear disdain as soon as she hears that the gifted child still has blue-silver grass. Still trying to get back to Cici quickly, Su Yuntao hurries Tang San upstairs to the reception area without wasting a moment. Su Yuntao barges into an office and hands Tang San over to the elderly spirit grandmaster Ma Xionuo for the appraisal. Ma Xionuo is so taken aback by Tang San's age that he asks if this child is really here for advancement, and not awakening. After Su Yuntao rushes off, Ma Xionuo sighs that the younger man is too distracted by love to think clearly. Ma Xionuo immediately softens with Tang San, invites him to say grandpa instead of grandmaster, and treats him with grandfatherly warmth. The old spirit master personally leads Tang San deeper into Spirit Hall toward the real testing room. Inside the testing chamber, Tang San feels his internal power stir because the room is built with black stones like the ones used in Spirit Awakening. Ma Xionuo uses the chamber to explain Spirit Hall's rank system, from humble branch halls like this one all the way up to the legendary Doloa Consecration Hall. Tang San cuts the lesson short and asks to begin, eager to finish the appraisal. When Tang San releases his spirit, thick blue-silver grass pours out and his bright yellow 100-year ring rises around him, instantly stunning Ma Xionuo. Ma Xiaonoa can hardly believe this stronger darker blue silver grass is real, and the 100-year ring makes the shock even worse. Even while praising Tang San's teacher for guiding him this far, Ma Xiaonoa still laments that such rare talent ended up bound to blue silver grass. The next shock lands when Tang San pours spirit power into the yellow crystal test ball, and it shines at rank 13 instead of the expected 11. Tang San explains that his ring came from a datura snake, and that answer makes Ma Xiaonuo even more alarmed. Ma Xiaonuo objects at once because a plant spirit should not be able to absorb a beast spirit ring under normal rules. Tang San calmly answers with Grandmaster's spirit mimicry theory, saying the absorption worked because the conditions were right. The moment Tang San names Grandmaster as his teacher, Ma Xiaonuo realizes this is that same famous theorist once driven out of Spirit Hall. Impressed enough to act immediately, Ma Xiaonuo asks Tang San to join Spirit Hall as one of its own spirit masters. Tang San misunderstands at first, so Ma Xiaonuo explains that registration only earns a stipend, while true membership would tie him directly to Spirit Hall. Tang San refuses because he is already studying at Noting Academy, and Ma Xiaonuo can only regret that Spirit Hall was too late to claim him. Tang San lightly points out that if he had gone straight to Spirit Hall, he might never have gotten such a good ring in the first place. Ma Xiaonuo finishes the appraisal, names Tang San an officially registered spirit master, and tells him he will receive 1 gold spirit coin every month. He also says Tang San's strange beast ring case will be reported upward, because even Spirit Hall needs answers for what just happened. Tang San leaves Spirit Hall carrying his newly issued Spirit Master badge and heads back toward the academy by a faster route. On the way back, the sound of hammering stops him cold when he spots a much larger city smithy than the shabby forge he grew up in. The smithy pulls up memories of Tang Hao's old instruction to learn a trade and earn his own living later on. He forces himself to leave for now, but the idea sticks because blacksmith work means money, training, and better tools for his hidden weapons. Back at the academy, Tang San buys food for Grandmaster and finds his teacher recovering well enough to walk on his own again. Grandmaster tells Tang San to return to regular classes and study the book he gave him instead of hovering over a patient who is already improving. When Tang San reaches Dorm 7, the working students are buzzing with excitement instead of hiding in fear. Xiao Wu lounges on Tang San's bed like she owns the place and casually tells him he no longer has to do sweeping duty at all. Her reason is simple and effective. Xiao Qinyu's side will now do the working students' chores while still covering their pay. Tang San accepts the win with a laugh and teases that Xiao Wu really has become the academy's Xiao Wu Jia now. Xiao Wu quickly asks about the appraisal, and Tang San tells the room he is officially a spirit master now. The dorm stares at him with even more respect, because after today's fight they already know how hard he is to beat even before this promotion. When Xiao Wu asks what the title is actually good for, Tang San reveals the real hook, a monthly stipend of 1 gold spirit coin. That number hits Xiao Wu hard enough that she instantly decides to run to Spirit Hall and register for her own money. She is so fired up about food and free gold that Tang San has to remind her she forgot to put on her shoes. After Xiao Wu rushes off anyway, Tang San's thoughts circle back to the smithy because more income and better weapons both matter now. Wan Xing uses the calmer moment to sincerely apologize for his earlier hostility, and Tang San lets it go without fuss. Tang San heads back out despite his fatigue, deciding the smithy is too important to keep putting off. The large city forge hits him with heat and noise the moment he steps inside, and the rows of tools and weapons remind him of Tang's sect craftsmanship from his last life. A burly blacksmith notices the child in a school uniform and bluntly tells him to get out before he gets hurt. Tang San stays polite and asks if the smithy needs apprentices, which only makes the other blacksmith smile at the absurdity of such a tiny applicant. The blacksmith refuses him on sight, pointing out that a child dressed like this does not look like he could even lift a hammer. Tang San immediately realizes the uniform is ruining his case and runs off to fix that mistake. When he comes back in his old patched clothes, he finally looks like what he really is, a poor blacksmith's son trying to work. Tang San explains that he is a working student, his father is a village blacksmith, and he wants to earn his meals with his own hands. That honest answer wins sympathy, and Sher San agrees to take him for odd jobs, with meals guaranteed and only a small wage. The deal turns warmer when Sher San introduces himself as the owner, promises meals and wages, and laughs over the fact that both of them have San in their names. But when Tang San says he can forge too, Sher San and the other blacksmiths laugh outright at the claim. Tang San refuses to back down and asks Sher San to let him prove it with the hammer. Sher San tests him by offering his own heavy hammer, certain the boy will not even get it off the ground. Instead, Tang San calmly lifts the oversized hammer, and the entire smithy stops smiling. With the furnace iron in front of him, Tang San asks Sher San to work the bellows and takes command like someone who already knows the craft. Then Tang San starts hammering, and the forge fills with a fierce flowing rhythm instead of the clumsy swings everyone expected. Blow after blow lands without breaking rhythm, and the watching blacksmiths realize this tiny newcomer is using real technique, not reckless strength. By the time Tang San stops, he has completed 27 uninterrupted strikes and compressed the pig iron into a clean round shape. San is left shaken because even a veteran like him would need all day to do what San just finished in one flowing sequence. Almost trembling with excitement, San recognizes the legendary technique behind it and blurts out the name disorder splitting wind hammer method. Back at the smithy, San realizes San's flowing hammer technique may be the legendary disorder splitting wind hammer method, and San admits his father taught it to him. Instead of underpaying him, San grins and hires San properly, promising a full worker's wage and even a cut if business stays good. From there, San falls into a brutal but steady routine: classes by day, smithy work in the afternoon, Grandmaster's lessons at night, and cultivation whenever he can steal a moment. He studies Grandmaster's theories seriously, but to San they still feel rough compared to his Tang sect mysterious heaven skill. Life at the academy gets easier too, because Xiaowu secures her Spirit Master title and quickly becomes the openly accepted boss of the students. At San's shop, San earns everyone's approval fast by refining metal well, then uses spare scrap and his own time to make hidden weapon parts for later assembly. Xiaowu, meanwhile, lives much more loosely, often skipping class and still getting stronger so steadily that even San can never quite pull ahead of her. A full school year passes, and even though families are allowed to visit, Hao never comes, leaving San quietly disappointed. Around the same time, Spirit Hall sends people to see Grandmaster, and though Grandmaster says nothing, his rare smile tells San that old tensions may have eased. When the holiday finally arrives, San packs to go home at once, excited to see his father after a year apart. By now his smithy pay has climbed to 5 silver spirit coins a month, enough that he could even buy a new hammer as a gift for Hao. San asks if Xiaowu is going home too, and her unusually lonely answer is no, she plans to stay at the academy. The mood flips fast when Xiaowu brightens and decides she wants to tag along to San's village instead. San warns her his home is poor, and Xiaowu shoots back that he has plenty saved and is just being stingy. When San reminds her she still owes him 6 silver coins, Xiaowu can only sheepishly promise to repay him later and press again for permission to come. San finally agrees, only adding that his father's temper can be rough. Xiaowu instantly boasts that anyone as lovable as her will win his father over, laying on a sweet act that San refuses to buy. He jokes that her sweet act is fox spirit behavior, and Xiaowu explodes at once and lunges at him. The other working students barely react, because San and Xiaowu fighting several times a day is already normal to everyone around them. Early the next morning, San and Xiaowu leave Noding City together in academy uniforms and head for Holy Spirit Village. On the road, the narration makes clear how much San has grown this year, with his mysterious heaven skill breaking through and his spirit power rising toward the 17th rank. Even after all that growth, the only student who can truly keep pace with him is Xiaowu, who somehow stays level with him without ever seeming to train. Their constant sparring has made them famous academy prodigies, and although Xiaowu is the official boss, older students now call San Little San Gatu. San knows the truth best. In pure close combat, Xiaowu's strange soft skill throws still beat him more often than not. He never uses hidden weapons against her, because they are too lethal, and he values their sparring as real combat training instead. When Xiaowu gets impatient and asks how much farther it is, San points ahead and tells her his village sits just beyond the hill. Now that home is close, San's excitement turns almost tender, because this life taught him how precious family really is. He touches the 24 moonlit bridges belt carrying the hammer, new clothes, and wine he brought for his father, savoring the thought of finally seeing him again. Holy Spirit Village comes into view, and San points out the shabby little house with the old sign and says with real pride, "That is my home." He rushes the last few steps, calls for his father at the door, and barrels inside without waiting. Inside, the place is still the same old mess, and that familiar chaos only makes San feel more certain he is finally home. But the first person who answers him is old Jack, not Hao. When San asks where his father is, old Jack can only hand him a note and say Hao already left this behind. The moment San unfolds the letter, a bad feeling hits him before he even finishes reading. Hao's letter says he has already gone. San must not look for him, and from now on he has to choose his own path and survive by his own strength. The note is harsh and conflicted all at once. Hao calls himself useless, says he must take back what once belonged to him, and hopes San becomes formidable but also wishes he would not. By the end, Hao even tells him that if being a spirit master ever feels wrong, he can come back and live as a blacksmith instead. The joy of coming home collapses on the spot, and San is left standing there stunned by the fact that his father is simply gone. Old Jack complains that Hao vanished without warning and even abandoned village work, calling the whole thing irresponsible. San catches on to one crucial detail, and asks if his father only left within the last 2 days. When old Jack confirms it, San folds the letter with extreme care and tucks it against his chest instead of throwing himself apart. Old Jack asks him to come stay at his home, but San quietly refuses and insists on remaining in this broken house. Once old Jack leaves, San starts cleaning the room in silence, as if trying to hold himself together through work. For once, Xiao Wu does not chatter or tease him at all, and simply helps him clean and fetch water beside him. Back at the academy, Grandmaster already feels Tang San's absence, and the room seems strangely empty without the disciple he has quietly grown attached to. He had even considered visiting Tang San's home that day, but in the end he talked himself out of it for reasons he cannot fully explain. Then a knock comes, and Grandmaster immediately senses something unusual because almost no one ever visits him here. The man who enters is a worn, gray-robed stranger with messy black hair and a face so haggard he looks far older than his years. Grandmaster goes rigid under the pressure of this visitor's presence, and only asks who he is. The stranger calmly reveals himself as Tang Hao, and the name alone shocks Grandmaster out of his usual composure. Tang Hao cuts off any old titles and makes it clear he remembers Grandmaster as a stubborn man who kept chasing the truth when others mocked him as mad. Grandmaster immediately links the truth together, and says his guess was right all along. Tang Hao really is Tang San's father. Tang Hao says he came precisely because Tang San went home, and now he wants to entrust his son to Grandmaster before he disappears. Grandmaster is furious at that idea and demands to know where Tang Hao thinks he can go when Tang San is his son. Tang Hao refuses to explain much, only saying he has been gone from the world for 10 years, still has unfinished business, and believes staying with him would only make Tang San unhappy. Grandmaster fires back that Tang San is deeply attached to him, and vanishing like this is needlessly cruel. Tang Hao does not bend, and only says that if Tang San chose an extraordinary path, then staying near him would be the real cruelty. Before leaving, Tang Hao drops a black token on the desk, a higher-level Spirit Hall token than the one Grandmaster once used to enter Spirit Hunting Forest. Then Tang Hao is gone just as abruptly as he came, leaving Grandmaster frozen in place with the token and the truth he just learned. After a long silence, Grandmaster looks down at the token and can only bitterly admit that the man he once admired has become almost unrecognizable. Back in Holy Spirit Village at sunset, Tang San and Xiao Wu sit quietly outside the smithy, both washed in red gold light after the long day. Tang San finally breaks the silence just to thank Xiao Wu for staying with him through all of it. Xiao Wu refuses to let him sink too deep, telling him his father only left for now and may have done it so Tang San can grow stronger. Tang San tries to accept that, but he still cannot hide the real wound. Without his father, this place no longer feels like home. Xiao Wu answers in the simplest way she knows, saying he still has her, and if he wants family so badly she would not mind being his older sister. That finally makes Tang San smile, and he immediately counters that if anyone is becoming family here, it should be Xiao Wu as the younger sister because she was born later in the year. Xiao Wu flatly refuses to be the younger one, but Tang San suddenly grows serious and tells her to come with him up the hill. He takes her hand and runs with her to the hill outside the village, as if he has made up his mind about something important. At the hilltop where he used to train, Tang San faces the setting sun with purple eyes and asks Xiao Wu to answer him seriously. Xiao Wu jokes that he sounds just like the old academy teacher, but Tang San does not smile this time. He asks plainly whether she is willing to be his little sister, because after losing his father he truly wants one more family member in this world. Before she can answer, Tang San pours everything out. He is poor, he has no status to offer, but he still wants a sister like her badly enough to risk saying it. He admits he knows she must have her own hidden story, but he never pushed because he feared their backgrounds might be too different even for friendship. What he can offer instead is a vow: if she becomes his sister, he will protect her and never let anyone harm her. Xiao Wu tests that vow with a dangerous question, asking what he would do if many people wanted to kill her and he could not beat them. Tang San answers without hesitation that they would have to step over his corpse first. That finally breaks Xiao Wu's silence, and with one soft word, "Ji," she accepts him as her brother. Tang San cannot hold back anymore, and with tears finally falling, he takes her hands and thanks his new little sister. With his father gone, Tang San silently swears to the night sky that he will protect this new family bond for the rest of his life. They stay on the hill together into night, letting the mountain breeze and the calm sky settle everything between them. Xiao Wu awkwardly asks if she now has to call him big brother in public, worrying what the academy will think of the school's boss suddenly gaining one. Tang San laughs that the title does not matter, and tells her she can keep calling him Little San as long as they both understand the bond. Then, wanting to give his new sister something real, Tang San rolls up his sleeve and removes the first hidden weapon he ever made from his left wrist. He offers Xiao Wu the sleeve dart as a gift for self-defense, and she stares at the strange device and asks what it is. On the hill at night, Tang San finally explains the weapon on Xiao Wu's arm and tells her the silent sleeve dart can fire one needle, or all three almost without a sound. When Xiao Wu asks why he never used it on her before, Tang San reminds her they are friends, not enemies, and says he would never aim a deadly hidden weapon at her. To prove how precise his hidden weapons are, Tang San points out a mosquito in the moonlight, and claims he can pin its left wing without killing it. Purple light flashes in Tang San's eyes, and with one tiny flick he makes the mosquito vanish from sight. Tang San pulls Xiao Wu to a nearby tree, where a steel needle has really sewn the mosquito's left wing to the bark while leaving it alive. Xiao Wu is stunned, and Tang San quietly admits this is his secret art of hidden weapons, a skill even his father does not know. He tells her the real reason he showed her this secret. He wants her to know he is strong enough to protect his little sister. Xiao Wu immediately begs him to teach her, but Tang San laughs it off and says giving hidden weapons to someone this reckless is dangerous enough already. Instead, Tang San carefully fits the sleeve dart to Xiao Wu's left wrist and teaches her how to use it, and she quickly falls in love with the little weapon. While Xiao Wu happily practices nearby, Tang San looks up at the stars and silently vows to become strong enough to make his father proud. He then seals that resolve by vowing to carry the Tang sect's hidden arts to new heights in this new world. 5 years later, the story shifts south to Balak Kingdom, a powerful border state of the Heaven Do Empire facing the Star Luo Empire. The focus narrows to Soatua City, one of Balak's most important cities, rich, heavily guarded, and large enough to house a high-ranked spirit hall. Just after noon, the older Tang San and Xiao Wu step through Soatua City's west gate, finally arriving for the Shrek Academy entrance exam. On the hot city street, Xiao Wu wipes sweat away and grumbles that Grandmaster passed over all those easy academy offers just to send Tang San here for shabby little Shrek Academy. Tang San gently reminds her that Grandmaster only ordered him to come, and she is the one who insisted on following him all the way here. Xiao Wu snaps that she came for his sake, then demands 2 full days of fun in Soatua City before the exam to heal her wounded little heart. Tang San jokes that Noting Academy's undefeated big sister is the last person who should talk about being fragile, and the old sibling rhythm between them comes right back. The recap fills in what these years meant. Grandmaster taught Tang San like a father, Tang San obeyed him without hesitation, and Xiao Wu naturally stayed at Tang San's side. By now Tang San's years of study, forging, and cultivation have turned the once frail boy into a strong 12-year-old with calm confidence under simple clothes. Tang San gives in as usual, saying they should first eat and find a room, and Xiao Wu instantly brightens. After a quick meal and some searching, Xiao Wu spots a strange rose-colored hotel and decides on the place immediately. Tang San follows her inside carrying their money as usual because Xiao Wu spends freely and trusts him to keep the savings under control. The hotel lobby feels soft and oddly intimate, all white, silver, and rose-red, with a heavy rose scent hanging in the air. At the counter, Tang San politely asks for 2 rooms. The clerk looks at the pair with a strange expression and says the hotel only has 1 room left. Tang San hesitates at the idea, but Xiao Wu casually says they shared space for years already and 1 room just saves money for more clothes. Tang San gives in and accepts the room, already planning to sleep on the floor if needed. Before the booking is finished, a cold voice cuts in and claims that last room belongs to someone else. Tang San's attention locks onto the newcomer at once, a broad-shouldered handsome youth with long gold hair and eerie double-pupiled eyes that feels sharp enough to cut. The hotel clerk freezes under that pressure, and the arrogant youth simply orders him to call the manager. Tang San stays polite and reminds him they arrived first, but the blonde youth barely bothers to answer. Xiao Wu loses patience first and bluntly tells him to get lost. That finally amuses Dai Mubai, and he coolly says that if these 2 are spirit masters, they can force him out themselves. The manager rushes in and tries to smooth things over, but he immediately sides with Dai Mubai and asks Tang San and Xiao Wu to leave instead. Tang San might have let it go, but Xiao Wu refuses to be bullied just because they are younger. Dai Mubai's mood turns colder at the insult, and he makes it clear that now they will not be allowed to walk away so easily. Xiao Wu is ready to throw hands at once, but Tang San stops her and quietly takes the fight on himself. When Xiao Wu protests, Tang San reminds her of his promise and says this is a matter between men because he will always protect her. That one line works, and Xiao Wu steps back at last, telling him to be careful. Dai Mubai still dismisses them both together, but Tang San steps out alone and formally accepts the challenge. Dai Mubai opens with a simple straight punch, but Tang San instantly reads the frightening speed and force hidden in that plain attack. Knowing he cannot retreat, Tang San steps in instead, turns his hand to mysterious jade hand, and meets the blow head-on to break Dai Mubai's rhythm. The collision stops Dai Mubai in place, but Tang San is still thrown back several steps, and both boys realize the other is far stronger than expected. Dai Mubai admits Tang San is worth fighting seriously and leaps in again with a far more dangerous 4-limbed attack. Tang San answers with soft hidden force and precise footwork, diverting Dai Mubai's path in midair instead of blocking him directly. The instant Dai Mubai lands, Tang San slips to his side with Ghost Shadow perplexing track and attacks the moment it is hardest for him to generate power. Dai Mubai reacts with fists and a sudden kick to the chin, but Tang San smoothly wipes the force aside and slips inside his guard. Tang San drives his shoulder into Dai Mubai's chest and finally sends the larger boy flying backward across the lobby. Tang San does not chase him, because he already felt how iron-hard Dai Mubai's body became at the moment of impact, and knows the exchange was not cleanly won. Embarrassed but excited, Dai Mubai admits he underestimated Tang San and decides the fight is worth using spirit power for. He even promises that no matter what happens next, the room will be theirs after this fight. Then Dai Mubai activates White Tiger Body Enhancement, and pale light explodes from his body as his frame swells with power. His hair turns white with black streaks, a king mark appears on his forehead, and his hands enlarge into white-furred claws tipped with blades. 3 spirit rings rise around him, 2 yellow and 1 purple, and Xiao Wu is shocked to realize this arrogant stranger is already a spirit elder with a 1,000-year ring. Dai Mubai formally names himself as White Tiger Spirit, rank 37 Battle Spirit Elder, turning the clash into a serious challenge. Under that pressure, Tang San's own battle spirit answers as blue silver grass rises from his palm and 2 yellow rings circle his body. He announces himself as Tang San, rank 29 Tool Spirit Grandmaster, and his blue silver grass now looks thicker, darker, and lined with tiny thorns. Dai Mubai is openly surprised that this strange and dangerous control spirit is really just blue silver grass, and Tang San answers with Grandmaster's creed that useless spirits do not exist. Even so, Tang San knows he is facing the strongest opponent of his life so far, someone with 1 more ring and a 1,000-year advantage on top of brutal close combat power. Dai Mubai attacks first in spirit form, rushing in with twin claw strikes aimed to tear straight through Tang San's defenses. Tang San dodges with Ghost Shadow perplexing track and floods the lobby with blue-silver vines, using the plants to surround Dai Mubai while hiding his own position. Dai Mubai hacks through the vines with tiger claws, but he is startled to find Tang San's blue-silver grass far tougher than it has any right to be. The vines even regenerate after his cuts, and for a moment the stronger spirit elder is actually trapped inside Tang San's control field. Fed up, Dai Mubai lights his first spirit ring and throws up White Tiger Shield body barrier to keep the vines off his body. His second ring flashes next, and with a tiger roar he fires a huge white tiger intense light wave from his mouth. The blast tears the entire vine prison apart, and the shockwave smashes through the hotel lobby hard enough to shake everyone watching. Because the spirit is linked to its master, Tang San turns pale from the damage while Dai Mubai steps out of the ruined vines and declares that beast spirits simply overpower tool spirits. Tang San only gives a weak smile, because while Dai Mubai was cutting through the vines he had already set his real trap. His second spirit ring flashes, and hidden blue-silver growth suddenly erupts all over Dai Mubai's body, binding him tight in thorny vines. The short thorns bite in, the vines tighten, and Dai Mubai realizes too late that the blue-silver grass is poisonous as well as restraining. Tang San explains the trick plainly. Dai Mubai inhaled the poison, sped it up by unleashing power, and never noticed the hidden parasite seeds attaching to him. For a moment, Tang San declares the fight decided, since Dai Mubai's body is already numb and a fighter with only 2 rings would be finished here. But Dai Mubai refuses to concede and answers that the extra ring Tang San lacks is exactly why the fight is not over yet. His purple 1,000-year ring suddenly lights up, the air around him twists, and his eyes turn blood red as a second change starts tearing through the bind. Pinned down by Tang San's blue-silver grass, Dai Mubai finally answers with his third spirit ring ability. Dai Mubai's body swells larger, black stripes spread over his skin, silver claws lengthen, and a golden aura turns him into something almost tiger-like. Seeing the danger, Xiao Wu releases her own 2 spirit rings and enters her rabbit spirit form beside Tang San. Tang San attacks first, sending thorny blue-silver grass from all around his body to blind and bind Dai Mubai at once. Xiao Wu wants to jump in too, but Tang San stops her because he refuses to turn this into a 2-on-1 fight. A flash of silver tears through the room, and Dai Mubai slices Tang San's tough vines into pieces without slowing down. Dai Mubai stops just short of them and calmly explains that White Tiger Vajra transformation comes from a 1,000-year spirit ring and doubles his attack, defense, resistance, and stamina for half an hour. He makes the gap clear. Tang San's poison and control are impressive, but against this much raw power they still cannot beat him. Then Dai Mubai drops the transformation, leaving himself half-dressed and battered-looking, but the fight is clearly over. Instead of pressing the win, Dai Mubai tells them to use his name at Shrek Academy if anyone gives them trouble. When Xiao Wu asks how he knew their destination, Dai Mubai points out that spirit grandmasters at their age can only be here for Shrek's entrance test. He leaves with one last line for Tang San, saying he will be waiting for him at Shrek Academy. Xiao Wu immediately writes him off as a lecher and warns Tang San to stay away from him later. Tang San disagrees and says Dai Mubai felt cold but straightforward, and strong enough to help without abusing that strength. When Xiao Wu remembers Dai Mubai saying he had already lost, Tang San explains that Dai Mubai meant they were only 12 and already close to his 15-year-old strength. Xiao Wu asks in a low voice whether they really would have had to leave if Tang San lost. Tang San tells her only he would have left, and admits that if Dai Mubai pushed it to the end, he was ready to stake his life on killing them both together. That answer hits Xiao Wu hard, and she repeats to herself that Tang San was ready to die for his dignity. At the counter, Manager Wang rushes out smiling and says Dai Mubai already covered all the damage. The manager even waives their rent for 3 days and hands Tang San the golden key to the top floor room called Red Ocean. Tang San is awkward about accepting free lodging, but he still thanks the manager and heads upstairs with Xiao Wu. Once Tang San and Xiao Wu are gone, the hotel manager scolds his clerk and reminds him that Red Ocean is Dai Mubai's permanently reserved room. He goes on to warn the clerk that those 2 children already have 2 spirit rings each, so people with that kind of talent are not safe to offend. Up on the top floor, Tang San and Xiao Wu find the Red Ocean suite and realize from the door itself that it is a lover's room. Xiao Wu shrugs off the embarrassment, snatches the key, and opens the door anyway. Inside, they walk into an absurdly romantic suite packed with red roses, including a giant heart made from hundreds of flowers in the middle of the room. Tang San offers to have the roses removed if she dislikes them, and Xiao Wu shoots back that he is hopelessly clueless about girls. Xiao Wu quickly decides she likes the room and cheerfully says they should come here again. Tang San shuts that down at once, reminding her they are siblings and should not be coming to a place like this. Then they step into the bedroom and get hit by an even stronger shock. There is only one giant heart-shaped bed. Tang San decides on the spot that Xiao Wu can rest there while he sleeps out on the sofa instead. Xiao Wu, on the other hand, happily throws herself onto the giant bed like an excited little kid. After smiling at her for a moment, Tang San closes the bedroom door and settles on the outer sofa to meditate. While cultivating, Tang San replays the whole fight in his head and studies every detail the way Grandmaster trained him to do. The real lesson is obvious to him now: skill matters. But without enough spirit power and a third ring, he still cannot truly fight someone like Dai Mubai head-on. So he pushes his cultivation even harder, aiming to break through to rank 30 and hunt his own third spirit ring soon. The next morning, Xiao Wu grabs Tang San while he is eating breakfast and begs him to stop training long enough to go out with her. Tang San reminds her that even Dai Mubai is only one Shrek student among many, so he cannot afford to relax before they enroll. Xiao Wu switches tactics, clinging to his arm and staring at him until he finally gives in. Tang San finally agrees to take one morning walk with her, but he sets a hard deadline to be back by noon, so the afternoon is still for cultivation. On the way out, they learn the suite's roses are replaced fresh every single day, which makes the room's luxury even more ridiculous. Once outside, Xiao Wu says she does not care where they go as long as she is no longer trapped indoors. They wander through busy Soatua City, and Xiao Wu happily drags Tang San through shop after shop while mostly just window shopping. Then Xiao Wu spots a strange little shop with a sign marked by symbols that Tang San recognizes from Spirit Hall tokens. Curious, Tang San brings Xiao Wu inside, and both immediately feel the faint spirit power aura of old spirit tools in the dim shop. The shop has no warmth at all, just dusty old items and one heavy middle-aged man sleeping in a creaking lounge chair. While Xiao Wu wonders if any of this junk is really a spirit tool, Tang San studies the shelves more carefully. Then Tang San suddenly locks onto one ugly, impurity-filled crystal and his heartbeat jumps at once. Xiao Wu thinks the crystal looks like cheap trash, but Tang San quietly tells her he wants to buy it. Without even getting up, the lounging shop owner names a price of 100 gold spirit coins. Xiao Wu instantly calls it robbery, but Tang San still decides the crystal is worth it and pulls out the money. The moment Tang San is ready to pay, the owner coolly says the price has changed to 200. Xiao Wu is furious, but Tang San still tries to pin him down and asks if the price will stay fixed this time. The owner answers by raising it again to 500 gold spirit coins, making the trap too blatant even for Tang San to swallow. At that, Tang San gives up on the deal and leaves with Xiao Wu, while she spits out exactly what she thinks of the crooked old swindler. Tang San starts to walk away from the muddy crystal because he cannot risk spending 500 gold coins before he and Xiao Wu enter Shrek Academy. The crafty shopkeeper suddenly lowers the terms, saying Tang San can pay 200 now and the rest in installments, with interest. Xiao Wu instantly calls him a profiteer, but Tang San is more disturbed by how neatly those payments match a spirit master's monthly subsidy. Realizing this man somehow guessed too much without showing any spirit power, Tang San turns back and accepts the deal anyway. Then the shopkeeper notices the 24 moonlit bridges on Tang San's waist and abruptly asks where he got it. When Tang San says Grandmaster gave him the belt, the man's attitude flips on the spot and he tells him to take the crystal. Tang San still offers 2 pouches of gold and even promises weekly payments, but the man waves it off and insists the crystal is a gift. Tang San guesses this strange man must know Grandmaster, yet he quietly leaves the 2 pouches behind on the floor before walking out with Xiao Wu. After they leave, the shopkeeper drops the lazy act and mutters that Grandmaster's disciple has reached Soatua City and is probably heading for Shrek Academy. Outside, Xiao Wu finally demands to know why Tang San wanted that ugly crystal so badly, and he hurries her back to the hotel before explaining. Tang San rushes all the way to Rose Hotel so excited that his palm is slick with sweat, and Xiao Wu goes quiet because she can tell he is serious. Back in their room, Tang San closes the door, pulls every curtain shut, and tells Xiao Wu to come into the bedroom with him. His behavior is so strange that Xiao Wu briefly panics and wildly misreads the situation in the heart-shaped hotel bedroom. Instead, Tang San simply sets the heavy crystal on the bed and strokes it like a priceless treasure. Tang San begins the lesson by saying the rarest crystals are not purple crystals at all, but hair crystals. He explains that hair crystal is natural crystal shot through with precious golden filaments, and any crystal with that hair gold is worth far more than normal crystal. Then he reveals this one is an even rarer plate crystal, where huge amounts of hair gold have gathered into organized layers over immense age. Tang San says the crystal may hold more than 10,000 strands of hair gold, and would still be worth it even at 20,000 gold coins because he needs it for something special. Without explaining further, Tang San brings out his oversized forging hammer and quietly tells Xiao Wu to move aside. Tang San pours mysterious heaven skill into the hammer and brings down the first full-force strike of the disorder-splitting wind hammer method on the plate crystal. The crystal explodes apart, and the room erupts in a glittering storm of golden flecks. Xiao Wu blocks reflexively, but the golden grains are beautiful rather than dangerous, scattering over the bed and floor like glowing rice. When Xiao Wu picks one up, she finds the little grains strangely soft and flexible but impossible to crush flat. Tang San is thrilled because this gives him the material for one of the top hidden weapons in the mysterious Heaven treasure record. He urgently tells Xiao Wu to help collect every single grain, and starts sweeping them up with controlling crane catching dragon. A hotel servant knocks after hearing the huge impact, but Tang San calmly lies and keeps anyone from entering the room. After checking every corner, Tang San stores the full haul away and estimates they collected more than 20,000 grains. At last Tang San explains that these grains are hair gold, the raw material for a terrifying hidden weapon. With spirit power, the tiny grain stretches back into a hair-thin golden filament in Tang San's hand. To show how sharp it is, Tang San lightly pricks his own finger and draws blood. Then he lets it curl back into a grain and vanishes it from sight with hidden weapon skill. A heartbeat later he flicks the hidden shot into the bed, and the quilt twists up into a bulging knot around the buried hair gold. Xiao Wu jumps onto the bed, digs the thing back out, and finally sees how the hair gold curls up inside whatever it pierces. Tang San tells her that if this entered a human body, the flesh around it would have to be cut away to remove it. Shaken by how cruel it sounds, Xiao Wu calls the hidden weapon too vicious. Tang San names a dragon beer needle and says a weapon's morality depends on the person using it, not the weapon itself. He quietly judges that, at close range, even Dai Mubai's white tiger Vajra transformation might not stop this new needle. The mood lightens when Xiao Wu jokes that maybe she should give up spirit cultivation and study Tang San's strange hidden weapons instead. When Tang San doubts she works hard at all, Xiao Wu puffs up and argues that he just never notices her effort. The next morning, the two leave Rose Hotel and head south out of Suatuo City towards Shrek Academy. Tang San still knows almost nothing about Shrek except that Grandmaster personally sent him there, which makes him trust there must be a reason. As they keep walking through the countryside, Xiao Wu asks for a ride, and Tang San helplessly lets her leap onto his back. Carrying her like always fills Tang San with the steady warmth of family that he has been missing since Tang Hao vanished. Tang San's thoughts drift to his absent father, making it even clearer why he treasures Xiao Wu like a real little sister. Soon Xiao Wu spots a small village ahead with a crowd at the entrance, and Tang San figures they can ask there for directions. But when they reach it, both of them stop cold because the shabby little village itself is apparently Shrek Academy. Xiao Wu blurts out that this place looks more like a scam than an academy, and Tang San can only suggest they check first before judging. As they line up, they hear other parents grumbling that Spirit Hall praised this academy highly, but the reality looks embarrassingly run down. At the registration desk, a plainly dressed old man lazily collects 10 gold coins from each applicant. He checks a boy's age just by feeling his hand, then immediately rejects him for being over 13. When the father begs for an exception and then asks for the fee back, the old man coldly repeats the rule: no refunds. The furious parent calls it a scam, and the old man casually tells Mubai to handle anyone who wants their money returned. A familiar figure rises from the side, and Tang San sees that Shrek's enforcer is none other than Dai Mubai. Dai Mubai doesn't waste words. He unleashes 3 spirit rings, including a 1,000-year ring, and the protest dies under the weight of his power. The moment Dai Mubai's 3 rings include a 1,000-year one, a nervous father gives up on arguing, mutters about bad luck, and drags his son away. Dai Mubai drops back into his seat and sweeps the line with a threat in his eyes, and a big chunk of the applicants immediately lose their courage. A confident family still steps up, pays the fee, and presents their 12-year-old son for the first test. The boy releases a 100-year vine spirit, but the old man still rejects him on the spot. When the shocked parents demand an explanation, the old man bluntly says a single 100-year ring is not enough if the child is still ordinary by Shrek's standards. The old man stands up and finally explains Shrek Academy's rule: this place only accepts monsters, not ordinary people. He raises the bar even higher by declaring that anyone over 13 or under rank 20 can leave now and stop wasting money. Tang San and Xiao Wu had been disappointed by the school's shabby look, but this strange rule suddenly makes Tang San pay close attention. To prove he is not bluffing, the old man explodes with power and reveals a long staff with 6 spirit rings. The colors make everyone freeze, because this shabby old farmer-looking man turns out to be a terrifying spirit emperor with even a 10,000-year ring. One strike of his staff shakes the whole area, and his lazy little next is enough to crush the last resistance in the line. After that display, contempt turns into fear and respect, and most families quietly give up and leave with their children. Only a handful of truly confident applicants remain, and the ones with 2 rings start passing the first hurdle and getting sent inside without their parents. Watching the tougher candidates get through, Xiao Wu turns excited and says this academy suddenly looks fun. Tang San quietly reminds her that Grandmaster was right to send them here, because Shrek is clearly nothing ordinary. Up close, Dai Mubai spots them in line, gives a small smile, and signals that this part of the test is out of his hands. Then a gentle girl in a simple white dress steps forward alone, and even the old examiner looks genuinely surprised by her. Instead of answering his worried question about whether her family knows, she coolly points out that if she meets the rules, Shrek has no right to reject her. After a brief hesitation, the old man tells Dai Mubai to bring her inside, and Dai's eyes lose their playful heat at once. As Tang San and Xiaowu finally reach the front, Dai Mubai suddenly stares past them like he has just seen something even more unexpected. Tang San turns and sees the last applicant, a black-haired girl with a striking figure and a face so cold she feels almost lifeless. Xiaowu catches Tang San looking too long and pinches him hard enough to snap his attention back to the test. Tang San and Xiaowu pay together and offer their hands, and the old man immediately confirms Xiaowu's age fits the rule. But when he checks Tang San, the old man pauses in surprise because Tang San's hand feels unusually tough from training. After checking Tang San's leg as well, the old man is satisfied and orders both of them to release their spirits. Xiaowu reveals her rabbit spirit with a yellow ring, and Tang San answers with blue-silver grass strengthened by his own yellow ring. The old man is especially shocked that ordinary-looking blue-silver grass could be cultivated this far, and Tang San calmly points out that maybe that is exactly why he counts as a monster. For once the old man smiles and tells Dai Mubai to take both of them inside. Once they enter the village-like campus, Dai Mubai admits he knew they would pass and keeps glancing back toward the cold girl at the gate. When Xiaowu teases him about the disaster girl, Dai Mubai says it is not that simple because her aura seems to complement his spirit. He explains that matching spirits can create spirit harmonization and greatly boost power together, so if Xiaowu jokingly guesses the girl is a tigress, Dai Mubai can only admit it might be true. Dai Mubai leads them to the second exam area, an open square in the middle of the academy where the earlier applicants are already waiting. He tells them to wait here, but before leaving he says he still wants to confirm that girl's spirit and practically vows to capture her if it really matches his. While they wait, a strangely soft sales pitch starts floating through the square, offering cheap Oscar brand sausages to hungry examinees. Tang San and Xiaowu turn to see a bearded cart seller whose mature face does not match that soft voice at all. Since Xiaowu skipped breakfast and the sausages smell great, Tang San leaves her in line and walks over to buy two. Tang San politely calls the vendor uncle, and Oscar instantly freezes in offended disbelief. Oscar insists he is only 14 and a real Shrek student, which leaves Tang San staring at the giant beard in stunned silence. Even so, Tang San apologizes, buys the sausages, and ends up accepting that this academy really is full of monsters. Before Tang San can take them back, Dai Mubai returns with the cold girl and abruptly stops him from eating the sausage. Tang San asks why, and Dai Mubai makes Oscar reveal exactly how he produces his food spirit. Under pressure, Oscar raises his hand, summons two yellow rings, and blurts out the outrageous incantation that creates a fresh sausage in his palm. That line is enough to make Tang San instantly lose all appetite, especially since he had been about to hand one to Xiaowu. Oscar hurriedly swears the food itself is fine and complains that food spirits just come with embarrassing spell words, but it does not help his case at all. Tang San immediately puts the bought sausages back and thanks Dai Mubai for the warning before he loses face any further. Zhu Zhuqing only gives Oscar a cold glance and walks to the queue, while Dai Mubai orders Oscar to stop selling that stuff inside the academy. Back in line, Xiaowu asks where her sausage went, and Tang San and Dai Mubai burst out laughing at the memory. Even Zhu Zhuqing, standing behind Xiaowu, quietly calls them silly before Tang San finally whispers the truth into Xiaowu's ear. Once Xiaowu hears the incantation, she flushes bright red and blurts out that boys are shameless and Oscar's spirit is unbelievably weird. Dai Mubai explains that Oscar's food spirit is actually top-class support, but his awful incantations and wild beard earned him the nickname Big Sausage Uncle. That finally makes Xiaowu laugh too, and the tense entrance exam briefly turns into a ridiculous shared joke. Then Dai Mubai suddenly tells Tang San and Xiaowu to follow him straight past the line, insisting this is not favoritism but the treatment they earned. At the second exam station, Dai Mubai quietly explains something to the teacher, who agrees to send Tang San and Xiaowu directly to the fourth test if they qualify. The line immediately protests, because skipping two tests sounds unfair to everyone else. The teacher calmly says anyone with spirit power above rank 25 can also skip ahead, because then the second and third tests would be a waste of time. When one student refuses to believe 12-year-olds could possibly be that strong, Dai Mubai tosses Tang San a white testing crystal to prove it. Tang San pours spirit power into the crystal, and it blazes white so fiercely that it nearly reaches the limit of rank 30. The teacher is delighted by another little monster, and Tang San immediately hands the crystal to Xiaowu because he knows she can prove the same thing. Xiaowu's result shines just as hard, and the other applicants can only stare at the pair like they really are monsters. Before the crowd can recover, the elegant girl in white steps forward and politely says she should be excused from those tests too. Now that Tang San can see her face clearly, she looks less flashy than the cold girl but carries the same unmistakable air of a noble young lady. Xiaowu passes her the crystal, and Ning Rongrong's spirit power also clears the 25 threshold with ease. Then the crystal vanishes from her hand, because the cold black-haired girl has stepped in silently and claimed her turn without a word. Zhu Juqing's crystal shines even stronger, and between her result and Dai Mubai's reaction, the teacher realizes Shrek has suddenly found 4 monsters in 1 year. With no one able to argue after those results, the teacher has Dai Mubai take all 4 monster-level candidates straight to the 4th hurdle. As they walk deeper into the academy, Tang San asks how the entrance exam works, and Dai Mubai starts explaining the full 4-test system. Dai Mubai says the first test weeds out anyone too old or too weak, and the second checks whether a spirit and its training paths still have room to grow instead of hitting future limits. Tang San asks why blue silver grass was allowed through, and Dai Mubai explains that once spirit power passes rank 25, raw strength can outweigh a weaker base spirit and skip the middle tests. He goes on to say the third test is about spirit control, because talent means little if a student cannot actually handle their own power. And the final test, the one they are heading to now, is real combat experience, because Shrek refuses pampered students who only look strong on paper. As they walk deeper into Shrek, Xiaowu blurts out that this school picks students with absurdly harsh standards and asks how many people it even manages to admit. Dai Mubai answers with a bitter smile that in 20 years Shrek has only enrolled 42 students, and this year 4 recruits at once would already be a record. When he adds that the whole academy currently has only 3 students including himself, Tang San, Xiaowu, and Ning Rongrong all stare in disbelief. Dai Mubai says Shrek actually has more teachers than students, and if his family had not been helping with money, the academy might already have shut down. Ning Rongrong cannot understand why Shrek refuses to loosen its entry rules when so many applicants come, and Dai Mubai answers with open reverence for the dean's creed: better know students than rubbish. He reveals Shrek's real standard is even harsher than the entrance rule, because students only graduate by reaching rank 40 before age 20. Out of those 42 students, only 14 ever graduated, but every one of them became famous, including Spirit Hall's youngest elder. Tang San says he is glad he came, and after hearing what Shrek stands for, he grows genuinely eager to meet the dean behind it. Dai Mubai also explains that Shrek once refused royal sponsorship rather than let its graduates swear loyalty, which is why the academy has been pushed to the margins. Then Dai Mubai stops at the 4th exam ground, where a rough-looking middle-aged man is dozing in a chair as if nothing here could trouble him. When Dai Mubai announces he brought 4 students for the 4th test, the sleepy teacher wakes up and is immediately surprised there are 4 at once. Dai Mubai adds that all 4 skip the earlier tests, and that makes the teacher's sleepy mood vanish on the spot. The man introduces himself as Zhao Wuji and bluntly changes the exam into a real combat trial. The 4 of them must survive his attacks for 1 stick of incense. He warns them not to count on fleeing or blocking him alone, because only teamwork gives them any chance at all. Even Dai Mubai protests that this is too much, but Zhao Wuji shuts him down and casually declares that while the dean is away, his word is final. He lights the incense with his fingers and plants it in the ground so steadily that the candidates finally see this test is no joke. Once Zhao Wuji sits back down, Dai Mubai urgently pulls the 4 together and admits he cannot help them this time. Xiaowu tries to laugh it off by guessing Zhao Wuji cannot be stronger than the old gate examiner, but Dai Mubai's look makes it clear she is badly underestimating him. Then Dai Mubai drops the real bomb: Zhao Wuji is no spirit emperor, but a level 76 beast spirit battle spirit sage. The 4 students freeze, because against a spirit sage their near 30th rank confidence suddenly means almost nothing. Dai Mubai explains Zhao Wuji's martial spirit is the vigorous Vajra bear, a beast spirit built around monstrous attack and defense with virtually no obvious weak point. He warns that Zhao Wuji's nickname is Motionless Bright King, and even with Dai Mubai added in, stopping him for 1 incense stick would still be doubtful. Zhu Juqing suddenly recognizes the name and reveals Zhao Wuji once fought his way out of a siege by 16 Spirit Hall bishops, which makes the situation sound even worse. Dai Mubai confirms it and adds one more crushing detail: Zhao Wuji's 7 rings are 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 3 black. With no time to waste, Dai Mubai tells them to introduce their spirits and build a plan on the fly. Tang San calmly introduces himself as a rank 29 control system spirit master with blue silver grass. Xiaowu follows right after him, declaring herself a rank 29 rabbit spirit assault fighter. Ning Rongrong then reveals she is a rank 26 support spirit master from the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda line, and everyone immediately locks onto her in surprise. Tang San instantly understands that Ning Rongrong comes from the 7 treasure glazed tile school, the most famous support line on the continent. Ning Rongrong waves off the attention, says she ran away from home, and focuses on the fight by promising she can raise everyone's strength and speed by about 30%. Last, Zhu Juqing coolly identifies herself as a rank 27 Hell's Civet Agility attacker. Seeing their balanced lineup, Tang San quickly assigns roles. Ning Rongrong supports, Xiaowu attacks head-on, he handles control, and Zhu Juqing strikes from the flank. Before they can refine anything further, Zhao Wuji announces that their discussion time is over and the incense has already burned down. Dai Mubai retreats to the side to watch, while Zhao Wuji cracks his wrists and lets his pressure rise until the whole field feels heavier. As soon as Zhao Wuji lights the real combat incense, Ning Rongrong moves first and summons her 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda. Her first spirit ring flashes, and warm support light pours into Tang San, Xiao Wu, and Zhu Zhuqin to boost their strength. Zhao Wuji is mildly impressed that one of this year's examinees is from the 7 treasure clan, but he keeps the test going without the slightest mercy. Ning Rongrong immediately adds a second boost for speed, and the team feels their bodies become lighter and faster all at once. Then Zhao Wuji finally makes the first move, not by charging them, but by slamming both fists into the ground. Tang San instantly realizes Zhao Wuji's opening shockwave is meant to disrupt Ning Rongrong first, because any fighter would target a 7 treasure support the moment battle starts. He lashes out blue-silver grass around Ning Rongrong's waist and jumps with her to yank his support out of the shockwave's path. At the same time, Xiao Wu jumps forward and Zhu Zhuqing slips aside, both dodging the ground wave as the field shudders under Zhao Wuji's blow. Tang San uses his own palms as a launch point, and Xiao Wu trusts him completely, stepping onto his hands so he can fire her at Zhao Wuji like an arrow. Instead of dodging, Zhao Wuji grins and even puts his hands behind his back, openly inviting Xiao Wu to try her best. Xiao Wu lands both feet on his shoulders, locks onto the weak points at his neck, and twists into her soft skill throw with full force. Tang San backs her up immediately by wrapping Zhao Wuji in blue-silver grass from every side and lifting his feet off the ground with layered binding vines. With Ning Rongrong's boost behind them, Xiao Wu finally manages to spin the bound Zhao Wuji through the air like a huge wrapped bundle. But while Xiao Wu thinks she has him, Zhao Wuji casually remarks that the spinning is fun and then simply stops being moved. In one burst of strength, he blows apart Tang San's vines, plants his feet again, and swells into spirit-enhanced form as the team loses control of him. 7 spirit rings rise around Zhao Wuji's enlarged body, and the fight instantly turns from dangerous to terrifying. Zhu Zhuqin uses the opening perfectly and flashes in from behind, her claws striking at Zhao Wuji's vulnerable points before he can fully reset. Her attack is fast enough to force him to release his spirit, but once the transformation is complete, even her claws can barely do more than shred his clothes. Xiao Wu also finds her soft skill completely restrained, because Zhao Wuji's raw strength is so overwhelming that she cannot budge him at all. Tang San turns pale from the backlash of his broken blue-silver grass, yet he still rushes in again instead of backing off. He triggers his second spirit ring's parasite effect, making fresh blue-silver grass erupt directly on Zhao Wuji's body to stall him for one crucial beat. Using that opening, Tang San darts in front while Zhu Zhuqing appears behind, and the two strike together at Zhao Wuji's weak spots. Zhao Wuji braces his stomach to mock Tang San's punch, but Tang San was never trying to overpower him directly. At the last second, Tang San turns the punch into a controlling crane-catching dragon redirect, borrowing Zhao Wuji's own force to drag him off balance. Tang San even kicks at Zhao Wuji's footing and, with perfect timing, actually lifts the Spirit Sage's massive body clear off the ground. The instant Zhao Wuji leaves the ground, Tang San calls for Xiao Wu, and she snaps into place to finish the chain attack. Xiao Wu wraps her legs around Zhao Wuji's waist, grabs his ankle, and whirls him through the air into a brutal headfirst slam. Tang San uses another blue-silver grass line to yank Xiao Wu safely away at the last instant, letting Zhao Wuji take the full impact alone. Zhao Wuji crashes into the ground so hard that his entire head buries into the dirt, and for a moment the team actually lands a clean hit on a Spirit Sage. Xiao Wu drops lightly onto Tang San's shoulder, panting hard after using everything she had, and asks in sudden nervousness if they just overdid it. Tang San warns her not to relax, because Zhao Wuji still has not used a single spirit ability, and the incense has only burned by 1/3. He quickly withdraws the remaining blue-silver grass to avoid another costly backlash, already preparing for the next round. Then Zhao Wuji plants his hands, pulls his head out of the ground, and rises again in full bear-like spirit release, towering and completely unhurt. After getting planted headfirst in the dirt, Zhao Wuji dusts himself off and grumbles that he actually got tripped up by a bunch of kids. He catches Daimyo by laughing on the sideline, and coldly promises him a real combat lesson tomorrow, which wipes the smile right off his face. Then Zhao Wuji turns serious and strides straight toward Tang San and Xiao Wu, clearly planning to settle the score with the pair who embarrassed him most. Tang San instantly calls for another meteor hammer move, launching Xiao Wu feet first while blue-silver grass threads out from every side to trap Xiao Wuji. Xiao Wu twists in midair under Tang San's control and whips a kick across Zhao Wuji's shoulder instead of charging straight in. At the same opening, Zhu Zhuqing flashes in from behind and unleashes Hell 100 Claws at one point on Zhao Wuji's back. That finally pushes Zhao Wuji too far, and his first spirit ring flares as a brutal golden shockwave explodes off his body. Zhu Zhuqing takes the worst of it, getting blasted away so hard that Daimyo has to rush in and catch her limp body. Xiao Wu is thrown back next, coughing blood as Tang San reels her in with blue-silver grass and catches her against his chest. Tang San only takes a lighter shock himself, but seeing Xiao Wu badly hurt hits him far harder than the pain. Off to the side, Ning Rongrong can only watch in frustration, because her 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda can boost allies but cannot heal them. Zhao Wuji suddenly closes the distance, his second spirit ring lighting up as his giant golden palm comes down on Tang San. Tang San has to pull Xiao Wu clear first, and that split-second choice costs him his own chance to dodge. Even half-conscious, Xiao Wu fires back with her confusion skill, turning her eyes blood red and briefly staggering Zhao Wuji's mind. The gap in spirit power is too big, so the backlash slams into Xiao Wu instead and she faints with blood running from her mouth and nose. Tang San slips away with Ghost Shadow perplexing track and frantically pours his inner power into Xiao Wu, but she still does not wake up. Zhao Wuji stops attacking long enough to explain that Xiao Wu only suffered spirit backlash and should recover after sleeping it off. He turns to Ning Rongrong and says they have already lost, using the moment to hammer home how wide the gap in real strength still is. Tang San lifts his head with all emotion drained from his face, and that cold look makes it clear he is not done yet. He walks Xiao Wu over to Ning Rongrong and quietly asks her to hold Xiao Wu for a moment. Then Tang San turns back and walks alone toward Zhao Wuji, making even the veteran teacher pause. Zhao Wuji warns that Tang San cannot even take one clean hit from his vigorous Vajra palm, but Tang San says he is not here to resume the old test. Instead, Tang San asks for a true one-on-one fight from the beginning, with a fresh stick of incense deciding whether all four of them may enter Shrek together. Zhao Wuji pushes back by reminding him that the whole team already lost once, forcing Tang San to look to the others before speaking for everyone. Ning Rongrong answers first, saying she was taught never to abandon comrades, so if they fail again they leave together. Zhu Zhuqing is too weak to speak, but from Dai Mabai's support she still forces herself to nod yes. That trust hardens Tang San's resolve, and he tells Zhao Wuji plainly that if he loses, they all leave together. Far from being offended, Zhao Wuji likes the spirit he sees and agrees to start over, curious about what Tang San is still hiding. As the new incense is lit, Tang San sets his stance and decides he will stop hiding his real strength after nearly losing Xiao Wu. He remembers that pretending to be weaker than you are can get you killed, and this time he means to fight like his secrets actually matter. Tang San lets his state change completely. His hands turn pale like jade, his eyes glow purple, and even Zhao Wuji feels a flicker of danger from him. Zhao Wuji answers by activating motionless Bright King body again and marching forward, not fast but crushingly steady. Tang San suddenly snaps his head up, flashing those purple eyes just long enough to make Zhao Wuji hesitate for an instant. It is only a feint, and in that instant 10 hidden weapons burst from Tang San's fingers toward Zhao Wuji's eyes, throat, heart, knees, and other vitals. Zhao Wuji blocks high and low and pours power into his body, so every projectile slams into him and bounces off without drawing blood. Tang San does not stop there, and a second wave of hidden weapons follows as he starts probing for the one point Zhao Wuji cannot protect forever. Knives, darts, nails, and other strange projectiles keep pouring out in impossible angles, and even the spectators feel a chill imagining themselves in Zhao Wuji's place. Zhao Wuji bullies straight through the barrage, trusting his defense and charging after Tang San with brute force instead of finesse. Tang San switches from offense to footwork, using blue silver grass and ghost shadow perplexing track to keep slipping just outside Zhao Wuji's palms. As the incense keeps burning, Zhao Wuji realizes Tang San is dragging this out and decides to end the chase with a stronger spirit skill. His third spirit ring sinks into the ground, and suddenly the whole battlefield becomes heavy as Tang San feels his body dragged down by doubled gravity. Now Tang San's evasions start coming apart, and Zhao Wuji's giant palm misses by less and less each time. Not wanting to stay a joke for the other teachers, Zhao Wuji lights up his fourth ring too and decides the match ends now. A purple tracking ring passes over Tang San and marks him, and Zhao Wuji immediately leaps after the lock with terrifying precision. Tang San realizes he cannot dodge this one, so he finally commits to the trap he has been setting. The hidden parasite seeds he planted earlier erupt at once, and blue-silver grass suddenly wraps Zhao Wuji in midair just before he lands. In the same heartbeat, 6-sleeve crossbow bolts blast straight at Zhao Wuji's face and force him into another explosive defensive burst. Tang San uses the recoil itself to fling his body back out of reach, keeping the combo going instead of getting trapped in close quarters. Then Tang San triggers the hidden weapon at his stomach, blasting out tea-colored mist and a steel needle straight into Zhao Wuji as he charges through it. The needle only barely pierces Zhao Wuji's skin, but that is enough to deliver poison and make his chest flare with pain. Forced to spend spirit power suppressing the toxin, Zhao Wuji finally gives Tang San the opening he has been fighting for. Tang San charges in instead of retreating and fires 10 nearly invisible golden needles right when Zhao Wuji's defense dips. Using Purple Demon Eye to read the flow of spirit power, he threads those needles through Zhao Wuji's weak spots and drives them into his body. The pain makes even Zhao Wuji inhale sharply, and this time he stops playing around for real. His fifth spirit ring blazes black, and a terrifying roar with crushing sound pressure drags Tang San helplessly up toward him. Even while being pulled in, Tang San fires a back-mounted crossbow bolt straight at Zhao Wuji's open mouth with terrifying accuracy. Zhao Wuji manages to clamp the bolt between his teeth, but the impact rattles him and the poison hidden inside spills into his mouth. At the same time, blades spring from Tang San's boots and he kicks high and low, forcing Zhao Wuji to sweat both attacks aside at close range. Irritated and half-numb from poison, Zhao Wuji snarls that Tang San is like a hedgehog covered in weapons. But Tang San still is not finished, and at point-blank range a small pitch-black hammer suddenly appears in his left hand as he swings for Zhao Wuji's face. Zhao Wuji finally snaps back at Tang San and slaps him in the chest, sending the exhausted boy flying and coughing blood. At the same instant, Tang San's tiny black hammer smashes Zhao Wuji's blocking hand into his own face and leaves the teacher's nose bleeding. Dai Mubai rushes in and catches Tang San before he hits the ground. Zhao Wuji is still the winner on paper, but the wreck clearing and his bloodied face make it obvious Tang San forced the spirit sage to lose face. Realizing the group needs healing fast, Dai Mubai shouts for Oscar to come over. Oscar comes running over, excited that someone finally needs his spirit sausages. When Dai Mubai tells him to heal everyone, Oscar happily announces his price and summons a fresh sausage with his awful incantation. Dai Mubai urges Tang San to eat, but the incantation is so disgusting that Tang San nearly gags and refuses. Tang San drops into meditation instead, trying to recover his drained strength on his own. The person most willing to eat Oscar's sausages is the badly humiliated Zhao Wuji, who demands healing for himself immediately. Oscar almost fails to recognize the bloody teacher in front of him, which only makes Zhao Wuji angrier. Getting the hint from Dai Mubai, Oscar swallows his laughter and obediently makes both the big fresh sausage and the tiny cured sausage for Zhao Wuji. Zhao Wuji swallows both without complaint, and his color starts coming back even as the poison pain keeps twisting across his body. Nearby, Dai Mubai returns to Zhu Zhuqing, but her icy stare makes it clear she would rather suffer than eat Oscar's food. Ning Rongrong points out that the incense has already burned out, so Zhao Wuji has no choice but to admit the four of them passed. Zhao Wuji tries to leave with what little dignity he has left, but Tang San stops him. Tang San apologizes for going too hard and explains that Zhao Wuji still has hidden weapons stuck under his skin. Checking the wounds up close, Tang San is relieved to find the dragon beard needles only tangled under Zhao Wuji's skin instead of piercing deep. Using his jade hand and precise technique, Tang San starts extracting the twisted dragon beard needles one by one. The removal is agonizing, but Zhao Wuji refuses to make a sound and endures it through gritted teeth. Afterward, Oscar gives Zhao Wuji another sausage, and the teacher's surface wounds rapidly close. Tang San burns through the last of his strength, helping Zhao Wuji, and collapses on the spot. Now mostly recovered, Zhao Wuji tells Dai Mubai to settle the 4 new students and warns everyone not to touch Tang San's scattered hidden weapons. As Zhao Wuji leaves, Oscar mutters that the teacher must be in a terrible mood to bully freshmen like this. Dai Mubai snaps back at Oscar, and their bickering breaks the tension for a moment. Oscar grumbles that Dai Mubai gets to help the girls while he is stuck lugging unconscious Tang San instead. Later, Tang San wakes up in a tiny wooden dorm room and realizes he is now sharing it with Oscar. Before anything else, Tang San asks about Xiao Wu, and Oscar assures him she is safe and resting with Ning Rongrong. Oscar introduces himself properly as a 29th rank sausage spirit master and immediately starts acting proud of his own charm. He even vows to shave his beard tomorrow so the new girls can see his supposedly handsome side. Oscar casually assumes Xiao Wu belongs to Tang San and jokes that he will aim for Ning Rongrong instead. Tang San insists he and Xiao Wu are only friends, but Oscar refuses to believe it after the way Tang San fought Zhao Wuji for her. Too tired to keep explaining, Tang San ignores Oscar and goes straight back into cultivation. Deep into the night, Shrek Academy falls quiet, and it turns out Tang San's group were the only students who passed this year's test. In his own room, Zhao Wuji sits alone, still brooding over how badly Tang San made him lose face. Even while sulking, Zhao Wuji admits to himself that Tang San's talent and fighting instinct are exceptional. He even starts plotting how to toughen Tang San up later, smiling a little too viciously at the idea. That thought is cut off cold when an unseen voice suddenly calls Zhao Wuji by name right beside his ear. Realizing a terrifying expert has approached without triggering his senses, Zhao Wuji bursts through the window and chases the pressure outside. He races to the edge of the academy and reaches a grove where the strange presence finally stops moving. Zhao Wuji releases his vigorous Vajra bear spirit and 7 rings, ready for a fight he still cannot see. A black-clad man finally steps out from behind a tree and calmly says he only wants to exchange pointers. Then the stranger reveals a giant black hammer and 9 spirit rings, instantly proving he is a title Delua far above Zhao Wuji. All of Zhao Wuji's swagger vanishes at once, and he bows, recognizing the gap between them is absolute. The black-clad man coldly says Zhao Wuji bullied the children today, so now he is here to return that treatment himself. Before it starts, the stranger notices another expert nearby and calls him out too. Flender appears beside Zhao Wuji, releases his winged spirit form, and respectfully greets the black-clad man as Hao Tian. That name hits Zhao Wuji like a second shock, because he now realizes the man in front of him is the terrifying Clear Sky Deluo. Flender tries to plead for Zhao Wuji, but Hao Tian cuts him off and gives Zhao Wuji a harsh choice: endure 1 stick of incense against him while he uses no spirit, or carry out a task for him afterward. When Zhao Wuji still asks what he did wrong, Flender immediately steps aside and leaves him to his fate. Hao Tian gives the answer Zhao Wuji was dreading, He came because Zhao Wuji laid hands on the younger generation. The next moment Hao Tian is on him, and the fight is so one-sided it barely lasts 10 breaths. When it ends, Zhao Wuji is sprawled on the ground with a swollen pig face, black eyes, and blood at his mouth, while Flender can barely bear to look. Instead of raging, Zhao Wuji thanks Hao Tian for the guidance hidden inside the beating, and Flender comes over to support him. Hao Tian quietly gives Flender and Zhao Wuji a few final instructions, and both men listen with full seriousness. With the warning delivered and the debt collected, Hao Tian vanishes into the night. Only after he is gone does Zhao Wuji start complaining that Flender abandoned him the instant things got dangerous. Flender snaps back that if Hao Tian had wanted them dead, stepping in would only have gotten both of them killed. As they head back, Zhao Wuji admits that Hao Tian's power is terrifyingly beyond him, but Flender reminds him that surviving the lesson was lucky enough. Before sunrise, Tang San slips out of his tiny dorm because he still has important cleanup from yesterday's entrance fight. He heads back to the 4th exam field to collect every hidden weapon he fired at Zhao Wuji, unwilling to lose tools that took him so much effort to make. As he gathers them, Tang San replays the battle and admits Zhao Wuji's defense was overwhelming, so his current hidden weapons still are not enough against that level of enemy. He briefly considers Tang Sek's most terrifying mechanical weapons, but the materials and time they need make them impossible for him right now. So he settles on the only realistic path for now: cultivate harder, improve his equipment, and prepare more kinds of poison instead of relying on just Datura snake venom. Then he jumps to a rooftop and trains Purple Demon Eye as the first purple light of sunrise spreads across the east. After yesterday's pressure, he can already feel himself brushing rank 30, and that possible breakthrough sharpens his focus even more. When Tang San returns to the dorm, Oscar is still buried in his blanket and drooling in his sleep. Tang San tries to drag him awake, but Oscar complains that a food system spirit master does not need the same kind of grueling morning practice. Since Oscar refuses to get up, Tang San just asks where Xiao Wu is staying and hurries off to check on her. Oscar also warns him that male students are not allowed to casually enter the girls' dorm, a strict academy rule in this shabby rented village campus. Hungry but more worried about Xiao Wu, Tang San goes straight to the girls' wooden house instead of looking for breakfast first. He stops outside the girls' dorm and calls softly for Xiao Wu, careful not to barge in with Ning Rongrong inside. Xiao Wu steps out looking a little pale but otherwise fine, and Tang San finally relaxes. She hushes him right away because Ning Rongrong is still cultivating inside, so the two move aside to talk. Tang San apologizes for failing to protect her yesterday, still carrying that guilt after the fight with Zhao Wuji. Xiao Wu brushes it off and admits Shrek is nothing like noting, because even the teachers here are frighteningly strong. She casually says at least no spirit Dolo level expert showed up, and that oddly specific comment makes Tang San curious. When he asks how she knows that, Xiao Wu hurriedly waves it off as a guess, and Tang San lets the strange remark pass. With the tension gone, Tang San takes her hand and suggests they go find food, and Xiao Wu immediately brightens back into her usual cheerful self. Since they still do not know the academy well, the two wander toward the village looking for breakfast by following the signs of morning life. Outside Shrek's quiet section, the rest of the village is busy at sunrise, and Tang San decides they might as well buy food from local villagers first. Before they can do that, they spot a village girl arguing with a short, chubby boy who looks even younger than she does. Chui Hua tells the boy Ma Hongjun that she cannot stay with him anymore and begs him not to come looking for her again. Tang San and Xiao Wu first take it as childish puppy love, but the mood turns ugly when Ma Hongjun refuses to let it end cleanly. When Chui Hua says she cannot endure him, Ma Hongjun grabs her wrist and demands one more round with her before he will agree to break up. That is enough for Xiao Wu, who jumps in instantly and kicks his hand away from the girl. Ma Hongjun is briefly struck by how pretty Xiao Wu is, then shamelessly asks if she wants to replace Chui Hua as his girlfriend. Xiao Wu snaps at him for acting like a hoodlum, and Ma Hongjun drops the fake charm and tells her to stop meddling. Seeing this boy is not simple, Tang San steps in front of Xiao Wu and warns Ma Hongjun to leave Chui Hua alone. Ma Hongjun answers with a filthy insult, and Tang San's patience ends on the spot. Tang San strikes first with a controlled kick, testing whether the chubby boy really is a spirit master. Ma Hongjun blocks with spirit power flashing around him, proving Tang San guessed right. Their first clash ends nearly even, and Ma Hongjun realizes this new student is not just meddling blindly. Then Ma Hongjun finally shows his real power and shouts out his spirit enhancement. The word phoenix makes Tang San and Xiao Wu tense up, because a phoenix spirit should be one of the strongest beast spirits around. Ma Hongjun transforms in a hilariously awkward way, with a mohawk crest, clawed hands, feathered arms, and 2 yellow spirit rings blazing around his plump body. Xiao Wu cannot help laughing and says this phoenix looks more like a fat free-range chicken, which instantly enrages him. Furious, Ma Hongjun uses his first spirit skill and fires a narrow stream of purple-red flame straight at Xiao Wu. Tang San instantly yanks Xiao Wu out of the line of fire with blue-silver grass before the flames can touch her. But Ma Hongjun sweeps the flames sideways like a long burning whip, keeping the pressure on instead of letting them reset. Tang San quickly sees the range limit and sends blue-silver grass to bind Ma Hongjun's legs instead of meeting the fire head-on. The trap works for a heartbeat, until Ma Hongjun explodes with full-body purple fire and burns the binding grass to ash. That shocking burst tells Tang San exactly how bad the matchup is, because his plant spirit is a natural target for this sticky fire. Wrapped in flames now, Ma Hongjun charges them like a living fireball. Xiao Wu does not wait to be protected and launches herself at him, while Tang San quietly readies hidden weapons in case she is put in real danger. Ma Hongjun spits another ringed sweep of phoenix fire wire to cut off Xiao Wu's approach and make her walk into the heat. He even eases the flames slightly because he wants to hurt Xiao Wu without ruining her face, a cruel thought that shows exactly what kind of mood he is in. Xiao Wu feels the fire weaken and takes that opening, folding her body in midair and slipping through the tiny gap with impossible agility. The instant she gets close, Tang San knows the fight is already decided and quietly puts his hidden weapons away. Xiao Wu flips behind Ma Hongjun, locks her legs around his neck, and triggers waist bow at point-blank range. Instead of smashing him headfirst into the ground, she goes easy and throws him upward, still sending his whole body flipping helplessly through the air. He crashes down on his backside anyway, dazed and humiliated, because his control is nowhere near good enough to recover cleanly. To Tang San and Xiao Wu's surprise, Cui Hua rushes over to help him up and begs them not to keep fighting. Xiao Wu is still ready to continue, but she suddenly realizes Ma Hongjun's strange flame has stuck to her shoes and keeps burning. She has to kick both shoes off to stop the burning, leaving her standing barefoot in the road. Cui Hua tearfully explains that Ma Hongjun is not truly a bad man, they are just not suited for each other, and she wants to settle it herself. Ma Hongjun ruins that fragile piece by shoving Cui Hua aside and charging Xiao Wu again, still too angry to drop it. Before the second round can start, Dai Mubai walks in and demands to know why Tang San and Fatty are fighting each other. Xiao Wu immediately says they stepped in because this little fatty looked like he was bullying a girl in broad daylight. Dai Mubai immediately realizes this is a misunderstanding, and when he asks, Cui Hua confirms she really cannot endure Ma Hongjun anymore before hurrying off in embarrassment. Tang San presses for an explanation, and Dai Mubai reveals that Ma Hongjun is the third student of Shrek Academy. Dai Mubai says this cannot simply be blamed on Ma Hongjun being shameless, because the real trouble starts with his mutated spirit. Ma Hongjun angrily corrects him that his spirit is a phoenix, not some free-range chicken, no matter what his family line used to be. Dai Mubai waves the pride aside and explains the dean found Ma Hongjun in the village because his spirit had mutated into an unusually powerful fire type. Tang San immediately focuses on the word mutant spirit, because he knows that kind of mutation can produce either a crippled spirit or a frighteningly strong one. Dai Mubai says even Ma Hongjun does not know exactly how the mutation happened, only that the dean believes it could truly become a phoenix line. Then comes the ugly part. Dai Mubai awkwardly explains that the mutation also warped Ma Hongjun's body, leaving him with abnormally strong sexual urges and 10 times a normal person's appetite for them. According to Dai Mubai, if that evil fire keeps building with no release, Ma Hongjun could literally explode and die. Ma Hongjun hurriedly cuts in, red-faced and flustered, insisting the real problem is the evil fire pressure building up, as if that wording saves any dignity at all. Tang San and Xiao Wu are left staring after Dai Mubai explains that Ma Hongjun's mutant spirit leaves the 12-year-old fatty with dangerous lust unless he keeps venting it. Xiao Wu immediately draws the line and says that whatever his problem is, hurting girls still makes him a thug. Ma Hongjun flares up and insists he never forces anyone, claiming every relationship was consensual. Dai Mubai backs him up and confirms the girl from earlier really was Ma Hongjun's girlfriend. When Xiao Wu asks why those girls keep dumping him, Dai Mubai awkwardly admits ordinary girls cannot endure Ma Hongjun's evil fire 3 or 4 times a day. Dai Mubai goes on to say Fatty has already cycled through several girlfriends in just a year, and that is exactly how he got the evil fire nickname. Ma Hongjun still snaps back over one detail, insisting his title is Evil Fire Phoenix, not some lowly fowl. Tang San can only marvel that Shrek really does gather monsters, while Xiao Wu reddens and mutters that this place has every kind of weirdo. The mood turns rowdier when Ma Hongjun mocks Dai Mubai and Oscar for their pretty faces and hints that Dai Mubai secretly juggles multiple dates. Dai Mubai hurriedly looks behind him and warns Fatty to shut up before he ruins his reputation. Tang San cuts through the banter and asks the real problem. With no girlfriend now, how is Ma Hongjun supposed to survive and keep cultivating? Ma Hongjun shrugs that staying alive comes first, so he plans to ask the dean for a solution. With that mess settled for now, Xiao Wu announces she is starving, and Dai Mubai leads everyone back inside the academy for breakfast. The so-called dining hall turns out to be just a plain village meal house, but at least the simple breakfast is filling. Inside, Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing are already there, and both quietly acknowledge Tang San and Xiao Wu after yesterday's teamwork. Ma Hongjun immediately starts staring at the two girls, and Dai Mubai elbows him to control himself before his evil fire makes him look even worse. Fatty grumbles that as boss, Dai Mubai should at least leave his younger brothers a little chance, which makes Dai Mubai smack him again and nervously peek at Zhu Zhuqing. Xiao Wu sits beside Ning Rongrong and starts whispering with her, and one look at Rongrong's baffled face tells Ma Hongjun they are absolutely talking about him. Sure enough, Ma Hongjun collapses into his seat in despair and takes it out on the breakfast instead. Over breakfast, Dai Mubai properly introduces Ma Hongjun, notes that Oscar is still sleeping in, and reminds the new students that Shrek has only 7 students in all. The moment Dai Mubai says the word Phoenix, Zhu Zhuqing finally looks up, but her colder glance lands on him instead of on Fatty. Fatty hears that one of the new students made Zhao Wuji suffer yesterday, and Dai Mubai tells him he already fought that same person this morning, Tang San. Ma Hongjun flatly refuses to believe Tang San could make a level 76 spirit sage take a loss. Tang San does not bother proving anything and simply says it was luck. Dai Mubai keeps the introductions moving, gives everyone casual names to use, and warns them that from now on they will live and train together. Ning Rongrong immediately shortens the distance by smiling and telling everyone to just call her Rongrong. When Dai Mubai turns to Zhu Zhuqing, she shuts the moment down by standing up, saying she is finished, and walking out. Even Ma Hongjun can see Dai Mubai's charm is failing badly here, but Dai Mubai only gives a bitter laugh instead of explaining. Tang San brings the talk back to business and asks Dai Mubai to explain Shrek's rules and classes. Dai Mubai says Shrek's rules are brutally simple: do not rape or pillage, but fighting and even gambling are encouraged. He explains that fights sharpen spirit control, gambling sharpens judgment, and as long as no one dies and no one loses everything, the academy is fine with it. For today's schedule, Dai Mubai says the most important class is the painful one, handing over 100 gold coins in tuition. That price makes Xiao Wu ask the obvious question: with teachers as strong as Zhao Wuji, how can Shrek still be this poor if high-level spirit masters are supposed to get big stipends? Dai Mubai corrects her: spirit hall subsidies stop once a spirit master goes past rank 40, so high-level teachers are not getting endless free money. Tang San is surprised, and Dai Mubai explains the empire cannot possibly afford massive monthly payouts to every high-level spirit master. So after rank 40, spirit masters are expected to trade their strength for income by serving the empire, joining the army, or attaching themselves to powerful clans. Dai Mubai says Shrek's teachers refuse that path because they prize freedom, despise restrictions, and even look down on imperial nobility. Xiao Wu still asks why they do not at least accept noble titles, and Ning Rongrong answers that noble rank means swearing yourself to the empire and marching to war when ordered. Before that talk can go further, the dean's assembly bell rings outside and instantly changes the mood. Dai Mubai jumps up, tells Fatty to bring the others to the big grounds, and rushes off to fetch Zhu Zhuqing himself. Even Ma Hongjun notices this is new for Dai Mubai, because he has never seen him care this much about any girl before. Ning Rongrong laughs at Fatty for talking like some seasoned adult, and he puffs up proudly that he has had women already. Then Ma Hongjun's confidence vanishes just as fast when he warns everyone not to be late, because he clearly knows how nasty the dean can be. At the big grounds, Tang San almost fails to recognize Oscar, because the beard is gone and the scruffy sausage seller suddenly looks ridiculously handsome. Tang San points at Oscar's face in disbelief, and Oscar proudly admits he shaved because new pretty girls have arrived. Oscar goes further and casually announces that Dai Mubai clearly wants Zhu Zhuqing. Xiao Wu belongs with Tang San, and his own target is Ning Rongrong. Tang San can only ask Oscar how old he even is, and Oscar answers without shame that he is 14. That is enough to make Tang San silently conclude that Shrek's students really are monsters in every possible way. A moment later, Dai Mubai returns with Zhu Zhuqing, but she keeps her distance from him and his face darkens immediately. Oscar immediately enjoys Dai Mubai's misfortune, but the mood shifts again when a sturdy middle-aged man in square crystal glasses walks onto the grounds. Tang San and Xiao Wu both freeze, because the dean turning up now is the exact profiteering shopkeeper they met 2 days ago. Oscar introduces him properly as Four-Eyed Owl Flender, the founder of Shrek and a level 78 spirit sage who is even fiercer than Zhao Wuji. Xiao Wu quietly relaxes after hearing Flender is only a spirit sage, then asks Oscar if Shrek has any spirit dolua at all. Oscar says she is dreaming, because spirit dolua are rare across the whole continent and tidal dolua are rarer still. Tang San notices Xiao Wu's odd relief and asks what is wrong, but she brushes it off and only worries whether Flender still remembers they offended him. Tang San hopes the dean will not care over such a small grudge, but Oscar quietly warns them that Flender is famous for remembering insults. As if to prove it, Flender's gaze swings over and stops on Oscar, and Oscar instantly realizes the dean may have heard every word. Flender stops before all 7 students and bluntly welcomes the 4 new monsters to Shrek Academy. His first order is practical and merciless. Each new student must hand 100 gold coins to Teacher Lee in charge of academy finances. Then Flender puts Dai Mubai in charge of explaining the academy later and orders everyone else to rest up for the evening's first class. Oscar and Ning Rongrong are singled out to stay with the dean, and Oscar's crushed face says he already knows this will hurt. Flender gives one last warning that Shrek's curriculum is unlike anywhere else and can even put students in mortal danger. Zhu Zhuqing leaves first without hesitation. Dai Mubai finally does not chase after her, and Ma Hongjun disappears almost as fast. Tang San stays put to see how the dean teaches, and Xiao Wu naturally remains at his side. Flender ignores the bystanders and tells Oscar and Ning Rongrong that Shrek does not teach spirit cultivation itself so much as how to use your spirit well in real combat. Those words strike Tang San as familiar, because they echo the same practical ideas Grandmaster once taught him. Flender reminds the two support-type students that without companions protecting them, they will struggle to survive on any battlefield. When Flender asks how a support spirit master avoids danger, Oscar answers perfectly: stay behind allies, use terrain, and keep away from the most dangerous area. Flender approves but adds the harshest rule of all: a support spirit master must also know how to run, because one extra step can be the difference between life and death. Oscar silently despairs even before the order arrives, because he already knows today's class is going to be pure running. Sure enough, Flender orders Oscar and Ning Rongrong to run 20 laps around the entire village before lunch, with spirit assistance allowed and no lunch if they fail. Ning Rongrong answers at once and runs off without complaint, leaving Oscar no choice but to chase after her with hidden bitterness. Oscar knows how brutal the assignment really is, because each lap circles the whole village and its fields for more than 3 kilometers. As Oscar and Ning Rongrong disappear down the road, Flender abruptly points at Tang San and tells him to come alone. Tang San signals Xiao Wu not to follow and goes with the dean into the academy alone. Flender leads him into an office that is as bare and poor as the rest of Shrek, then sits behind his plain desk and asks the question that matters: is Grandmaster well? Tang San confirms that Grandmaster is fine, and Flender is visibly startled to learn Tang San is actually Grandmaster's student. Flender says that explains everything, because Tang San's age and the 24 Moonlit Bridges belt had already made him suspect Grandmaster sent him to Shrek. Tang San hands over the letter Grandmaster told him to deliver after he passed Shrek's entrance exam. Flender's hands tremble as he opens the letter, already showing that whatever ties him to Grandmaster run much deeper than a normal old friendship. As he reads, Flender's face keeps changing between joy, anger, and pain until he mutters at the absent Grandmaster like an old wound has reopened. Then Flender snaps his head up and tells Tang San that if he is Grandmaster's proof, he absolutely cannot let his teacher down. The meeting ends just as sharply, with Flender sending Tang San off to prepare for an evening class that will not be easy. Tang San leaves with Grandmaster's errand finished and decides he would rather use the spare time to train and cover the weaknesses Zhao Wuji exposed yesterday. Meanwhile, on the village route, Ning Rongrong finally admits the pace is wrong because they have been running for ages and still have not even finished one lap. Oscar grimly confirms that this assignment is basically impossible to finish normally before noon. Then Oscar brightens with a shameless idea: as two support spirit masters, they do not actually have to fear hunger if they use his spirit sausage to keep going. Oscar proudly summons a fresh sausage into his hand and offers it to her, boasting that his first spirit ring restores both injuries and stamina. Ning Rongrong stares at him for a beat, and then the elegant little heiress suddenly answers with a line so wild it leaves Oscar completely stunned. Instead of taking his teasing, she snaps back with equally shameless words and releases her 7 treasures glazed tile pagoda to boost their speed on the spot. Oscar is left speechless, and for the first time her polished sweet image cracks enough to reveal Ning Rongrong's true, unruly side. Far away at the 7 Treasures glazed tile school, the story cuts to a grand official hall where a white-robed sect master sits on a carved rosewood chair backed by a slab of warm green jade. A young subordinate in white kneels before Ning Fingji and reports that young Miss Ning Rongrong has already reached Shrek and passed the entrance exam. The sect master gives a helpless father's response, saying that letting that little troublemaker temper herself is for the best before she turns the whole school upside down. Then he asks the next important question about Shrek Academy itself, ending the excerpt on his calm but watchful interest. Far from Shrek, a subordinate reports to Ning Fingji that he could not enter the academy because powerful spirit masters were guarding it, but Grandmaster's letter was delivered to the dean. Ning Fingji smiles at the news and decides to leave Ning Rongrong at Shrek a little longer, hoping life away from home will finally force his spoiled daughter to grow up. A thunderous voice cuts in from the hall, and Uncle Jian appears beside Ning Fingji in a blur, furious that Rongrong was allowed to go off alone. Ning Fingji answers helplessly that Rongrong became impossible to discipline because Uncle Jian and Uncle Long spoiled her too much, so sending her away is the only way to correct her. Uncle Jian protests that they are not overindulging Rongrong at all and snaps that Ning Fingji only sees her noisy side, not the adorable daughter everyone else cherishes. Ning Fingji refuses to budge and reminds him that Flender once stood among the golden iron triangle, so Rongrong's 7 treasures spirit will be recognized and protected at Shrek. Still fuming, Uncle Jian storms off to find Uncle Long for a spar, leaving behind the clear message that if Rongrong gets hurt, Ning Fingji will answer for it. That night at Shrek's assembly ground, Flender lines up all 7 students and immediately focuses on Oscar and Ning Rongrong, who are supposed to finish 20 laps. When Flender asks if both of them finished, Oscar lies for Ning Rongrong and claims they did. Flender catches the lie at once, praises Oscar's so-called camaraderie with a sinister smile, and orders him to run another 20 laps with his spirit power sealed. Oscar accepts the punishment without another word and runs off alone, making Tang San and Xiao Wu even more confused by Flender's severity. Flender explains that Oscar's real fault was lying, because no excuse matters if a student starts bending the truth. Then he turns on Ning Rongrong and calmly lists everything she actually did instead of training. She slipped into Suatua City, ate a full meal, wandered the shopping streets, and only came back in time to hide behind Oscar. Ning Rongrong snaps back that he spied on her, but Flender coldly says a student who ignores orders, leaves campus, and drags others into a cover-up would face death under wartime discipline. That finally strips away Ning Rongrong's sweet mask, and she answers with open contempt that this is only an academy, not a battlefield. Flender gives her a blunt choice: leave Shrek right now, or stay and prove she can obey the rules from now on. Instead of backing down, Ning Rongrong mocks him as just a mere spirit sage, shocking everyone else with how arrogant she really is. Flender stays calm and tells her the gap between them is still enormous, so Shrek has no place for a student who cannot behave herself. Ning Rongrong threatens him instead, warning that the consequences of controlling her will be more than he can bear. Flender refuses to be intimidated, calls Daimmubai over, and orders him to fetch Rongrong's luggage and throw her out by force if necessary. When Rongrong explodes that no one has ever dared treat her this way, Flender cuts deeper and says that in his eyes every other student here is stronger than she is. Rongrong argues that as an auxiliary spirit master she is still more valuable on the battlefield than the fighters, because her support can raise the whole team's power. Flender crushes that claim too, saying the others at least have a real chance to survive battle, while her pride and lack of discipline would make her nothing but cannon fodder. He says the real problem is her heart. She is impatient, self-important, and too arrogant to build the kind of trust an auxiliary spirit master needs from her teammates. To prove it, Flender starts comparing her to the others, beginning with Daimubai's rare white tiger spirit and his astonishing progress to Spirit Elder at only 13. Then he points to Tang San and Xiao Wu, both only 12 yet already ranked 29, and reminds Rongrong that Tang San even held his own against Zhao Wuji. Flender adds that Ma Hongjuan's mutant beast spirit is extraordinary even with its flaw, and that he worked hard enough to keep his spirit power level from falling behind her. When Flender questions Zhu Zhuqing, she answers without hesitation that she came to Shrek to become stronger, and will do any class that helps her grow. Flender tells Rongrong flatly that compared to everyone standing here, she is the weakest in spirit and resolve, so she has no right to act proud. Desperate to find one person she can still stand above, Rongrong claims she must at least be better than Oscar, just a food system support spirit master. Flender shatters that last comfort by revealing Oscar is a once-in-history food system spirit master with innate full spirit power. Rongrong is stunned because even her own near-perfect awakening never reached that level, and auxiliary spirits were never supposed to do it at all. Flender drives the point home by saying Oscar's future may even threaten the 7 treasure glazed tile schools standing among support spirit masters. With every source of pride smashed in front of the whole class, Ning Rongrong finally breaks down sobbing and runs back toward the dorms. Flender privately congratulates himself for handling the sect princess, confident that her nature is not bad and she will think things through. When Daimmubai asks if he should still throw her out, Flender says no and orders him to call Oscar back and send him to comfort her instead. Daimmubai heads off obeying the order, and even he cannot help admiring how boldly Flender just faced the 7 treasure glazed tile school's little princess. Xiao Wu quietly sticks out her tongue, realizing that behind yesterday's friendly face, Ning Rongrong was actually even bouger than she was. With that lesson over, Flender warns the remaining students that at Shrek his word is law, and anyone who cannot keep up will suffer badly before they ever get stronger. Daimmubai soon returns with the message handled, and Flender immediately starts their first night class by telling everyone to keep up with him. Flender leads them out at high speed, and the running order quickly reveals everyone's strengths. Daimmubai first, Zhu Zhuqing right behind him, Tang San and Xiao Wu together, and Ma Hongjun trailing only a little. As they run in silence, Tang San realizes Flender is taking them straight toward Soatua City. They pass through the open south gate and enter a night city that feels more awake than daytime, packed with lights, stalls, and noisy crowds. Xiao Wu lights up at every new sight and nearly gets distracted by the bustling street, forcing Tang San to keep pulling her along. Zhu Zhuqing stays completely focused on Flender, while Daimmubai also keeps his composure, but Ma Hongjuan's attention drifts shamelessly toward every attractive woman on the street. Flender suddenly stops at a roadside tea shop and tells the class to sit, buying everyone the cheapest tea while they wait. Xiao Wu wrinkles her nose at the bad tea and asks if this shabby shop is their classroom, and Flender points outside instead. Following his finger, the students finally notice the enormous dark building nearby, towering over the district with lights glimmering from within. Daimubai's face changes at once, because he knows exactly what that place is and what Flender is about to make the newcomers do. Flender says Shrek's students are monsters, so they cannot train like ordinary people, and the Academy's real job is to push their spirits through practical combat. He explains that battle experience is the most important lesson of all, because fighters of equal rank are separated by how well they adapt in real combat. Then he reveals the point of tonight's trip. Their first class is fighting, and the giant building outside is their classroom. Because Tang San, Xiao Wu, and Zhu Zhuqing still do not understand, Flender introduces the place as Soatua Great Spirit Arena, one of the massive battle halls that only major cities can support. Tang San frowns at the idea and asks why noble spirit masters should fight in public like performers for a crowd. Flender says Tang San is thinking too simply, because great spirit arenas are an independent power built by 7 major spirit clans, standing apart from both empires and Spirit Hall. He adds that the arena is rich, famous, and unusually fair, to the point that even killing a great clan's disciple there would not automatically bring outside revenge. More importantly, Flender says a spirit master's true strength is measured less by rank than by the fighting title they earn in the arena. He lays out the badge system from Iron up to Diamond, where each fight adds or subtracts points, and announces the students' graduation goal. Every one of them must earn at least a silver fighting spirit badge. To show that the goal is not easy at all, Flender makes Dai Mubai explain his own record after more than a year here, 56 matches for only a 2-point standing. Dai Mubai explains the harsh point rules for moving from iron to copper and then to silver, where wins help but losses drag you backward just as hard. Tang San is startled that someone as strong as Dai Mubai could have nearly as many losses as wins, and Dai Mubai admits rank jumps make the arena far rougher than it sounds. Dai Mubai explains that after he reached rank 30, he was suddenly thrown against opponents near rank 38 or 39 and got crushed through 10 straight losses. Ma Hongjun then quietly reveals that his record is actually better than Dai Mubai's, which says a lot about how difficult these matches really are. When Flender decides the time has come, he leaves a tip on the table and leads the class out toward the arena. As they walk closer, Soato, a great spirit arena, grows even more overwhelming, and Tang San and Xiao Wu finally grasp just how huge this place really is. On the way to Soato, a great spirit arena, Flender gives the new students a blunt lesson. This place is not just for practice, but for settling grudges, gambling, and showing off real power. Flender also explains the match formats, from 1-on-1 and 2-on-2 all the way to team battles, with the bigger matches tightly regulated. Inside the arena, the first thing they see is a giant stone stele covered in names, and Flender tells them those are the people who died in spirit fights. Registration turns out to be simple but expensive, and Tang San, Xiao Wu, and Zhu Zhuqin each pay 10 gold coins to receive their first iron fighting spirit badges. What stands out to Tang San is how calm and professional the staff are, because nobody laughs at their age and the whole place runs with smooth discipline. After registration, Flender leads them to the contest section, gives Dai Mubai a few quick instructions, and then disappears into the arena on his own. Dai Mubai fills in the rest. Only strong or high-ranking fighters get into the Lord Arena, while beginners like them start in the smaller rings where a win earns 10 gold. Their fight assignments come fast, and all 5 Shrek students end up in Spirit Arena 14, with Dai Mubai facing a Spirit Elder while the others draw Spirit Grandmaster opponents. Tang San takes in the arena's sheer scale, with each Spirit Arena split into separate rings for contests and life-or-death fights, all running with practiced precision. In the fighters' waiting hall, the youth draws plenty of stares, but the other Spirit Master stays serious and focused on conserving strength. Xiao Wu quietly pitches a smart idea to Tang San. Since they can enter different categories in one day, they should also sign up for 2-on-2 and earn points faster. Tang San agrees at once, because more fights mean more real combat experience. Dai Mubai has no problem with their plan, but the moment he looks to Zhu Zhuqin, it is obvious they cannot form a team because their spirit ranks do not match. At Dai Mubai's suggestion, Tang San takes Xiao Wu to the 2-on-2 registration area, while the 1-on-1 matches are still waiting to start. The 2-on-2 clerk asks for their combination name, and Tang San casually picks Sanwu by combining their names. The clerk engraves it wrong as 3-5 combination, and Xiao Wu instantly bristles when she sees her name turned into the word 5. The clerk coldly tells them a name change would mean re-registering from scratch and wiping all future results, so Tang San calmly talks Xiao Wu down. Before Xiao Wu can keep fighting about it, Dai Mubai calls them back because her 1-on-1 match is starting right now. Tang San tells Xiao Wu to leave the name alone, and she fires one last face at the clerk before running for the ring. Tang San and the others choose to watch from the competitor area, right beside the ring at Spirit Arena 14. The announcer introduces the first 1-on-1 match, newcomer Xiao Wu against Qing Bao, a Jade Rabbit Spirit Grandmaster facing an Iron Horn Bullfighter with 2 straight wins. Qing Bao stomps onto the stage first, a huge bare-chested powerhouse built like a wall, and Ma Hongjun quietly wonders if Xiao Wu can handle him. Tang San stays calm and explains that Xiao Wu only fears overwhelming raw strength, and at equal rank a physical fighter like this is walking into her specialty. Then Xiao Wu hops onto the stage in bright white and pink, looking so young that even the crowd starts doubting the announcer. Qing Bao is thrown off by her age and tries to tell her to go home before she gets hurt. Xiao Wu's patience evaporates, and she snaps at him to stop talking and use his spirit. When Qing Bao still hesitates, Xiao Wu lunges first and whips a kick straight toward his neck. Qing Bao assumes he can just tank it, and that single mistake ends the fight before he even uses his spirit. Xiao Wu's 2 yellow rings flare out, and Tang San watches from below with complete certainty that it is already over. Her waist bow activates, and with a clean flip she hurls the giant fighter high into the air. She lands, springs up again, traps his waist with her legs, and slams him off the ring in one graceful brutal chain. The whole ring falls silent because the fight ended so fast that nobody, Not even the announcer was ready for it. Qing Bao climbs back up, admits he lost fair and square, and honestly calls her Xiao Wu Jia when she demands the title. That fearless little performance wins the crowd over in an instant, and the arena finally erupts in cheers for Xiao Wu. The announcer declares Xiao Wu's first victory, and the arena mood noticeably lifts after such a flashy upset. The next match shocks the group for a different reason, because Tang San and Zhu Zhuqing are suddenly called up against each other. Zhu Zhuqing goes straight for the fighter passage without a word, and Dai Mubai awkwardly grabs Tang San to ask him to go a little easy. Tang San just nods and steps onto the stage, ready to fight seriously but cleanly. Before they begin, Tang San politely offers the first move, but Zhu Zhuqing asks him to go all out because she wants to see the real gap between them. Both release their spirits immediately, with Zhu Zhuqing taking on her sharp cat-like battle form while Tang San spreads blue-silver grass across half the stage. Tang San already knows the matchup favors him, because a control-type fighter naturally traps a frontal agility attacker on a ring this small. Knowing she cannot wait, Zhu Zhuqing bursts forward in a blur and charges straight through his grass field. The moment she enters his range, Tang San's grass rises like a cage and locks the battlefield down around them. Zhu Zhuqing fires off Hell Rush Stab and doubles her speed, but Tang San reads it cleanly with Purple Demon Eye and Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track. Her first strike misses by a hair, and that tiny opening is all Tang San needs. Tang San's binding snaps shut before Zhu Zhuqing can chain into a second move, wrapping her in blue-silver grass and stopping the fight almost instantly. Tang San explains the result plainly. As an agility attacker, she lacked the force to break his control spirit head-on. Zhu Zhuqing accepts it with 2 cold words, then leaves the ring even faster than she entered. After registering their one-on-one points, Tang San and Xiao Wu skip the stands and head back to wait for their 2-on-2 match instead. By the time their turn comes, the longer 2-on-2 matches have given both of them enough time to recover to full condition. When they enter the larger 2-on-2 ring, Tang San notices the crowd is fuller and their opponents are already waiting on stage. The announcer calls it Iron Blood combination versus 3-5 combination, and Xiao Wu immediately grumbles about having to deal with more strength fighters. The Iron Blood pair are 2 older teen brothers with nearly identical faces and heavy fighter builds, and they are just as startled as everyone else to see children across from them. Unlike Qing Bao, the brothers recover at once and retreat into a coordinated stance instead of underestimating their small opponents. Gray light bursts from their hands and reveals their martial spirits, oversized iron hammers, making this pair tool spirit fighters instead of pure body brawlers. Tang San instantly realizes that changes everything, because hammer users with real combat experience are a very different problem from simple strength types. The brothers introduce themselves as Tai Long and Tai Hu, then charge in together with thunderous synchronized steps. Tang San and Xiao Wu answer with familiar teamwork, as Xiao Wu springs onto his shoulder and prepares to dive the moment the brothers expose an opening. Tang San floods the ring with blue-silver grass, trying to seize control before the Hammer brothers can break their rhythm. But Tai Long and Tai Hu swing their hammers into a defensive screen, and their first spirit skill shakes the grass apart before it can bind them. Tang San recognizes a hammer rhythm not unlike his own training, but theirs is faster and backed by a strange trembling force that keeps his control spirit out. With the brothers about to crash into them, Tang San suddenly launches Xiao Wu upward and dives into the tiny gap in their formation himself. Using controlling crane catching dragon, he redirects both hammers just enough to slip through without taking the full blow. The opening is brief, but it is enough for more blue-silver grass and hidden seeds to slip inside their defense. Even after turning back fast enough to bat away the outer vines again, the brothers have already let Tang San's real setup get onto their bodies. Xiao Wu settles back onto Tang San's shoulder in their old balanced pose and laughs that he can finish this now, because she knows his hidden seeds are already in place. Tang San's second spirit ring lights up, and Parasite suddenly sprouts from the hidden seeds on the brothers' bodies, freezing them at the worst possible moment. Now that paralysis has cracked their defense, the outer blue-silver grass surges in to finish the bind. But the Tai brothers still react like veterans, roaring together and forcing out one last move before the paralysis fully locks them down. Their second spirit rings flare, and they hurl both giant iron hammers straight at Tang San and Xiao Wu with a terrifying all-in throw. Tang San instantly realizes how bad it is, throws Xiao Wu up out of the line of fire, and dodges sideways himself as the doubled hammers tear toward them. Tang San thinks he has the edge in spirit power, but the Tai brothers' final twin hammer attack suddenly splits in midair and chases both him and Xiao Wu at once. The Tai brothers are already trapped by blue-silver grass and poison, but they cling to one last hope that this attack can still knock Tang San down and turn the match around. In a split-second decision, Tang San lashes out a smooth vine, catches Xiao Wu by the waist, and slings her hard in the opposite direction to break the hammer's pursuit angle. Saving Xiao Wu leaves Tang San no time to dodge, and the other iron hammer is already on top of him. Tang San unleashes Tang's sex skill at full speed, using mysterious jade hand and controlling crane catching dragon to strike the hammer 7 times and barely knock it offline. He avoids a direct hit, but the impact still flings him away, and he coughs blood before he even lands. Seeing Tang San spit blood, Xiao Wu snaps in fury and fires 4 silent sleeve darts straight at the helpless brothers' eyes. The poison brothers realize they cannot dodge at all, and for one frozen instant they think they are about to die. Tang San shouts for Xiao Wu to stop and instantly throws 4 willow leaf knives, knocking every dart away just before they hit. Xiao Wu lands in anger and demands an explanation, still glaring at the men who nearly killed Tang San. Tang San tells her that even enemies should not be killed here, then calmly asks the Tai brothers to admit the result. The Tai brothers gratefully concede, and Tang San releases the blue-silver grass while quietly enduring the burning pain in his body. After the match, Tang San and Xiao Wu rejoin the others and learn the whole group had a strong night, with only Zhu Zhuqing previously losing to Tang San. Tang San asks about Flender, and Dai Mubai says the dean already told them to head back without him. As they leave the arena, Tang San reflects that underestimating Tool spirits nearly cost him the fight, and Grandmaster's warning about caution hits much harder now. Then Ma Hongjun suddenly peels off, saying Flender told him to go to the dean's shop instead of returning with them. Dai Mubai's odd reaction makes it obvious he knows exactly what this is about, and Ma Hongjun cluelessly invites him along. When Ma Hongjun blurts out his crude line about women, Dai Mubai immediately shuts him down and sends him off alone. After Ma Hongjun leaves, Xiao Wu asks what that lewd fatty is going to do, and Dai Mubai bluntly says he needs somewhere to vent his evil fire. Xiao Wu is disgusted, but Dai Mubai explains this is the ugly way Flender keeps Ma Hongjun's dangerous phoenix defect from destroying his body. Zhu Zhuqing suddenly cuts in with a cold verdict that men are all filthy. Xiao Wu jokingly excludes Tang San from that insult, and praises him as nothing like Dai Mubai and Ma Hongjun. Dai Mubai tries to fire back about his own better taste, but the moment the words leave his mouth he realizes he just made himself sound worse. Zhu Zhuqing walks straight up to him, asks whose taste he thinks is better, and leaves him fumbling for an answer. Her disgust finally erupts as she tells the 15-year-old Dai Mubai he makes her sick, then turns and walks off. Dai Mubai's temper finally breaks, and he shouts for Zhu Zhuqing to stop. She ignores him and walks even faster, while white spirit power gathers in his palm before he forces himself not to strike. In the end he swallows the attack and follows her back toward the academy instead, still seething. Left behind for a moment, Xiao Wu quietly asks Tang San what is going on between those two. Tang San admits he cannot figure them out either and decides it is better not to pry into someone else's personal mess. Then Xiao Wu's attention shifts back to Tang San's injury, and she gently touches his stomach with worried red-rimmed eyes. Tang San reassures her with a small smile, saying he will be fine and hurrying them after the others. Back at Shrek's gate, the group is surprised to find Oscar and Ning Rongrong waiting outside under the moonlight. Ning Rongrong looks cheerful again on the surface, but Oscar keeps sneaking uneasy glances at her like he already sees trouble coming. Zhu Zhuqing ignores them completely and heads straight inside, while Dai Mubai watches her with a deepening chill. Dai Mubai turns to Ning Rongrong and bluntly asks whether she has finally decided to stay or leave. Ning Rongrong says she is definitely staying because this place is too interesting, then immediately starts mocking Dai Mubai over Zhu Zhuqing. That is the last straw, and Dai Mubai coldly warns Ning Rongrong that this is not the Seven Treasures glazed tile school and he is not someone who will indulge her. Instead of backing down, Ning Rongrong laughs right in his face and dares him to try it. Dai Mubai finally explodes, and his burst of spirit power blasts Ning Rongrong backward before Oscar can catch her. Tang San immediately steps in front of Ning Rongrong, using his own skill to divert the pressure and stop the fight from getting worse. Even that much strain makes Tang San's injured body churn, and he realizes this is what Dai Mubai's real strength feels like. Dai Mubai reins himself in for Tang San's sake, but he leaves Ning Rongrong with a final warning not to provoke him again. Humiliated and near tears, Ning Rongrong suddenly turns to Tang San and offers money, status, and her sex protection if he will kill Dai Mubai for her. Tang San walks up to her and rejects the offer without hesitation, telling her some things cannot be bought with power or money. He goes even further and tells her plainly that if she keeps treating this academy from above, she should leave. Ning Rongrong tries to throw her sex name around again, but Tang San only answers with pity and walks away with Xiao Wu. That pity hits even harder than Dai Mubai's anger, and for the first time Ning Rongrong wavers and wonders if she might actually be wrong. Then she turns to Oscar and asks if he will help her instead. Oscar admits he was drawn to her at first, but now he sees clearly that she is nothing like the gentle girl he imagined. He refuses to become her servant, says she is not his type after all, and chooses to walk away instead of chasing her. When Ning Rongrong asks if even he will not support her, Oscar gives the cruel answer she needs to hear. With her current attitude, even friendship is impossible. After Oscar leaves, Ning Rongrong is left alone with shame, loneliness, and a growing panic that she may really have driven everyone away herself. That painful night becomes a turning point for her, the one that finally starts breaking the pride she grew up with. The next morning, Tang San wakes before dawn for his usual purple demon eye training and finds that one night's rest has already eased most of his internal injury. He slips onto the rooftop to cultivate, and keeps replaying the Tai brothers' hammer technique in his head. The more he thinks about it, the more he wants to test whether his own hammer can be thrown the same way and combined with his techniques into something even deadlier. He decides to experiment later, but not yet, because forcing that hammer while still injured could make things worse. After some hidden weapon practice, Tang-san reaches breakfast first, and Dai Mubai shows up soon after with a dark mood still hanging over him. Xiao Wu comes in next and relaxes once Tang-san assures her he is fine, then Zhu Zhuqing and Ma Hongjun arrive after them. Oscar and Ning Rongrong are both missing, and Ma Hongjun looks almost refreshed enough to float after whatever happened last night. Dai Mubai quietly confirms Ma Hongjun got his evil fire under control for now, then casually announces he plans to go find those twins again tonight. Ma Hongjun eagerly asks for a share, and Dai Mubai says this kind of fun is better enjoyed together, clearly trying to needle Zhu Zhuqing. Zhu Zhuqing gives him absolutely nothing back, and the cold silence only makes the tension sharper. When the bell rings, everyone heads to the big training ground, where Ning Rongrong is already waiting alone and looking like she did not sleep at all. Flender finally strolls in, notices Oscar's spot is empty, and says today's class cannot begin without him. Tang-san starts to explain that Oscar was cultivating this morning, but Oscar suddenly comes running in with excitement all over his face. Before Flender can punish him, Oscar blurts out the real reason: he just broke through to rank 30. The whole group is stunned, because a 14-year-old food system spirit master reaching rank 30 is an exceptional talent even by elite standards. Flender praises him on the spot, and even Dai Mubai drops his bad mood long enough to clap Oscar on the shoulder and congratulate him. Oscar brushes off Dai Mubai's joke about heartbreak helping a breakthrough, but his eyes still flick toward Ning Rongrong. Once the congratulations settle, Flender reveals the real lesson: everyone except Oscar must eat one of Oscar's sausages today. Xiao Wu blurts out what everyone is thinking, and Flender answers that this is adaptability training and survival matters more than pride. Flender drives the point home by saying that in real life or death situations, spirit masters may have to swallow anything just to stay alive. That final image turns all three girls pale, but Flender shuts down any hope of escape and orders Oscar to begin because this class is compulsory. Flender stands there stone-faced and makes it clear nobody is bluffing their way past today's class. Oscar, secretly thrilled by Flender's cruel lesson, grins and starts making sausages for everyone to eat. He loudly recites his shameless spirit incantations and asks who wants to go first. Before the boys can step in, Ning Rongrong suddenly marches out and grabs both sausages herself. She is clearly disgusted, but after her breakdown the night before, Ning Rongrong is forcing herself to stay and prove she can endure Shrek on her own. Ning Rongrong bites into the first sausage like she wants to kill it, and even Oscar instinctively backs away from her glare. Once both sausages are down, she realizes the flavor is actually good and the recovery effect works shockingly fast. As someone raised in the Seven Treasures glazed tile school, she can tell Oscar's food spirit is unusually gifted for its level. When Oscar awkwardly asks if she was hungry, Ning Rongrong smiles sweetly and says his sausage tasted pretty good, which only makes him more afraid of her. She turns back toward Flender and the others, using that one act to show she really did choose to remain at Shrek. After that, Dai Mubai and Ma Hongjun grit through the same task and get it over with. Tang-san steps up next, telling himself that if Ning Rongrong could do it, he has no excuse. The moment Tang-san swallows them, the warmth spreads through him and even the ache in his injured inside starts easing. That instant result makes Tang-san look at Oscar with fresh respect. Now only Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing are left, and Xiao Wu shoots Tang-san a pleading look that plainly says she wants out. Tang-san reassures her that it just tastes like street food, so Xiao Wu squeezes her eyes shut and forces both sausages down. She nearly gags through it, but the bad feeling fades once the sausage turns into warm spirit energy inside her. That leaves Zhu Zhuqing alone under everyone's eyes, and she still cannot make herself step forward. Flender suddenly tells Zhu Zhuqing that if she really wants to defeat Dai Mubai and trample him underfoot one day, she cannot hesitate now. That one sentence hits home, and Zhu Zhuqing's eyes harden at once. She storms up to Oscar, grabs the sausages, and swallows them even faster than Xiao Wu did. Dai Mubai asks with a wounded look if she really wants to beat him that badly, and Zhu Zhuqing answers only with a fierce silent glare. Satisfied that they all passed, Flender reminds them that Oscar is their battlefield supply line, not a joke to be embarrassed about. Flender then gives the real news. At dawn they leave for Stardew Great Forest, where Zhao Wuji will help Oscar hunt his third spirit ring without shielding them from every danger. As the class breaks, Tang-san reflects that Shrek teaches through strange, practical pressure instead of neat school rules, and the results are hard to argue with. Back at the dorm, Oscar can hardly contain himself, and asks Tang-san what kind of third spirit ring would suit his sausage support best. Tang-san tells him it depends on luck with the spirit beast, but either a new support effect or stronger recovery and detoxification could work. Tang-san asks what Stardew Great Forest is like, and Oscar's face turns respectful because he knows just how dangerous that place is. Oscar explains that Stardew is one of the continent's great spirit beast habitats, a vast primeval forest stretching across 2 empires with swamps, wetlands, and monsters that grow stronger toward the center. He even says legends place 100,000-year spirit beasts there, and that his own second ring came from that forest. The scale of it only excites Tang-san more, and Oscar jokes that if the hunt goes well, everyone will get all the sausage they can eat. Early the next morning, After breakfast, the students gather and freeze when they see Zhao Wuji's face covered in dark bruises and one eye swollen like a panda's. Zhao Wuji barks at the little brat staring at him, and Xiao Wu mutters back that little blind bear would fit better. Tang San quickly shields Xiao Wu behind him, and Zhao Wuji awkwardly lets it pass instead of pressing the issue. With Zhao Wuji ordering them out, Dai Mubai immediately takes charge of the student formation for the forest run. He puts Tang San in front, Oscar and Ning Rongrong in the protected center, Ma Hongjun and Xiao Wu on the flanks, and keeps himself with Zhu Zhuqin guarding the rear. As they leave Shrek at a run, Tang San privately admires how solid Dai Mubai's battle-minded arrangement is. Not long into the journey, everyone realizes yesterday's disgusting lesson was practical after all, because Oscar's sausages keep their strength from draining away. Even Ning Rongrong can barely keep pace, and the whole team starts respecting Oscar's support on a completely different level. Because Oscar now matters to everyone's survival, Dai Mubai and Tang San even take turns supporting his arms so he can save energy and keep feeding the team. Ning Rongrong, though, stays withdrawn and never uses her 7 treasures glazed tile pagoda, leaving herself quietly outside the group. By nightfall they have covered more than 400 kilometers, so Zhao Wuji orders a stop at a small town instead of pushing into uncertain country after dark. Tang San is surprised to find the little town bustling, almost like a market center built around spirit master traffic. As he looks closer, he sees shops selling weapons, armor, medicine, and travel gear clearly meant for people heading into dangerous spirit beast territory. Oscar explains the whole town lives off Stardew Great Forest, and Tang San realizes travel teaches things books never could. Zhao Wuji picks a plane in for the night, and bluntly reminds them they are paying for their own rooms and food. They split the rooms between the boys and girls, while Zhao Wuji takes a single room and heads upstairs alone. After living on Oscar's sausages all day, the 7 drop into a corner table and agree they need real food first. When Tang San asks if they should invite Zhao Wuji down, Dai Mubai says no, because their teachers would never accept students paying for them. Ma Hongjun says that plain, unsentimental style is exactly what he likes about Shrek, and Dai Mubai tells him to shut up and order. When Ma Hongjun slyly checks whether Dai Mubai is paying, Dai Mubai agrees and turns the meal into a welcome dinner for Tang San's group. Given permission, Ma Hongjun goes wild and orders more than 10 dishes with the joy of a man who has finally escaped a day of sausage. The table still is not exactly harmonious, with Zhu Zhuqin cold and Ning Rongrong sunk in thought, but Ma Hongjun's antics keep things from going stiff. Then another academy group enters the inn, a middle-aged teacher leading 7 older students in matching moon-white blue sunshine uniforms. Their polished uniforms and the innkeeper's eager greeting make the contrast obvious. Blue Sunshine shows off its academy status, while Shrek sits in plain clothes. Ma Hongjun immediately fixates on the Blue Sunshine girl, while Dai Mubai dismisses the whole academy as minor show-offs. The Blue Sunshine teacher clearly hears Dai Mubai's insult, and his face darkens when he realizes it came from a table of younger kids. Oscar quietly tells Tang San this is part of Shrek's training too, because Flender says a spirit master who dares not cause trouble is no good spirit master. Tang San can barely hold back a smile at Shrek's absurd logic, but then he notices one Blue Sunshine student getting up and coming their way. After a quiet instruction from his teacher, one Blue Sunshine student rises and heads straight toward Dai Mubai's table, while Dai Mubai stays seated and contemptuous. The setup is obvious, and Dai Mubai answers it with pure contempt by not even bothering to face the guy. Just as the first dish arrives, the Blue Sunshine student deliberately crashes into the waiter to dump it onto Dai Mubai. Tang San calmly catches the whole falling plate and steadies the waiter so not a drop is wasted. The Blue Sunshine student pretends it was an accident, then secretly tries to break Dai Mubai's chair with a kick as he passes. Instead of a weak chair leg, his foot hits Dai Mubai like iron, and he instantly realizes he picked the wrong target. Dai Mubai finally moves, and one palm strike blasts the student backward like a rag doll. A Blue Sunshine teacher catches the flying student, but the boy still spits blood and collapses limp from Dai Mubai's palm. Dai Mubai stands there stretching his waist and throws back the same fake apology with open contempt. The dining hall jolts into chaos as nearby diners scramble away, but plenty still linger to watch a free spirit master fight. The Blue Sunshine side surges up in anger, but their teacher stops them and demands to know what academy Dai Mubai's group belongs to. Dai Mubai does not give him that respect either and flatly says the man is not worthy of asking. Ma Hongjun keeps eating through the tension and casually rates the food, making the insult even worse. That final bit of disrespect pushes the Blue Sunshine teacher over the edge, and he orders his students to attack. 5 Blue Sunshine students charge in, and Xiao Wu pops up first with zero hesitation, thrilled that this is finally turning into a fight. The moment Xiao Wu moves, Tang San rises with purple light already touching his eyes, ready to back her up as the brawl begins. Inside the inn, Xiao Wu steps out alone with a sweet harmless smile, and the 5 angry Blue Sunshine students hesitate the moment they see a pretty little girl blocking them. Oscar nervously tells Tang San to help, but Tang San stays calm because his purple demon eye has already judged the other students as weaker than Xiao Wu. Tang San quietly explains that Xiao Wu only looks soft, and these Blue Sunshine students are the ones about to have bad luck. Xiao Wu cheerfully greets the boys like nothing is wrong, and their anger slips into awkward confusion. Then Xiao Wu suddenly stumbles forward on purpose, baiting one student into reaching out to catch her. Her scorpion braid snaps around his neck, and she flips him clean over before the others even understand what happened. Without pausing, Xiao Wu lands on a second student, slips past his raised arms, and uses another soft skill throw to send him crashing too. The Blue Sunshine teacher finally snaps and shouts for his students to stop being idiots and use their spirits. Oscar is left staring in shock, muttering that Xiao Wu is way fiercer than she looks. Daimubai steps in and tells Xiao Wu to fall back, making it clear the boys of Shrek will take the next round. Tang San nods, Xiao Wu calmly returns, and Tang San and Ma Hongjun move up beside Daimubai to face the 5 students head-on. Humiliated but still unhurt, the 5 Blue Sunshine students finally release their spirits and show off matching two ring setups. Daimubai takes one look at their weak rings and mocks them before telling Tang San and Fatty to show what real spirit rings look like. Daimubai releases the Evil Eye White Tiger, and his White Tiger body enhancement and 3-ring pressure instantly crush the room's mood. The Blue Sunshine Beast Spirit students instinctively recoil, because a tiger with a 1,000-year 3rd ring is far beyond what they expected from a teenager. Ma Hongjun follows with his Evil Fire Phoenix form, spreading red-purple heat that makes the pressure even worse. Tang San calmly adds his own 2 yellow rings and blue silver grass, turning Shrek's side into a formation the Blue Sunshine students no longer dare to test. Seeing the gap in talent, the Blue Sunshine teacher finally orders his students to fall back before they humiliate themselves even more. He introduces himself as Yijichio of Blue Sunshine Academy and asks what school could possibly produce monsters like these. Ma Hongjun proudly answers Shrek Academy, and Daimubai immediately sneers that Yijichio is too ignorant to have heard of it. Yijichio realizes the students in front of him are absurdly gifted, but with a room full of witnesses, he also knows Blue Sunshine will lose face if he backs down now. So Yijichio decides to earn that face back himself, and releases his Black Tortoise spirit as a full spirit king. The moment his 5-ring pressure slams over them, Daimubai and Tang San silently understand they may need hidden weapons to have any chance at all. Yijichio tries to reassert control by telling these unruly children to call out a teacher instead of running their mouths. Ma Hongjun ruins any chance of peace by yelling a turtlehead insult straight at the one word Yijichio hates most. The frightened innkeeper rushes out to beg them not to wreck his small business in a spirit master fight. Smiling from pure anger, Yijichio says he will educate them outside instead, and both sides move the clash into the street. Outside, Daimubai warns Tang San that Yijichio is above level 50 and hard to break, so their side will need to fight smart, not head-on. Tang San quickly reads Black Tortoise as a defense-heavy spirit and starts building a plan around the teacher's weak offense and slow style. His first idea is a speed team of Tang San, Daimubai, and Zhu Zhuqing wearing Yijichio down while dodging everything they can. But Tang San prefers a second plan, using Ma Hongjuan's Phoenix Fire to restrain the Black Tortoise while the whole team rotates and Oscar keeps them supplied. The others are fired up by the plan, but Ning Rongrong suddenly realizes Tang San left her out entirely. When she asks what about her, Tang San gives a careful answer and only tells her to act as the situation demands. That vague answer stings, and Ning Rongrong can feel she has already been pushed to the edge of Shrek's circle. As they head out, Oscar quietly tells Ning Rongrong that if she wants everyone to accept her, she has to prove with actions that she belongs to Shrek. Ning Rongrong's eyes redden, and she nods because Oscar just said exactly what she needed to hear. Back in the street, a crowd has gathered around Yijichio's 5-ring display, and he offers Shrek one last chance to admit fault. Daimubai just grins and says the only thing that counts is whose fist is bigger. Yijichio finally loses patience and declares that he will teach all of them manners himself. Ma Hongjun fires back with Shrek's answer. They are not ordinary people, they are monsters. Before Yijichio can strike, Daimubai opens the fight by firing White Tiger Fierce Light Waves straight into the teacher's shellback form. At the same instant, Zhu Zhuqing cuts in from one flank, Tang San rushes the other with Blue Silver Grass, and Ma Hongjun fires Phoenix Fire Wire from the rear. Yijichio answers by using 2 spirit abilities at once, turning his shell into a fortress and flooding the area with freezing black water. Daimubai's blast hits first, and does almost nothing, proving just how tough the Black Tortoise defense really is. Tang San reaches him next, only to feel the freezing black water choke the speed out of Blue Silver Grass and force him to fight through the cold. Then Ma Hongjuan's Phoenix Fire slams onto the shell, and for the first time Yijichio is genuinely alarmed because that strange flame really can suppress him. Tang San's grass uses that opening to bind him, and Zhu Zhuqing appears in his blind spot with a next strike. But Yijichio's head snaps back into his body like a turtle, dodging Zhu Zhuqing cleanly before he uses another ring to smother the Phoenix Fire. The freezing pressure surges again. Tang San has to pull his grass back before it becomes useless, and Zhu Zhuqing escapes with one hand already numbed by the cold. Daimubai crashes in with claw strikes strong enough to finally stagger Yijichio a couple of steps. Yijichio immediately turns and spits black water surge at Daimubai, showing that his spirit is not as harmless on offense as Tang San expected. Ma Hongjun saves him with another wall of phoenix fire, and steam erupts where fire and black water collide. The brief clash leaves both sides reassessing fast. Tang San realizes Yi Jichio's black tortoise can attack better than expected, while Yi Jichio is shaken by how well these Shrek students cover each other. Just as Tang San reaches for hidden weapons and Dai Mubai is about to use another spirit ability, a lazy, familiar voice cuts in and freezes the fight. Zhao Wuji strolls into the street with his badly bruised face and casually orders the Shrek students back to bed. Yi Jichio refuses to let it go and demands that Zhao Wuji explain Shrek's insults toward Blue Sunshine Academy. Zhao Wuji does not soften it at all and bluntly says Blue Sunshine is trash, so what the kids said was not even an insult. Yi Jichio finally snaps and marches straight at Zhao Wuji instead of backing down. Zhao Wuji barks that the 7 of them could not even handle one old turtle head, then orders them back to sleep. He sends the 7 kids back to bed, then plants himself alone in front of Yi Jichio and says strength will settle it. Yi Jichio pours on his freezing black water and braces with his shell, sure Zhao Wuji will regret being this arrogant. Instead, Zhao Wuji ignores the cold completely and smashes Yi Jichio away with a single slap. Zhao Wuji gives Yi Jichio one disdainful look, then turns away and leads the whole Shrek group back into the inn. As he walks, Zhao Wuji quietly enjoys how satisfying it felt to beat someone down without even using his spirit. The reason is obvious to Zhao Wuji too. Seeing the students gang up on Yi Jichio reminded him of his own recent humiliation, so his hands started itching. Yi Jichio coughs blood and struggles to breathe, realizing a man who can injure him barehanded has to be far above him. He glares after Shrek with resentment, but in the end he can only swallow it and leave with his humiliated students. One girl from the other academy sneaks one last look at Dai Mubai, but he does not bother returning it. Back inside, Zhao Wuji grumbles that the 7 of them made him lose face and promises special training after they return. Nobody talks back, because the whole group can tell his harsh scolding is really him protecting them. Zhao Wuji suddenly calls out Ning Rongrong for not using her support spirit in that fight. Ning Rongrong argues that keeping her 7 treasures glazed tile support hidden for the right moment would have made it more effective. Most of the team does not look convinced, but Tang San backs her logic and points out that one timely buff could have changed the whole clash. Satisfied at last, Zhao Wuji reminds all 7 students that from now on they are one unit, the Shrek 7 Devils. The 7 answer together, and after that the night passes without any more trouble. At dawn, Zhao Wuji's booming voice drags everyone out of bed for the trip to Stardo Great Forest. Over breakfast, most of the group is still half asleep, while Tang San is as steady and awake as ever. Once they leave town, everyone picks up speed, and Oscar is the most excited because his 3rd spirit ring is finally within reach. The closer they get, the more Stardo Great Forest feels less like a hunting ground and more like an ancient sea of green. At the forest edge, towering trees and heavy shade make it clear they are stepping into something old, wild, and dangerous. Zhao Wuji stops everyone for a final warning that the wild forest is nothing like a captive spirit beast reserve. He orders them to stay within 20 meters of him, keep Oscar and Ning Rongrong close, and never attack a spirit beast without permission. Before they move, Oscar quickly hands everyone support food in advance in case a real crisis leaves no time. Oscar explains that the fresh sausage restores and feeds them while the dried one helps against poison, even though making them leaves him a little pale. With preparations done, Zhao Wuji gives the order and the team finally steps into Stardo Great Forest. Inside the forest, Xiao Wu is strangely the most excited, almost like she has come home instead of entered a danger zone. Dan Mubai takes point by carving a path through the thorns, while Tang San follows behind him with every sense sharpened. Tang San remembers Grandmaster's warnings that wild spirit beasts hate humans, often travel in groups, and punish even small mistakes. He also understands why Grandmaster sent him to Shrek, not to learn basic theory, but because only stronger teachers can help him safely hunt higher-level rings. Their first real encounter is a pack of rodent weasels, but Tang San spots at once that they are only low-level spirit beasts. Since the animals are no threat and already aware of them, Tang San signals everyone to deter instead of killing them. When Dai Mubai asks why they bothered, Tang San explains that needless fights bring blood, noise, and stronger predators. Dai Mubai is impressed enough to praise Tang San's teacher as a truly formidable senior. By noon they have crossed deeper under the forest canopy, avoiding most beasts, and only driving off the ones too reckless to leave them alone. Zhao Wuji finally calls a halt, and Dai Mubai clears out a resting space among the brambles. Everyone eats, drinks, and recovers fast, because the safer outer forest is the last easy place to rest before they push deeper for Oscar's ring. Xiao Wu leans on Tang San's shoulder, but her earlier excitement is gone and a quiet worry has settled over her instead. Tang San tries to ask what is wrong, but Xiao Wu only insists that nothing is the matter. Halfway through the break, both Tang San and Zhao Wuji snap their attention in the same direction at once. Zhao Wuji barks everyone up, and the team falls into formation almost instantly. At Zhao Wuji's order, Zhu Zhuqing leaps into the trees to scout the incoming creature from above. From the treetop, Zhu Zhuqing reports a low-flying serpent with a blood-red crest and an unusual fan-shaped tail. Zhao Wuji instantly recognizes a phoenix tail crest serpent, and realizes Oscar may have just hit the jackpot. Tang San asks for the exact wing color and body length, already trying to pin down its age before it arrives. Once Zhu Zhuqing answers that the wings are pale red and the body is 6 to 8 meters long, Tang San calmly identifies it as a 1,000-year phoenix tail crest serpent suited for Oscar. Tang San keeps going, explaining that the snake is non-venomous, relies on constriction and speed bursts, and might give Oscar a speed-related third skill. Oscar all but sparkles at the explanation, and even Zhao Wuji, Dai Mubai, and Ning Rongrong look at Tang San with new respect. Tang San shyly gives all the credit to Grandmaster instead of taking the praise for himself. When Zhao Wuji asks how to catch it, Tang San answers immediately that bird pressure, especially from Ma Hongjuan's phoenix spirit, should suppress the snake enough to stop its escape. A heartbeat later, Zhu Zhuqing warns that it is here and dives from the tree to intercept the incoming serpent herself. Her Hell Rush stab misses the crest but still rakes the serpent's body hard enough to slow its rush. The startled serpent whips its head around, spits a burst of 7-colored fog at Zhu Zhuqing, and lights up its crest to accelerate again. Danmubai reacts on instinct, roaring a warning and charging in with White Tiger Vajra transformation. At the same moment, Ning Rongrong throws him a speed boost that lets him reach the serpent in time. Danmubai gets there by a hair, slamming the serpent out of its charge even though the hit knocks him back too. Tang San instantly calls out that the colorful fog is only a bluff, not poison, and his blue-silver grass snaps up to bind the falling snake. Ma Hongjuan's phoenix aura makes the beast flinch, but the 1,000-year serpent is still too slippery to stay trapped for long. Its scales slide free of the vines, and in the next blink the serpent is racing across the ground toward escape. Zhao Wuji finally moves for real, dropping gravity onto the serpent, and crushing its speed in one instant. He follows with a brutal movement combo, jumping ahead of it and locking it down before it can recover. A second later, Zhao Wuji is holding the phoenix tail crest serpent by the head as if catching a toy, and Tang San gets a fresh reminder of how terrifying a real spirit sage is. Zhao Wuji flicks the crest once, knocking the serpent unconscious without killing it, and declares the hunt finished. The group breaks into excited cheers, and Oscar rushes forward because his third spirit ring is suddenly right in front of him. But beside Tang San, Xiao Wu looks shaken instead of happy and quietly asks whether they really have to kill spirit beasts. Tang San answers gently but bluntly that this is the law of survival, and a stronger beast would never spare them either. Xiao Wu says nothing after that, only dropping her gaze further as her face stays pale. Zhao Wuji hands Oscar a short blade and tells him exactly where to stab under the crest so the spirit ring will become his. Oscar steps up excited and nervous, ready to claim the 1,000-year ring he has been waiting for. Just as the blade is about to fall, a hoarse voice shouts for him to stop. An elderly woman and a teenage girl rush into the clearing from the same direction the serpent came from. The old woman is no ordinary bystander either, because 6 spirit rings are already circling her when she arrives. At her side, the girl stares fixedly at the phoenix tail crest serpent, gripping her own snakehead staff like she cannot believe she is too late. The Shrek students relax a little when they see Zhao Wuji still outclasses the newcomer, but the old woman turns wary the moment she notices his 7 rings. Zhao Wuji asks what she wants, and for once his tone is measured instead of hostile after noticing her snake staff spirit. The old woman immediately asks the spirit sage to give that phoenix tail crest serpent to the girl. Zhao Wuji signals Oscar to wait, and coolly asks why the prey should belong to them. The old woman claims they found the serpent first, and have been chasing it all the way here, putting the ownership dispute squarely on the table. Oscar pushes back first, asking how the old woman can prove the phoenix tail crest serpent was really hers before they caught it. Serpent grandmother calmly points to 2 bruises under the serpent's wings and says her cane made them when the beast slipped away from her granddaughter's hunt. Zhao Wuji sees the bruises for himself, but he has no intention of surrendering a 1,000-year spirit beast that easily. He asks for her name, and the old woman reveals she is Chao Tianxiang, the serpent grandmother of the feared unrivaled dragon serpent pair. She adds that her husband is Dragon Duke Mengshu, and says these kids look too young to absorb a 1,000-year ring anyway. That title hits hard, because Zhao Wuji knows the unrivaled dragon serpent pair could crush him if Dragon Duke is nearby. For a grim second he even weighs killing them to bury the problem, but he knows Chao Tianxiang could still escape and bring the Dragon Duke down on all of them. Instead, Zhao Wuji gives his own name, and Chao Tianxiang immediately recognizes him as the notorious motionless Bright King. She politely asks him to give the serpent over for her granddaughter's 3rd ring and promises to remember the favor. Zhao Wuji puts on a regretful face, but he is really trying to settle this fast before Dragon Duke can arrive. Meng Yiran loses patience, and snaps that they should hand the serpent back at once if they know what is good for them. Pressed for an answer, Zhao Wuji says the forest has no owner, and catching the beast matters more than who wounded it first. He adds that the serpent also suits one of his own students, so he is not backing down. Chao Tianxiang is stunned to hear one of these children has already reached rank 30, because none of them look old enough for it. To prove it, Zhao Wuji orders the Shrek students to release their spirits, and show her exactly what kind of monsters he brought into the forest. The clearing lights up with spirit rings, and Chao Tianxiang is left staring at 7 absurdly gifted kids without a single weak 10-year ring. Zhao Wuji enjoys her shock, then points out that the rank 30 student is Oscar, not even one of his fighters. Since neither side will give in, Chao Tianxiang proposes settling it by the old spirit master custom of fighting for the ring. Her terms are simple. If her granddaughter wins, they take the serpent, and if she loses, Chao Tianxiang leaves without another word. Zhao Wuji declines because Oscar is a food system spirit master and cannot fight Meng Yiran fairly himself. That shocks Chao Tianxiang even more, because a rank 30 food system genius is the kind of talent any force would want to snatch up. Before she can try anything, Tang San steps in and offers to fight in Oscar's place, since he is rank 29 and close enough to keep it fair. Tang San is done with the delay, because if Dragon Duke arrives before this is settled, their side could lose the argument and the serpent together. Zhao Wuji backs Tang San immediately, and Oscar quietly flashes him a grateful thumbs up for stepping in as a real friend. Both sides draw back and leave space in the clearing as Tang San and Meng Yiran step forward to settle the fight themselves. Tang San introduces himself as a blue-silver grass battle spirit master at rank 29, and Meng Yiran answers with her rank 30 serpent cane spirit. Up close, Tang San sees that Meng Yiran is strikingly pretty, but the displeased anger on her face makes her sharp temper even clearer. Tang San invites her to begin, and Meng Yiran lunges first with a hard, aggressive overhead strike that fits her mood perfectly. Tang San slips back with Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track and fires his first spirit ability, wrapping her in blue-silver grass before she can keep pressing him. With Meng Yiran bound at only 3 meters away, Tang San calmly says the match should already be over. Instead of conceding, Meng Yiran lights up both spirit rings at once, tipping Tang San off that his paralysis poison never took hold. Her body suddenly turns slick and boneless like a snake, and she slides right out of the binding while Tang San retreats again in alarm. Her serpent cane lashes out with a poisonous tongue blade, and the duel flips instantly from Tang San's control to her counterattack. Tang San also sees why she is furious now. The grass could not poison her, but it shredded her clothes badly enough to leave her humiliated. On the sidelines, Dai Mubai jokes under his breath that Tang San's blue-silver grass nearly became an undressing move, while Ma Hongjun stares so hard he is practically drooling and Oscar looks awkward beside them. Realizing her poison immunity comes from her own venomous spirit, Tang San stops retreating and rushes straight into the attack instead. Using precise force, he strikes the weak point beneath the snake head of her cane, trying to control the weapon at its core. Meng Yiran answers by shaking the cane into 8 attacking shadows, trying to seal every route Tang San could dodge through. Tang San opens Purple Demon Eye, and the confusing cane shadows suddenly slow down and reveal their real paths to him. He catches the serpent cane exactly at its vulnerable point, shattering her shifting attack pattern in one clean move. But Meng Yiran reacts just as fast, snapping the tongue blade sideways toward the hand Tang San used to grab her weapon. Xiao Wu panics and nearly rushes in, but Zhao Wuji grabs her back because the duel cannot be interrupted yet. Tang San chooses the craziest answer possible and grabs the incoming poison blade with his bare left hand. Instead of blood, there is only a sharp ding, because both of Tang San's hands have turned into hard translucent jade with mysterious jade hand. Now both fighters are locked to the same weapon, each refusing to let go of the serpent cane that has become the center of the whole match. With technique no longer enough, they both pour spirit power through the cane and turn the duel into a dangerous head-on clash of cultivation. Zhao Wuji and Chao Tianxiang both edge closer, because a contest of spirit power can go wrong fast and leave either child badly injured. Sweat starts running down both their faces as Meng Yiran hammers forward with fiercer spirit power, and Tang San braces with stubborn, flexible control. Meng Yiran's early rush burns too much power, and little by little Tang San's calmer mysterious heaven skill begins pushing back. By the end of the exchange, Tang San's blue spirit power is steadily eating farther into the serpent cane, and Meng Yiran can feel the duel slipping against her. Locked in the spirit power clash, Meng Yiran refuses to yield even as Tang San steadily pushes her back toward defeat. Tang San realizes he can win, but he also knows this kind of contest can cripple or kill the loser if it goes too far. Seeing her granddaughter about to collapse, Chao Tianxiang finally gives up the bet and asks Zhao Wuji to help stop the clash. The two elders move at once, pouring in spirit power from behind to force Tang San and Meng Yiran apart safely. Freed from the struggle, Meng Yiran spits blood and slumps to the ground while her grandmother hurriedly stabilizes her. Oscar rushes over with a recovery sausage, grateful enough to joke that he owes Tang San big for winning this chance. Tang San eats the sausage and recovers on his own, deliberately leaving Zhao Wuji's strength free in case Dragon Duke suddenly appears. Moved by what Tang San just did for Oscar, the other Shrek students gather around him in a protective ring. Chao Tianxiang coldly admits the loss and gives up the 1,000-year serpent, but her tone makes it clear she will remember this. Once Chao Tianxiang concedes, Zhao Wuji immediately tells Oscar to quit waiting and finally kill the serpent. Oscar stabs the phoenix tail crest serpent's vital point, and the beast thrashes hard under Zhao Wuji's suppression before going still. With the beast dead at last, Oscar sits beside it and starts absorbing his third spirit ring under a soft pink glow. Even now Zhao Wuji does not relax, because he and Chao Tianxiang keep watching each other for any sign of betrayal. After suppressing Meng Yiran's injuries, Chao Tianxiang pulls her up, but the furious girl still begs her grandmother to take revenge. Chao Tianxiang refuses to risk a fight now, warns Zhao Wuji that they will meet again, and leaves with Meng Yiran before he gets any opening. Only after the pair is gone does Zhao Wuji finally breathe easier, relieved that Dragon Duke never showed up. As the forest grows dark, the group settles into a guarded wait with Oscar absorbing his ring and Tang San still meditating beside the others. About an hour later, Oscar surprisingly wakes first and rises wrapped in beautiful pink light with a new purple ring under his two old yellow ones. The breakthrough makes Oscar look sharper and more vigorous, and even his peach blossom eyes now carry a strange seven-colored gleam. Dai Mubai pushes Oscar to reveal his new ability, but Oscar suddenly looks too embarrassed to say it. Pressed by the group, Oscar makes them promise not to laugh before he chants the spirit incantation. The moment Oscar blurts out his absurd new incantation, everyone except the still meditating Tang San bursts into helpless laughter. Oscar sulks at being mocked and finally summons the new sausage, which looks like a normal one with a mushroom cap on top. When Zhao Wuji tells him to explain it properly, Oscar snaps that from now on only Tang San deserves his mushroom sausages. Then Oscar proudly reveals the effect, and one word freezes the whole group in place: soaring. For Ning Rongrong especially, the shock is huge, because support-type flight is normally a much higher level ability than a third ring should allow. Oscar enjoys the attention for a second, then admits the soaring only lasts 1 minute and instantly gets cursed out for dragging out the reveal. But Oscar is not finished, because that 1 minute uses the flying speed of the phoenix tail crest serpent itself. That changes everything, and the group realizes Oscar's third skill is not a joke at all but a powerful escape and mobility tool. Zhao Wuji praises the ring as a major success and asks how many mushroom sausages Oscar can still make. Oscar says the new skill is expensive, but he can still produce about 10 before his spirit power runs dry. Satisfied, Zhao Wuji decides they will leave as soon as Tang San wakes up so they can avoid any more trouble here. At that exact moment, Tang San opens his eyes and calmly says they cannot leave yet. Zhao Wuji shuts him down immediately, insisting the mission is over and everyone must get out before something worse happens. Tang San presses the point anyway and finally blurts out the real reason. He also just broke through and needs a third spirit ring now. For a second the whole clearing goes dead silent as everyone tries to process a 12-year-old reaching Spirit Elder 2. Tang San explains that he had been stuck at rank 29 for a long time, and the duel with Meng Yiran finally pushed him over the line. Zhao Wuji demands Tang San's exact age, then turns to the others and presents him as the Academy's new record, 12 years and 7 months. Oscar laughs that hard work alone does not explain Tang San and calls him a monster among monsters, which finally breaks the tension. Xiao Wu grabs Tang San's arm and congratulates him, while quietly promising she will catch up again soon. When Tang San asks directly if they can stay and hunt for his spirit ring too, Zhao Wuji finally agrees without hesitation. Because he still fears the dragon serpent couple might circle back, Zhao Wuji leads everyone away that evening and hides their tracks before camping again. The night passes safely, and by morning the team starts searching the outer forest again for a spirit beast that fits Tang San. Tang San believes the search should be easier because Grandmaster already mapped out several suitable spirit beast types for his third ring. But 2 full days pass with no luck, because the 1,000-year beasts they do meet are wrong for Tang San and the rest are too weak. Zhao Wuji keeps the hunt conservative in the outer forest, because with only one teacher protecting 7 prodigies, he cannot risk the deeper dangers. Even without Tang San's ring yet, the pressure of the forest starts forging the students into a real coordinated team. By the second night, they set camp without a fire, split chores naturally, and even drag Oscar into the girls' cooking side as an exception. After supper, Zhao Wuji sends the others to rest in the tents, but keeps Tang San back for a quiet talk. Zhao Wuji asks if Tang San is frustrated, but Tang San answers that spirit beast hunting depends on luck, so panic would only make it worse. That answer leads Zhao Wuji into a heavier thought, as he looks at the forest and says Star Dove feels far emptier than it did years ago. Tang San answers with Grandmaster's reasoning. Spirit beasts are not simply vanishing on their own, humans are killing them faster than they can endure. He points out the brutal math of spirit masters needing ring after ring, which means even powerful beasts become one fewer each time they are killed.